Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Web Audio TV. If you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the like button.
I signed a lover's contract with Su Yuan. It was impossible to hide the god's core anywhere else. There was no way to seal the power away. The lords and their heroes could sense them from miles away. The white-haired lord had come up with a way. She had found a convenient hiding place. It was in the body of the mythical beast. The sleeping mythical beast could mask the power of the god's core. Even if someone suspected the god's core was hidden here, it would be impossible to enter the door anyway. This place was the forbidden zone. Outsiders were forbidden from entering. It was to prevent people from waking up the sleeping mythical beast. Even if someone managed to enter the body of the mythical beast, it would still be difficult for them to navigate this space. n/o/vel/b/in.c//om. If they were not careful and woke the beast, there would be another disaster. The white-haired lord had hidden the god's core in this place. Yuan had no way of getting it. Even if she had followed the instructions of the white-haired lord, there was a risk of her waking the mythical beast. However, the beast ignored her. A dazzling crystal was suspended in the air where the white-haired lord stared. One moment it was purple, the next it was blue. It then turned red. Yuan could sense the terrifying energy that the crystal contained within. The white-haired lord looked at it. When I first got hold of the god's core, I researched to find a way to use it. I wanted to know about the secrets it contained. She turned around to face Yuan. Her face was full of regret and bitterness. I was arrogant then. I thought I would be invincible once I could use it. I researched bit by bit but never made any progress. The white-haired lord took a deep breath and slowly exhaled. Her eyes were a little teary. I didn't discuss it with him. I never shared my discovery with him. When I found the god's core, I thought I had transcended from the restrictions an ordinary lord faced. I thought I didn't need any hero's help at all. Only later did I realize that a lord and a hero are inseparable. Perhaps there were other ways to use a god's core, but the white-haired lord had discovered only one such method, and that required the lord and the hero to be together. The lord and the hero could not be separated. In order to use it, the lord and the hero must sign a lover's contract and entrust their lives to each other forever. A lover's contract would allow the hero to lend part of his power to the lord. Only then could the god's core be used. When Yuan heard this, her face turned red. Lover's contract allowed a hero to lend part of his power to the lord. Yuan realized that something like that had already happened. Su Yuan had used some unknown ability to turn her into a half-dragon and half-human form. She was certain it was Su Yuan's doing. When she was fighting the light-type heroes, Su Yuan had let her use two of his abilities. Yuan hadn't thought much about it before. However, from what the white-haired lord said, Yuan felt that her situation was similar. It can't be. When did Su Yuan sign a lover's contract with me? Yuan knew how to form a lover's contract. The white-haired lord had taught her. But she had never found the time to ask Su Yuan. She wanted to take her time. Besides, Su Yuan looked so unapproachable that Yuan was always reluctant to bring it up. She had been so reluctant that she never realized that Su Yuan could offer the contract as well. Su Yuan, without even a mention. Yuan's face flushed. It was hard to believe that Su Yuan, who was always indifferent and aloof, had actually already signed a lover's contract with her. What's more, it had been a secret too. If not for the white-haired lord, Yuan wouldn't have realized it. Yuan didn't know about the demon-dragon symbiosis ability. She took it to mean that Su Yuan had signed a lover's contract already. I thought Su Yuan didn't care about me, but it seems he does. He even signed a lover's contract without me knowing. He appears too indifferent. Yuan got more and more flustered, thinking about it. However, she calmed herself and regained her composure. No, I need to calm down. I have no evidence that it was actually a lover's contract, thought Yuan. Besides, shouldn't both people consent to something like that? He didn't even ask me. The more she thought about this, the more suspicious she became. The most important thing in signing any sort of contract was that both sides should agree on it. She didn't remember signing or agreeing to any contract. Su Yuan couldn't sign a contract that involved her by himself. Moreover, if it was something as big as a lover's contract, she would have noticed the difference somehow. The Overlord attribute panel would have informed her. I need to confirm it with him. If it is a simple misunderstanding, things will become very awkward. Yuan calmed herself and looked at the god's core. There is one other way to confirm. Only those in a lover's contract could take the god's core. She could try. If it worked, then she would know for sure that she had signed a lover's contract with Su Yuan. Yuan walked up to the god's core and reached for it. She then caught it and held it in her hands. The moment she touched it, the god's core burst into colorful lights. Yuan could feel the mysterious power pour into her body. Her human side was reacting to the power. The human side was fragile and could be crushed with so much power. However, she felt the half-dragon part emerge and protected the human aspect. The non-human aspect was because of Su Yuan. It was no wonder that a lover's contract was needed to use the god's core. The power was so overwhelming that a human would have been reduced to nothingness. Yuan sighed with emotion. She also realized, at this point, that she seemed to have succeeded. Did this mean that she and Su Yuan had actually signed the lover's contract? 201 The Holy Light's Illumination. The god's core was a legendary item left behind by the fallen mythical lord. It had all the knowledge and insights of the mythical lord when they were alive. If Yuan could use it properly, she could become a lord of the mythical level? Yuan tried to remember everything she knew or had read about the mythical level. The power from the god's core wrapped around Yuan's body, transforming her. If there were no obstacles, Yuan could continue growing and reach the mythical level one day. n/o/vel/b/in.c//om. When Yuan felt the power surge into her, she also got the memories of the previous lord with it. The lord who had owned this god's core was the mythical lord who had defeated the mythical beast? Why do I feel like something is wrong? Legends said that the mythical beast had wreaked havoc in countless worlds, so the mythical lord had defeated it and left it here. However, it was difficult for the beast to achieve true death. Therefore, it was in a perpetual state of sleep. However, the thing with sleep is that it doesn't matter how long it is, the beast will wake up one day. The information she knew was different from what she saw in the mythical overlord's memories. The memory showed her that the mythical beast had wanted to destroy the overlord plane. Thus, the mythical lord had joined forces with others to kill it. But it feels like someone was fueling the conflict. Yuan thought about it. She couldn't help feeling that somebody had fueled the fight between the mythical beast and the mythical overlord. Yuan felt like there was no need for a fight, but things had escalated. Eventually, the mythical beast had been defeated, and the mythical overlord had also fallen, leaving behind the god's core. Yuan only felt that there was more to it, but she wasn't certain. At the moment, she just wanted to leave and find Yuan. Meanwhile, Yuan was still in the place where the mythical beast's brain was. Your Majesty, this brain looks like a cocoon, said the Thorn Fairy. The mythical beast's brain, which was made up of countless blue butterflies, had now turned into a huge cocoon. Perhaps the damage caused by the light type back then was just too severe. Even if the mythical beast awoke, the body would be a burden for it. It might as well turn into a butterfly and abandon this body, said Yuan. The Thorn Fairy realized something. The mythical beast was extremely powerful. A mythical lord wouldn't have been able to cause so much damage to it. What really made it fall asleep was someone among the light types. The light type who had fought the beast had severely injured it. The mythical lord had inflicted the last blow that defeated it. When the Thorn Fairy told him about her realization, Yuan nodded. As they talked, the scene changed again. There was a dazzling holy light that penetrated the cocoon. Beams of light penetrated the entire cocoon. The hero from light types had left a backup plan. The Thorn Fairy gasped. She was in disbelief. Even after so many years, the power from the light types suppressed the mythical beast? The whole place was filled with the singing of hymns as if 1,000 people were chanting the same thing. Illusionary feathers floated in the sky. The entire space seemed to be on fire. This is not good. This power is going to burn everything. The Thorn Fairy panicked. It wasn't as though she hadn't seen holy light before, but this time, it surpassed all she knew about it. It wasn't like she had never seen the power of the holy light. The terrifying holy light seemed to be burning everything it touched. The powerful mythical giant beast was illuminated by the power of the holy light, and its interior began to burn. At this rate, the entire body of the mythical beast would be reduced to ashes? This is strange. Why would the light types target the mythical beast? While the Thorn Fairy panicked that the holy light might burn everything, Yuan was concerned about the intentions of the light types. Are they so afraid of this beast that they don't want to let it off, even after so many years? Yuan wondered. Yuan was confused. Why were they so afraid? The simple reason that the mythical beast would wake up and seek the light types for its revenge didn't seem like a strong enough reason. Did the light types know that the beast would wake up again? Is that why they left this backup plan? Maybe they didn't want countless others to be destroyed by the beast. Yuan thought about many possibilities, but he wasn't sure of them. He felt that something wasn't right. Only the mythical beast and the light types knew the real truth at this point. Yuan couldn't expect the light types to clear his doubts. He could only rely on the mythical beast to give him the truth. Just then, a faint sigh sounded from somewhere. Your Majesty, said the voice. The Thorn Fairy was shocked. It's the beast. Only the two of them were in that space. So, the words must have been from the mythical beast, since both of them hadn't made a sound. Yuan focused on the faint voice. He was surprised. Yuan had transmigrated recently in the hero plane. As for the mythical beast, it had been in deep sleep for numerous years. Logically, it was impossible for the mythical beast to know about Yuan. Why was it calling him Your Majesty? Demonic Dragon's Blessing LVL4. Why do I have a feeling that it knows me, thought Yuan. Was it involved in the war between light and dark? Or is it because it was in contact with the dark demon dragon? That might explain why it was being hunted by the light types. If that were true, everything else would make sense. However, these were just Yuan's speculations. Did the dark demon dragon leave anything behind when it first appeared? As far as Yuan understood, the dark demon dragon had only appeared twice. Once, during the first war between the light and the dark. The dark demon dragon had disappeared shortly after without a trace. The second time was in the form of Yuan himself. That doesn't make sense, thought Yuan. The dark demon dragon must have appeared at other times. Yuan thought that if the dark demon dragon had only appeared in the ancient past only once, then it was impossible for the mythical beast to know about him. The Thorn Fairy's panicked voice interrupted his thoughts. Your Majesty, this is not good, she said. This place is going to collapse. The mythical beast's entire body was now burning in the holy light. Its body was turning into ashes slowly. The place they were in trembled violently. We must leave. Su Yuan turned to look at the cocoon. He didn't want to abandon it. He felt like he needed to do something. In any case, the mythical beast had called him Your Majesty. He couldn't just leave. Su Yuan moved closer to the cocoon. The holy light emanated so much heat that he felt as though he was in the middle of the sun. He wrapped the cocoon in dark energy. The dark flames tried to battle with the holy light. However, it was in vain. Su Yuan's power wasn't as strong as it once had been. His dark flames were burned away by the holy light. If only I was at my peak, I might be able to do it. Su Yuan sighed. If he was in the hero plane with all his power at his disposal, he might have been able to save the cocoon. But he had to follow the rules of the overlord plane while he was here. His powers had greatly reduced. The dark flames couldn't compete with the holy light for dominance. What should I do? Thought Su Yuan. He didn't want to give in. Maybe. He suddenly thought of an idea. His eyes glittered. His current strength wasn't enough, but the mythical beast's strength might just be enough to dispel the holy light. Even if it wasn't enough, Su Yuan would help as much as he could. The demonic dragon's blessing. Su Yuan activated his ability and applied it to the mythical beast. Previously, his ability could only be used on the dark types. However, as the ability labeled up, it was not limited to dark types anymore. Dark flames and mists rolled and encased the cocoon. Your Majesty, why don't we retreat? The Thorn Fairy's voice trembled. The power of the holy light was too strong. Even though it had remained inactive for too many years, it was still strong. Su Yuan's ability had yet to be applied to the mythical beast in the cocoon, but it couldn't bypass the holy light. The Thorn Fairy saw this and got even more anxious. n/o/vel/b/jn.c//om. It seemed all efforts were in vain. The power of the holy light wasn't abating. It targeted the mythical beast inside the cocoon. Su Yuan hesitated. He didn't feel like leaving just like that. However, there seemed to be no solution to the problem in front of them. Wait. I have a skill enhancement point from the dark crystal. Su Yuan recalled that he had gotten a skill enhancement point when he consumed the dark crystal. He hadn't used it yet. Carla had offered the dark crystal as a price for saving the Thorn Fairy. Su Yuan knew which ability he wanted to strengthen. He knew that the demonic dragon's blessing, in its current state, wasn't strong enough to overpower the holy light and reach the mythical beast. However, if he strengthened it, it might just work. He applied the skill enhancement point to the demonic dragon's blessing. It was upgraded to level 4. Demonic Dragon's Blessing LVL4 imbues the demonic dragon's aura onto living creatures, strengthening them. All attributes will increase by 2000% for 1 hour. The living creature has a chance of transforming, and the buff cannot be dispelled. Attribute increases, duration is longer, and a small chance of transformation. The ability even gained a new effect due to the upgrade. There was a chance for the creature to transform. However, Su Yuan wasn't sure how the transformation would be. The probability seemed minuscule, at that. The effect was very difficult to verify. Even Su Yuan couldn't guarantee what the creature would transform into if he used the ability. Besides, applying it to many creatures would be better to make sure they transformed, as the chance was too slim. If, for example, he used it on numerous skeleton soldiers, at least 1 or 2 of them would transform. Only then could he properly study the transformation. Right now, he only had 1 subject. So, he couldn't depend on it transforming. But his ability couldn't be dispelled. Does that mean the holy light can't cancel it out? Su Yuan activated his ability once again. The demonic dragon's blessing. Dark flames and black mists appeared once more. The holy light was the same as before. But this time, the dark flames and mists were tenacious. It resisted the holy light and wrapped around the cocoon. A familiar voice reverberated faintly. Thank you. It was the mythical beast? It was thanking Su Yuan for the blessing. Mythical beast transforms into a little butterfly. Under their gazes, the cocoon, which received the demonic dragon's blessing, turned from white to black. Dark, furious flames burned, and black mist enveloped everything. The white cocoon looked like a piece of white paper that had been splashed with black ink. The black was spreading steadily. After a while, the cocoon would turn entirely black. What's going on? Said the Thorn Fairy in disbelief. She didn't know the power of the demonic dragon's blessing. The White Dragon Saint and a few others had received the blessing before and knew how it affected everything. But she didn't know about it yet. This was the first time the Thorn Fairy had seen something like this. The terrifying dark power instantly eroded the cocoon of the mythical beast, turning the mythical beast into a dark type. As expected of your majesty. The Thorn Fairy was in awe. The black cocoon changed. The cocoon began burning more furiously. The holy light didn't want to give it a chance of escape. The holy light has become even more furious now. It doesn't want the beast turning into a butterfly. The Thorn Fairy cried out in alarm. The mythical beast was supposed to break out from the cocoon the moment it received the demonic dragon's blessing. Unfortunately, the holy light was adamant. The cocoon was trying to withstand the attack of the holy light. It slowly cracked, emanating a black light from within. Is it going to break out of the cocoon? The Thorn Fairy's eyes were wide in shock. She had thought that everything would be destroyed. But she never expected that the mythical beast would undergo a final transformation. Su Yuan shook his head dismally. It won't turn out like you expect. The beast might break through the cocoon, but its transformation might remain incomplete. It will be like a premature human baby. The black cocoon split open and black light burst forth. A butterfly the size of an adult human's thumb flew out of the cocoon. This was not what the Thorn Fairy had expected. The mythical beast had been so huge that the entire arena formed its back. What burst forth from the cocoon was a small butterfly which was the size of a human thumb. The Thorn Fairy stared at it in disbelief. The little black butterfly looked confused. It seemed to sense something. It turned to Su Yuan. I don't know you, but I feel that you are very kind, said the butterfly as it flew towards Su Yuan. Su Yuan remembered the disembodied voice that had called him Your Majesty and thanked him for the demonic dragon's blessing. I thought you knew me. The little black butterfly looked at Su Yuan. I don't remember. Sorry. During my transformation, my memories seemed to have been wiped out. Perhaps, in the future, I can find my memories again. The little black butterfly had not only lost its former power but also its memory. If the butterfly couldn't remember anything, then Su Yuan couldn't find out anything about the past. Do you want to come with me? Asked Su Yuan. He stared up at the sky. There was a big hole. Can I? Said the little black butterfly. I have lost everything. I don't remember my past and have nowhere to go. I feel a familiar aura from you. Can I stay by your side? Su Yuan thought about it for a moment and then nodded. The little black creature might be incomparably powerful. If he could help it reach its peak again, the creature would be an asset. Sure, said Su Yuan. I will call you Black Butterfly for now. Is that okay? Su Yuan knew the mythical beast's name. It was called Lan Yu. However, the little black butterfly had forgotten its name and its past. So, it was only appropriate for it to receive a new name. I like that very much. Thank you. Su Yuan spread his wings and flew out of the hole in the sky, followed closely by the Thorn Fairy and the black butterfly. Su Yuan used his demon dragon wings to fly out. He flew out of the hole in the blink of an eye. The wind was blowing, and clouds floated serenely by. Su Yuan flew up high. He wanted to see the world carefully once again. It was, technically, still on the back of the mythical beast. The mythical beast, which was now a little butterfly, also spread its wings and flew by Su Yuan's side. Your Majesty, it's time for me to leave this place, said the Thorn Fairy. By the rules, the Thorn Fairy should have returned to the hero plane after her lord's death. However, she had been in the body of the mythical beast, so the normal rules had been blocked before they could take effect. However, she could not stay here forever. Now that she was outside, the rules would come into effect. No matter what happens from now on, I will always be loyal to you, Your Majesty, said the Thorn Fairy. She bowed respectfully. I will avenge Kara. I hope that in the future I will be able to receive your support. It was because of the first saint that her lord had died. The Thorn Fairy didn't intend to forget that. She wanted to take revenge. But with her current strength, it was impossible. She decided to join Su Yuan when the time was right. The Thorn Fairy then dissipated and returned to the hero plane. As for Su Yuan, he observed the place from high up in the sky. The back of the mythical beast encompassed all. Part of the butterfly wings were burnt. It could be seen down below. He also could vaguely make out the area where the White Dragon Saint and the others were. Everyone was panicking. At that moment, a spatial power dragged away the light-type heroes. Legendary power. Su Yuan could tell at a glance that it was the power of a legendary lord that had dragged the three light types away. It was impossible for the lords to not notice the change in the arena.n/o/vel/b/jn.c//om. 4. Meeting the sage. The lords in the outside world had already gotten a general idea of the changes that had occurred in the competition ground. Before this, they couldn't interfere with anything in the arena. However, things were different now. Ever since the mythical beast had awakened and spread its wings, all restrictions were gone. The limitations no longer existed. The lords were taken out of the arena one by one. Su Yuan couldn't leave because he sensed Suan was still in the arena. After waiting for a while, Suan finally arrived. She seemed surprised to appear in the area, which was now riddled with holes. Nov, L, B //JNN. Su Yuan, you're okay, said Suan. What's going on here? Suan was currently at a loss. She had consumed the god's core and had gained a lot of knowledge from it. She had been so engrossed in figuring it out that she had forgotten that the world had changed. She had been summoned by a mysterious power to spear here. We need to go back, said Su Yuan. Suan still had a lot of questions. She wasn't even sure if the tournament was really over. Who won? Where were the other contestants? Unfortunately, now was not the time to ask. The entire arena, which was on the back of the mythical beast, was disintegrating fast. That wasn't a problem for Su Yuan and Suan. They could both fly. Before Suan could transform into her demonic dragon form, a space vortex appeared. From the depths, a white hand reached and grabbed her. She was pulled into the vortex. Su Yuan. Suan shouted at him. She reached out and grabbed his arm in a hurry. They fell into the space vortex together. The sky and earth spun. When it finally stopped spinning, Suan and Su Yuan realized they were in their territory. You are the Sage of the Moon, exclaimed Suan. She saw the figure that had pulled her into the vortex. Suan had encountered many powerful beings on her journey. She had seen the deputy of the King of Heaven, the fallen angel. She had met the Dark Enchanter, the daughter of the Dark Magician Marshal. However, the person in front of her stunned her, nonetheless. This person was one of the most powerful lords in existence. Suan wanted to thank him but, right then, an anxious voice sounded from afar. Wan, you are finally safe. It was Shi Linglong. The troublemaker, Shi Linglong? Shi Linglong completely ignored the Sage of the Moon and ran to give her a hug. Linglong, I am all right. I am fine, really. Yuan looked at the Sage of the Moon. Meanwhile, the Sage of the Moon didn't look at her. His attention was focused on Yuan. As one of the strongest among the lords, the Sage of the Moon's vision and power were unquestionable. However, he didn't know the true identity of Yuan. After all, Yuan had only recently transmigrated into the hero plane. There was always a delay in the information being passed down from the upper to the lower realms, so nobody was aware that the Dark Demon Dragon had recently appeared. The Sage of the Moon did not recognize Yuan. He only thought of him as a mysterious and powerful hero on Yuan's side. Are you alright? Asked the Sage of the Moon. Yes. Thank you so much for your concern. The Sage of the Moon smiled faintly. Little Linglong, I have returned your friend to you. Don't bother me with this again. Yuan understood that Shi Linglong somehow knew the Sage of the Moon personally. Shi Linglong scratched her head in embarrassment. The Sage of the Moon spoke. This girl had been pestering me since the arena lost contact with the Overlord plane. She had been appearing in my place and bothering me to help you. Yuan was touched. Her friend had been working very hard to get her back safe and sound. Thank you so much, Linglong, for worrying about me. Yuan turned to the Sage of the Moon. And thank you so much for your help as well. Yuan did not ask how Shi Linglong knew the Sage of the Moon. Not yet anyway. At this time, other sages had also arrived. Sages rarely appeared in front of the public eye, but most were gathered here today. Yuan, right, said the Sage of the Moon. Tell me what transpired in the arena. Even though he had received some information from Lord Air, he was still unsure about the whole situation. He needed more information from other lords to form a conclusion. Yuan brought up the dark screen. That was the most essential thing right now. She told him that the entire matter was connected to the dark screen. Lord Carla had declared that the dark screen had planned everything, after all. Most of the lords knew about this. Dark screen. The Sage of the Moon frowned. He felt that something was wrong. What happened to the mythical beast? Yuan told him all she knew about the mythical beast so far. However, she didn't mention the God's Core. The God's Core was the stuff of legends and myths, after all. Nobody even knew if it existed for real. There was no need for her to mention it. If she did, she could get into trouble for using it. Yuan wasn't sure how much the Sage of the Moon knew about it. However, she told him everything, excluding the God's Core incident. 205 The collection of elemental hearts. The members of the Dark Screen planted a lord as a spy in the tournament. The lord was supposed to wake the mythical beast. That lord had suddenly disappeared. Nobody knew anything about her. n/o/vel/b/jn.c//om. As for the mythical beast, it had woken up. It soared into the sky, and the arena almost collapsed. However, the holy light had shone dazzlingly and burned the huge mythical beast. The Sage of the Moon listened attentively as Yuan told him the whole story. He frowned and nodded. We have some grasp of the situation now, but we still need to verify some things. All of you should return to your respective territories. The final result of the tournament will be declared after we have cleared the competition grounds. The Sage of the Moon was now certain that everything pointed to one organization, the Dark Screen. The Sage of the Moon wanted the lords to return to their own territories and rest for the time being. Wan, let's go, said Shi Linglong. She pulled at Yuan's hands. A few steps away, there was a dimensional portal that was ready to take them back. The portal would take them back to their territories. In the blink of an eye, the next day was gone. It was time for the result to be declared. Yuan, I am the champion. We won. Yuan was ecstatic. If it was back in the academy, in front of too many people, she would have had to restrain herself from laughing and crying in happiness. However, she didn't need to pretend to be calm in front of Yuan. She wanted to share her happiness with him. Yuan was lazily draped across the throne. If it wasn't for the fact that they had gone through such an ordeal just recently, Yuan would have made Yuan fight so that he could accumulate more experience points. He was already worried that there was a powerful being among the light types. However, she looked so happy, and she hadn't recovered completely from the earlier fights. He didn't really want to make her fight this soon. Yuan wished there was another way so that he didn't need to trick and lie to her every time. Yuan looked at him. Yuan, are you thinking about how to scam people again? You are looking at me strangely, as though you are thinking of another way to trick me. Yuan became vigilant. Yuan didn't expect her to be on guard around him. He looked at her sheepishly, then fell back on the throne and continued sleeping. Silence was the best answer for now. Yuan knew that if he remained silent, Yuan would forget about it in a while. It was true. Yuan had already forgotten about the matter and was clenching her fists in excitement. She was already thinking about something else. I have good news, Yuan, she said. Since we won the tournament, we get a generous reward. She also mentioned a banquet that was usually held to commemorate the end of the competition. However, it had been cancelled this time because too many things had happened. The mythical beast's death, the collapse of the arena, the reappearance of the sunken city, and the Dark Screen's elaborate planning. The sages had discussed long and hard and decided to cancel the banquet for safety reasons. The Dark Screen had interfered, after all. They could attack the lords in the banquet and target them altogether. Therefore, there would be no dinner banquet like the previous years. They would no longer hold an event to distribute the reward to the winner. The ranking would be posted online, and the resources would be distributed accordingly. Yuan yawned, as though he wasn't interested in some silly reward. As for winning the competition, it wasn't a surprise. So Yuan had the only gem in possession at the end of the tournament. After all other gems had been snatched away to make the building upgrade stones. With that out of the way, Su Yuan was thinking about how to get all 12 elemental hearts. Su Yuan had collected any and every elemental hearts he could find before, but now, he was more cautious. He recalled the dark demon dragon from the visions. It had 11 mythical level elemental hearts. Su Yuan recalled how strong he had been in the first war. Nobody could stand against the dark demon dragon. Even the light types and dark types had abandoned their war and joined forces to fight the powerful being. 11 of the energy balls had been lit. The dark demon dragon had collected 11 elemental hearts, all of mythical level. The number of elemental hearts Su Yuan had collected this far were of low level, and some of high level, but they were nowhere near to mythical level. Su Yuan felt that it was inappropriate to even mention this. He was wasting an opportunity. If he only collected such low-level elemental hearts, it would make no difference whether he had the Chaos Realm ability or not. It wouldn't be strong enough. Is there no other way to upgrade the elemental hearts? Su Yuan sighed. He remembered the dark demon dragon of the first war. 11 mythical elemental hearts. It meant the dark demon dragon had defeated element mythical overlords to achieve the elemental hearts. If only elemental hearts could be fused as troops. He had an ability that could fuse weaker soldiers to make them powerful. Su Yuan wondered if there was a way to fuse elemental hearts to make them more powerful. Su Yuan shook his head. He had never heard of an ability like that. It was impossible. Besides, the difference between legendary level and the mythical level alone was huge. It was like a chasm that couldn't be filled by numbers. Even 1,000 elemental hearts from 1,000 legendary lords couldn't compare to one mythical elemental heart from one mythical lord. It was that rare. 206 The 3 rewards of the intercampus tournament. Su Yuan was thinking about the elemental hearts, while Yuan was excited about the tournament rewards. Su Yuan, there are a total of 3 rewards for the winner of the championship. Can you guess what they are? Su Yuan yawned. Yuan was a little disappointed at his indifferent reaction. Well, the first reward is that our current resources will be multiplied by 100 times. Yuan was so excited that she was pacing back and forth in front of the throne. She already had a lot of resources because she had snatched them from other lords by using desperate battle. Now, the resources she had would be multiplied by 100. Su Yuan, we can use these resources to do better, she said. I remember you saying you wanted to expand the territory underground. But we didn't have enough resources. Yuan still remembered Su Yuan's original plan. Su Yuan had put it on hold because of a lack of resources and had almost forgotten about it. But she remembered. We can even use the resources to make more Dark Dragon Knights and fuse them into Ultimate Dragon Knights. Yuan wanted to use the resources in 2 ways. First, to expand the territory. Su Yuan's plan of expanding the territory underground was a logical idea. Secondly, Yuan intended to use the resources to develop her troops. In the tournament, she had met many formidable lords and troops. Yuan felt that her troops weren't good enough. She needed more powerful troops. Usually, the heroes were the stronger ones. Nobody could defeat the heroes of other lords easily. However, Yuan felt that if she could make Ultimate Dragon Knights, they could even defeat the other lords' heroes. You are dreaming at this point. Su Yuan rolled his eyes at her. The requirements for creating an Ultimate Dragon Knight were too high. They needed many Dark Dragon Knights in the first place. Then, they needed to be fused to form Dark Dragon Knight Generals. Only after the Dark Dragon Generals were fused would they get an Ultimate Dragon Knight. They didn't even have one Dark Dragon Knight General. Even if Su Yuan used his ability on Dark Dragon Knights and fused them, it always came with a time limit. Su Yuan could only use his ability at critical moments when he needed strong troops for combat. They didn't remain permanently changed. Yuan looked at Su Yuan. She understood the issue. However, Su Yuan's eyes lit up in anticipation. He had an idea. Yuan didn't know what he was thinking, but he certainly looked happy. She didn't ask him. Instead, she told him about the second reward. She took out something that looked like a scroll and showed it to Su Yuan. Look, the second reward is some sort of special building. Yuan was excited about this. The Dark Castle and Dark Arena had done wonders to strengthen her troops. She was eager to know what this special building was capable of. Suddenly, Su Yuan, who had looked so uninterested all this time, reached out a claw. Give that to me? You aren't very lucky in these sorts of things. Let me use it. When Yuan heard this, her pretty face pouted in anger. She was infuriated. On what basis do you claim I have no luck? She said in annoyance. I am the lord here. This thing was given to me. So, I will use it. W didn't say it was hers, but she wanted to hold the scroll tightly in her hands. She didn't like the way Su Yuan implied she was unlucky. Therefore, this time, no matter what, she would use it to build something on her own. She would build something useful to prove that she had luck and intelligence on her side. Give it to me. I won't. Su Yuan noticed Yuan's displeased face. He snorted. Who was the one who built the Dark Arena? If it were you, you wouldn't even have known how. Yuan was flustered. He was right. He could build all sorts of buildings, which always turned out to be useful. But she didn't want to give in. She had to hold her ground. Otherwise, she won't even be able to raise her head with respect in front of him. He would also ridicule her every chance he got. The scroll might be useful in Su Yuan's hands, but Yuan didn't want to admit it. Suddenly, an idea surfaced in her mind. She looked reluctant. I can give it to you, but I want something in return. I want another permanent ability that you can share with me. So-won knew that Su Yuan could share his ability with her. She had used Demonic Dragon's Blessing and Dark Destructive Light before, but they had been temporary. After the end of the competition, Su Yuan had taken back the abilities, and she couldn't use them anymore. She would give him the scroll since he looked very interested in it, but she wanted to ask for an ability in return. N/O/vel/b/jn.c//om. Su Yuan was stunned. However, he thought about it for a while and then agreed to her deal. He hadn't expected Suwon to make such a request. But the issue was, which ability should he share with her permanently? He thought that sharing one of the two abilities that he had shared with her before would be most sensible because she already knew how to use them. The experience point I earn by strengthening the troops isn't as high as those I earn when Suwon kills the enemy. If I give Demonic Dragon's Blessing to her, and she uses it in a fight, would it be counted as her victory even though her troops would be the ones fighting? Wondered Su Yuan. Su Yuan wasn't sure if it worked like that, but he was willing to give it a try. If it worked, he could gain experience points easily by having Suwon use the Demonic Dragon's Blessing. 207 Are you feeling guilty, Su Yuan? Su Yuan thought long and hard about it. It was tedious to use Demonic Dragon's Blessing. He could have Suwon use it next time if he gave her that ability. As for him, he could just lie down and go to sleep while absorbing the experience points he would get from Suwon. The plan was perfect. However, he needed to verify his theory first. It was up to him to decide whether the ability he shared with someone was given temporarily or permanently. If by giving Suwon the Demonic Dragon's Blessing, the kills she committed by using it on the troops gained her the experience points, then it would be a win-win situation. He would make some changes, of course. He would make it so that he would need to approve the use of the ability. Otherwise, Suwon would use it on everything. This was because the Demonic Dragon's Blessing had its limit. It could only be used a few times a day. If Suwon used it on every small monster she came across, then she would not have the advantage of it when an actual, formidable monster came about. And then, she would rely on him again? Su Yuan thought of a plan. Suwon was unaware that Su Yuan had already calculated all the possibilities of her death in such a short time. Although she didn't know what exactly he was thinking about, she had seen that face before. Whenever Su Yuan went quiet and serious, he would most likely be planning to trick somebody. She felt a sense of hopelessness. Why do I feel like you are going to trick me again? Su Yuan shook his head. Suwon narrowed her eyes suspiciously. Are you shaking your head to deny it? Are you perhaps feeling guilty? You have never bothered before. Whenever she had accused him before, Su Yuan had neither acknowledged nor denied it. He always acted sheepish and innocent. Only later would she find out that he had indeed tricked her. But now, she knew she was planning something, and she assumed he was shaking his head, trying to deny everything. Suwon was even more doubtful now. Su Yuan had gone silent suddenly after she had laid down her condition. He was definitely planning something? Su Yuan tried to remedy the situation. Do you want it or not? A few curt words were all he needed to shift the focus of her attention. This was his style, after all. If he started giving her all sorts of explanations, it would make her even more suspicious. Suwon was perplexed. She hesitated. Her suspicions wavered. She knew this was his plan. She was sure that he was planning to trick her. But she was curious about the ability she would get. Suwon gritted her teeth and accepted the situation as it was. Even if he tricked her, she had to find a way to accept it. Yes, I want it, she said. Hurry and tell me which ability it is. Suwon was afraid she would greatly regret her decision. She wanted the scroll to build something special. However, she also knew that irrespective of the deal, Su Yuan would find a way to use the scroll to his own end no matter what she did. So, she decided getting a unique ability was more important than some random building that might not even work in her favor. Su Yuan swished his tail. There is no hurry. Tell me what the third reward is. Suwon was surprised. He didn't seem interested in the rewards before. Of course, Su Yuan wasn't interested in the rewards. But he pretended to be interested in it to stall for time. People didn't cherish the things they obtained easily. If he gave it to her so easily, Suwon would think it was so easy and ask him for more of his abilities. If he pretended that he was very reluctant to give her his ability, she would be more likely to use it properly, even if the ability might have some limitations to it. Su Yuan was not certain what restrictions he should put on the ability before giving it to her. He began to lay the foundation to alter the ability. Meanwhile, Suwon saw him sitting far away in isolation. He looked like an old man reminiscing about his younger days. N/O/vel/b/jn.c//om. Her suspicions disappeared. If he wanted to trick her, he wouldn't look so forlorn. He was acting so evasive. Suwon felt that Su Yuan was unwilling to give her an ability. She was afraid that Su Yuan might decide it wasn't worth it and wouldn't trade with her at all. After all, no matter how special the building of the scroll was, it might not compare to a powerful ability. However, if Su Yuan didn't give her an ability, she wouldn't be able to use it. Suwon wanted to divert his attention. So, she told him about the third reward. She hadn't read everything before because she had been too excited to share it with Su Yuan. So, the third reward is a troop type, she said. It's called Evil Eye. Suwon was speechless. What kind of troop type is this? She was happy to receive a new troop type, but this new troop was also of dark type. She didn't think dark types were weak or anything, but they were gloomy and lifeless. She wanted her territory to be full of life and vitality. Instead, she kept getting dark types that practically looked dead every time. Yuan had dreamed of a territory like Linglong's. Green, full of life, and open sky. If not for Linglong's knack for attracting trouble every time, her territory was perfect. 208 The construction of the dimensional portal. Evil eyes. Yuan looked at Yuan. Evil eyes seemed redundant. They had no forging talent like the dwarves, nor could they be used as cannon fodders like the skeleton soldiers. For now, Evil eyes had no value in the territory. It's not that bad, he said, trying to comfort Yuan. Compared to the two other rewards, the last reward just fell flat. Yuan felt disappointed. Yuan's consolation rang hollow. She knew that the Evil eyes were not that bad. The production cost was low, and they were pretty decent in combat. If it was an ordinary lord, they would be happy. However, to some of the lords who already had stronger troop types, Evil eyes were practically useless. For example, Lord Ayer had his Hydra warriors. So, he would not have much use for Evil eyes. As for Yuan, she already had black gold behemoths and dark dragon knights. She didn't really care much for Evil eyes troop type. She sighed. All right, she said. About our deal. She brushed off the temporary disappointment because she was eager about what came next. Yuan was going to share a skill with her. Yuan was curious whether Yuan would give her a skill she had already used before, or if it would be something new. Nov. L. B //JNN. Yuan thought about it. There is no hurry. Let's create the Evil eyes first and see how they are. He was stalling for time. He planned to create Evil eyes and use the demonic dragon's blessing on them. He had recently upgraded his demonic dragon's blessing to level 4 and had received a special effect. The creatures under the effect of the demonic dragon blessing had a small chance of transformation. He wanted to find out what kind of transformation it would be. He had many questions, one of which was whether the transformed creature would return to its original form after time ran out. If the transformation ended when the ability reached the time limit, then it was pretty useless. Besides, stalling for time would make Yuan think that Yuan was reluctant to part with the said ability and that she would use it properly after receiving it. What? The joyful expression on Yuan's face disappeared. She realized that Yuan didn't want her to get the ability, so he kept making excuses and delaying it. You want to wait till we create the Evil eyes? Then what? Are you going to find more excuses after that? Yuan decided to endure the humiliation, but she wanted to make it clear to him that his tactics wouldn't work on her. Yuan gritted her teeth and created the Evil eyes. Just then, the White Dragon Saint approached Yuan in high spirits. Your Majesty, the dimension portal is almost done. After returning to Yuan territory and being separated from the fallen angel and the dark enchanter, the White Dragon Saint had been thinking about the conspiracy of the light types. The White Dragon Saint felt that the light types were gathering in the hero plane to attack Yuan jointly when he finally arrived. Having returned from the Overlord plane, he would be still weak, so they would take advantage of the situation and attack. The White Dragon Saint wanted to gather all dark types in the Overlord plane and form an alliance so that they could fight on Yuan's side. However, it was hard to go to other lords' territories. The territory core was of utmost importance, so the heroes and lords both stayed near it to protect it. It was not easy to meet them. Yuan suggested the dimensional portal. Yuan had once received a reward that contained the blueprint to create a dimensional portal. Yuan hadn't needed the dimensional portal at that time. Besides, the resources required to build one were way out of Yuan's league. So the blueprint was left in the warehouse to gather dust. Yuan remembered the blueprint when the White Dragon Saint had come up with his plan. Yuan had gathered so many resources during the tournament that it was not difficult to build a dimensional portal in the territory anymore. Yuan told Yuan to give the blueprint to the White Dragon Saint for the time being. The White Dragon Saint was here to report to Yuan that the dimensional portal was almost done. All right, let's go and take a look, said Yuan as he rose from the throne and spread his wings. He flew out of one of the windows of the dark castle. At this moment, a huge skull-shaped building was visible in the open field. The door was at the mouth of the skull, illuminated by blue light. Birdman gave me his coordinates, said the White Dragon Saint. We can visit them directly in their territory later. The White Dragon Saint was referring to the fallen angel. At the same time, in a territory on the other side, Lufasai, the fallen angel, and his lord, Gatter, were sunbathing by the sea and enjoying the breeze. The fallen angel felt suddenly uneasy. What's wrong? Asked Gatter. The fallen angel shook his head. He felt as though a warning came from the depths of his soul that something big was about to happen, but he didn't know what. Strange. Lufasai, do you think we managed to negotiate with that kingdom? Asked Gatter. Gatter wanted to discuss what had happened recently. His territory was located in the far west of the continent, right next to the sea. He had noticed a ship crossing the sea to enter his territory. The ship had been full of humans. That made Gatter very curious. The humans on the Overlord plane were almost always lords from the blue planet. Gatter didn't know if humans were born in the Overlord plane. From what he saw, he realized that the humans came from the other side of the continent. That continent did not seem to follow the rules. They didn't know about lords or heroes. Instead, humans, orcs, elves, and other creatures were fighting to rule that land. 209 Gifting the alien continent to His Majesty, the Dark Demon Dragon. The ship that Gatter had found was from a small kingdom on the other side of the continent. The kingdom of Sop was surrounded by other larger kingdoms. They were finding it difficult to survive. All kinds of resources were tightly controlled by the neighboring kingdoms. Recently, the king of Sop had obtained an ancient book from somewhere. According to ancient records, there was another continent to the east of their continent. Thus, the king sent out ships, intending to find a new continent in the vast ocean and rely on the resources of the new continent to develop the kingdom. When Lord Gader met them, they reached an agreement. Gader would allow them to use the resources here in exchange for the kingdom's specialties. It was almost time for the agreed transaction. Lord Gader was a little worried, afraid that the negotiation would lead to a disaster. Don't worry. Those people are not very good in combat, said the fallen angel. Gader was convinced. On this side of the continent, there were countless lords with their formidable heroes. The other continent had only people without heroes or troops. The other continent was helpless. While Lord Gader waited, a fleet appeared. The king had sent an entire fleet. The captains contacted Lord Gader for permission to approach the land. He agreed. One by one, the ships approached the land. Gader could see many people abroad. Respected lord of the alien continent. This is the voyaging squadron of the kingdom of Sop. The person who spoke was the one who had contacted Gader, seeking his permission to approach the land. She was the princess of the kingdom of Sop. Lord, is this your territory? Asked a noble on the ship. What is the name of your kingdom? They were a bit suspicious because the majority of Gader's territory was in ruins. He didn't have enough resources to repair and renovate. His resources had been snatched away during the tournament. In fact, Gader was lucky his territory core was still intact after the recent beast tide he had to fight off. Gader didn't think much of it. As long as he was alive, and his hero was by his side, he could slowly gather resources and restore his territory to its former glory. However, it was awkward when questioned by the people of the kingdom of Sop. There was nothing he could do. Kingdom? I am sorry. There are no kingdoms here. This land is divided into territories and distributed among countless lords. We all share the land. Gader's explanation made the people of the kingdom of Sop feel a little superior. This land was still not out of barbarism, yet. In contrast, they were a civilized group of people. Why don't we directly attack this place, suggested one of the nobles. They don't have a kingdom. They might not have a military to defend themselves as well. There were no kingdoms here. So, they felt that they didn't need to worry about offending anybody. They could just attack the place and take it for themselves. No, we will stick to our previous plan, said the princess. This didn't mean the princess was kind or reasonable. She saw the fallen angel with dark wings on his back. She had never seen a creature like that before. The whole situation made her feel uneasy. The princess had decided to get in touch with Gader to get to know him better. It would not be too bad to make a decision later after confirming whether Gader was a threat or not. The sky suddenly changed. A huge skull appeared over Gader's territory. The skull opened its mouth and a blue energy ball condensed into a door. Burn, incinerate everything. A hell goblin knight jumped out of the door. The flames on its body burned furiously. The first thing Lord Gader thought about was an enemy invasion. However, he realized that was silly. Who would make a dimensional portal directly into another's territory to attack? He looked at the hell goblin knight closely. It looked familiar. It was Suwan's troop. The fallen angel was calmer than Gader. He had discussed with the white dragon saint to find a way to make a dimensional portal to gather the dark types. The fallen angel knew the dimensional portal was from Suwan's territory. The hell goblin knights poured one after the other. Yuan would never resort to petty tricks to scare them, nor would Suwan. This was definitely the idea of the white dragon saint. So, both the fallen angel and Lord Gader calmed themselves. The people on the voyage were scared out of their wits. It seemed as though terrifying troops had emerged from hell. This continent has been cursed by hell. It is no wonder there is no kingdom in this place. The civilization was destroyed by creatures of hell. These were some of the thoughts that ran through the minds of those on the ships. At this moment, a white dragon flew out of the dimensional portal with a roar. N/O/vel/B/jn.C//OM. Birdman, I've come under the order of His Majesty. Why don't you kneel and welcome me? The arrogant voice of the terrifying dragon, coupled with the hell goblin knights, confirmed the people's guess. Hurry, we need to run away before it's too late. The people abandoned all thoughts of trading with Gader. They got into their ships and sailed away. This continent was too dangerous for them. They needed to consider it carefully. Looking at the ships sailing away, the fallen angel was furious. Black-hearted dragon, you've scared away all our prey. It had not been easy to convince the people of that kingdom to negotiate. He could have gotten the coordinates of that continent as well? Why? What's wrong? Asked the white dragon saint. The white dragon saint was frightening, but he wasn't here to cause any harm. He only meant to play a trick on the fallen angel. You scared away those people from the other continents. Lord Gader's face was bitter. He was enraged, but he couldn't really afford to offend the ferocious white dragon saint. So, he explained patiently. Another continent. The white dragon saint's curiosity was piqued. If we can attack that alien continent and gift it to His Majesty, it would be a great achievement, said the white dragon saint. The fallen angel had to admit that the white dragon saint's idea was good. He was better at being an underling than him. The fallen angel had been thinking about the strange continent's resources and specialties, but the white dragon saint only thought of gifting it to the dark demon dragon. Let's talk about that later. Did you succeed in making the dimensional portal? Asked the white dragon saint. Or are you planning to use somebody else's? 210 shared skill, demonic dragon's blessing. The White Dragon Saint was creating a dimensional portal to contact other dark types. When the White Dragon Saint had opened the portal to Lord Gadder's territory, both the Lord and the fallen angel were near the sea. Meanwhile, the ship sailed away in a hurry. The people of the Kingdom of Sop were terrified. Your Highness, this continent is not as simple as we thought. Some of the nobles were scared out of their wits. Their continent was devoid of magical advancement. They had seen elves and orcs, but that was about it. They had never seen creatures like the Hell Goblin Knights or dragons. They were so scared that they didn't dare approach the coast anymore. They didn't want to negotiate with Lord Gadder. The eldest princess of the Kingdom of Sop nodded in agreement. That's right. The eldest princess was glad that she had remained calm and hadn't ordered an attack on the continent in a hurry. It was frightening, but the continent is huge. We can't give up on exploring the place, said the princess. Captain, please go around the land to the other side. The continent was still mysterious, and the princess wanted to explore it. It was full of opportunities. Maybe other places on the continent were safer and not as hellish as Lord Gadder's place. All they needed to do was circle around the edge and find another place to land. In Suwon's territory, she had heard the commotion and arrived to check the area. Scammer Su, is this a dimensional portal? It had been so long since she had met her friends. This is great. We can go meet Yao Yao and Rong Rong. Suwon's first thought upon seeing the dimensional portal was not to plan a war, it was to see her friends. Yao Yao's territory is near the sea. She has been inviting me there to have fun, but I never got the chance to visit. Among the four friends, only Suwon and Shi Lenglong's territories were nearby, so they occasionally met each other. However, Lin Yao and Zhao Qingrong's territories were too far away. Without a dimensional portal, it was impossible to travel to their territories. Although Suwon could travel by land and reach their territories, she never did. If her own territory got attacked, she might not make it in time to defend it. So, she had never thought of visiting her friends' territories. All lords faced the same problem. They were unwilling to leave their territory and travel to faraway places. Su Yuan didn't say anything in response. He just yawned. The fallen angel appeared in her territory through the dimensional portal along with the White Dragon Saint. Suwon had just finished creating the evil eyes. She went to find Su Yuan. Su Yuan, it's time to fulfill your promise? We already agreed. Don't make any more excuses. Su Yuan looked at her. He slowly nodded. Congratulations symbiont Suwon on obtaining the demonic dragon's blessing. When Suwon saw the prompt, her breath hitched in her throat. She was ecstatic. She had tried to understand the ability she received. She had used this with another ability momentarily in the tournament. The demonic dragon's blessing and the dark destructive light were two unparalleled abilities. Even if the troop was weak, using these two abilities would ensure an easy victory. Try using it on the evil eyes, said Su Yuan. See if there is a difference between the one you use and the one I use. Suwon didn't think much about it for now. She activated the ability. Demonic Dragon's Blessing. Her face turned pale, as though all blood had drained from her face. N/O/vel/B/in.C//OM. Black flames and mist surrounded the evil eyes. They were about to transform. But her leg trembled, and she almost fell to the ground. Su Yuan, your skill is so lame. I feel exhausted. My energy was drained completely. Suwon complained weakly. The moment she activated the ability, she felt her energy draining away until she collapsed. Su Yuan remained calm. That's normal. Although the ability is the same, it might have different results from how I used it. Su Yuan tried to explain that different people wielding the same ability will give different results. He wanted to make her understand that if she found any defects or limitations in her ability, it would be because of her lack of experience and not because of him. Suwon nodded. However, she still had many questions in her mind. In the tournament, she had used the same ability, and she was able to use it properly. So, why couldn't she use it in the same way right now? Maybe, it is because now the ability isn't temporary, it's permanent, Su Yuan lied. Su Yuan had tampered with the ability. He had made it so that the ability would consume more of her energy than usual. He had done it to prevent Suwon from using the ability multiple times a day. Su Yuan was just testing out the modifications for now. Just as Su Yuan was trying to think of a way to divert her attention, Suwon suddenly turned to the evil eyes. Su Yuan, look, she said. Suwon was excited. Su Yuan looked and saw that there was a handsome young man in the evil eyes army. The other evil eyes had a grotesque appearance, with one eyeball and a few tentacles. However, unlike them, this young man was passably handsome. The evil eye glowed with weak light, and an image was formed. The image was a projection. Is this an evolution? Asked Suwon excitedly. Su Yuan wasn't surprised. He was aware of it. The transformation effect. Su Yuan still had a question he wanted the answer to. Is this transformation temporary or permanent? He also wanted to know about their abilities. He wanted to wait till the ability wore off to see if the transformation would remain, but he didn't want to waste the ability. So, he told Suwon to take the evil eyes to the nearby barbarian lair and kill some monsters before the ability wore off. 211 The special transformation of the evil eyes. Suwon was reluctant to listen to Su Yuan's suggestion. She felt like he was trying to trick her again. But he did fulfill his promise and give her an ability. Suwon decided to agree to his suggestion. She wanted to lead the evil eyes army and fight a few barbarians. Let's go, she said. So-won pointed in a direction, urging the Evil Eye's army to follow her. How do you know barbarians can be found in that direction? Su Yuan asked curiously. So-won had been in the tournament all this time, and she hadn't had the chance to explore the area. So, how did she know barbarians were in the direction she pointed? So-won snorted and chuckled. In the past, she had always struggled because Su Yuan liked to play tricks on her. She felt a sense of accomplishment because he finally took her seriously enough to ask her a question. What do you think? Nobody is as lazy as you, she said. In the past, when you slept all day, I was out exploring. So-won had a clear understanding of the surrounding areas. She knew where the barbarians gathered. With all the troops at her disposal, she sort of underestimated the barbarians. She left them alone until she needed to gain more experience points. They were easy to kill at this point. Soon, the Evil Eyes returned after getting rid of the barbarians. As far as So-won knew, that area had only a few barbarians, so it was easy to get rid of them. However, So-won was doubtful. The Evil Eyes had brought back no corpses to prove that they had done the job. Just when So-won was thinking about this, the handsome young man stepped forward from the Evil Eye's army. His eyes projected a video. It showed the Evil Eye's army killing the barbarians at the lair. Your eye can be used to record video, asked So-won. She had not expected this at all. Su Yuan, look at this. She wanted to share this exciting thing with Su Yuan. However, Su Yuan, as ever, wasn't paying attention. What? He turned to look at So-won in a daze. She explained to him that the eye of the handsome young man could be used to record videos. Su Yuan was also excited. Su Yuan had suggested sending them to kill the barbarians. So-won felt that he should know about this since it was his idea in the first place. However, Su Yuan was enjoying himself. This time, when the Evil Eyes had killed the barbarians, he had received a greater number of experience points than usual. Su Yuan was now certain about his theory. Perhaps I was right. If the troops are strengthened by So-won, then their victory is counted as her victory. Which means, I get more experience points. Su Yuan was excited. If So-won used the demonic dragon's blessing to make a troop kill monsters, then the kills were counted under her name. This way, Su Yuan could receive numerous experience points. Scammer Su, are you listening? What's wrong with you? So-won reached out and shook him, trying to make him come back to the present. Su Yuan, the Evil Eye's army is really useful. We can even use them to obtain information before we venture into dangerous areas, said Su Yuan. So-won listened to him attentively. Since they can record and project everything like a movie, they will come in handy when we want to go to some dangerous places but want to find more information about it. We can send Evil Eyes to patrol enemy areas. That way, they can record everything. Even if they die, they can show us everything once we resurrect them. So-won nodded. As expected of you, when it comes to tricking and scamming people, no one can do better. Nov. L. B // JNN. So-won hadn't thought of using the Evil Eyes in that way, but what Su Yuan said made sense. Evil Eyes were a convenient way of gathering information. Soon, the demonic dragon's blessing ran out, and the Evil Eyes returned to their original state. Su Yuan noticed that the Evil Eye that had transformed did not revert to its original form. The transformation was permanent. Su Yuan mentioned this to So-won. This ability is really unnatural, said So-won. However, she didn't dwell much on it. Why don't we try once again, said So-won. She wanted to use the ability once again, but she was uncertain. If she could transform more of the Evil Eyes, Su Yuan didn't refuse. She activated the ability. Soon, she collapsed on the ground. The Evil Eye's army was much luckier than the first time. At least, 3 or 4 of them transformed. So-won was excited. Su Yuan didn't say anything. A few of the transformed Evil Eyes showed strange abilities. One flew up the sentry tower and perched there. It projected a moving image. Su Yuan and So-won appeared in the projection. It's like being live on TV, exclaimed So-won. It's being broadcasted live. 212 Su Yuan has tricked me again. Nov. L. B / JNN. So-won was stunned, and so was Su Yuan. He understood what So-won meant. The image projected by the Evil Eye was like a live broadcast. Su Yuan looked at the corner. A transformed Evil Eye was staring at them. It's true, he said. It's being broadcasted from this side. Su Yuan flew to the Evil Eye and covered the eye. It's gone, said So-won. It went dark the moment you covered its eye. I think I understand now, said So-won. She led a transformed Evil Eye to the dark castle and left it there. She returned to where the other Evil Eyes were gathered. Can you show us what the other Evil Eye sees? The Evil Eye she was talking to did not have a head to nod and show its understanding. Instead, its eye began to glow, and a ray shot out to form a projection. It showed everything from the perspective of the Evil Eye inside the dark castle. So-won was excited. It works. She had felt that the Evil Eyes as a troop type was a disappointing reward. However, she didn't expect them to be so useful after being enhanced by the demonic dragon's blessing. The Evil Eyes had unlimited possibilities. The Evil Eyes could be used to communicate in real time. It's like a video call. If we call the Evil Eye, which is in the dark castle, it can show us everything in real time. So-won was worried that Su Yuan might not understand some of the things, like video call and TV. She tried to explain to him in detail. She was unaware that Su Yuan understood her perfectly. He also understood the value of Evil Eyes now. So-won waited for a little while to recover. She wanted to try the demonic dragon's blessing on her other troops. She activated the ability. This time, she decided to use it on the Dark Dragon Knight. She wished for a Dark Dragon Knight to turn into Dark Dragon Knight General so that her dream of creating the ultimate Dragon Knight would come true. However, when she activated the ability this time, she didn't feel her energy drain away like before. She remembered that she had collapsed to the ground both times when she had used the same ability on the evil eyes. Is it because I didn't activate the ability successfully this time? Said Yuan. She looked at Yuan. Yuan considered another possibility. Maybe the ability was ineffective against the Dark Dragon Knights. Something is wrong, said Yuan. How can the ability be ineffective? She remembered that Yuan had used the ability on the Dark Dragon Knights before. After using it on them, fusing them in the Dark Arena had given them the ultimate Dragon Knight. The Dark Dragon Knights couldn't be immune to the ability? I can't use my ability on them, said Yuan. Is that why it's not consuming any of my energy? Yuan couldn't understand what was wrong. Yuan only gave an ambiguous answer. Maybe. Yuan knew perfectly well why she couldn't use the ability. The demonic dragon's blessing shouldn't consume too much of Yuan's energy anyway. She had used it in the tournament without any problem. Yuan saw how she struggled. She had collapsed twice already. So, he modified the ability once again to consume less energy. As for why it didn't work on Dark Dragon Knights, perhaps it was just a coincidence. Yuan couldn't believe it. She tried to use the ability on the Golden Behemoth. However, it was the same. Her ability didn't work. The Golden Behemoth didn't transform into Black Gold Behemoth. Maybe, the less energy it consumes, the lower the chance of the ability to work on the troops, said Yuan. Yuan decided to try it on the skeletal soldiers. But before Yuan could even use the ability, the whole territory shook. What's going on? She said. Is it an earthquake? Yuan was a little flustered. However, Yuan was keenly aware that it wasn't an earthquake. A special force from the underground had hit the surface. It's under the territory, said Yuan. Aren't the ruins of the ancient empire under our territory? Said Yuan. Her breath came out raggedly. The sunken city, a part of the ancient empire, had appeared under their territory before. It was a pity that the formidable ancient empire was only a ruin now. In the past, it had technology that could fly in space and sail to the deepest part of the sea. Yuan and the others had discovered the ruins and explored them. Has it reappeared? Asked Yuan. She still vividly remembered how the ruins had looked. She had thought that she might not get to see them ever again at that time. However, it seemed like the ancient empire had resurfaced. We didn't explore it properly last time. This time, we have to plan well, thought Yuan, getting excited about the prospect. Last time, she had been stressed about the intercampus tournament and was preparing for it. So, she wasn't able to focus properly on the ruins. Yuan resolved that this time would be different. The tournament had ended. She had won. Her next goal would be to meticulously explore the ruins of the ancient empire. This is good, said Yuan. We need to plan well this time. I think it will be good if we can make use of the ruin to expand our territory. Yuan was glad that Yuan agreed. However, his words shocked her. 213 conquering the ancient ruins to turn it into an underground territory. An underground ancient ruin turned into underground territory. Yuan was aware of Yuan's dream of expanding the territory underground. He had explained to her how dangerous it was to expand the territory on the surface. Expanding it underground was the safer choice. As for making that a reality, it never worked because they didn't have enough resources. Yuan had thought that plan would be abandoned. However, after she obtained many resources from the tournament, she wanted to turn Yuan's dream into reality. Yuan was shocked at Yuan's words. He wanted to claim the ancient ruin as his own and transform it so that the territory could be expanded. Yuan realized that this was exactly how Yuan was. But, I don't think that's a good idea. She did feel that it was a bad idea, but she didn't reject his suggestion. He did have a point. If they did it from scratch, it would require immense manpower and resources. However, if they used the ancient ruins, they could renovate and use the buildings in it to serve their purpose. Yuan felt a little excited about the prospect. However, a small rational voice somewhere within her told her that this was a very bad idea. After all, it was the ruins of an ancient empire. Yuan hesitated. She was worried about provoking any ancient undead creature that might be found in the ruins. However, the White Dragon Saint and the Fallen Angel had no such qualms. They perked up. As expected of you, Your Majesty. We will follow you to the underground ruins. The Fallen Angel and the White Dragon Saint rushed towards Yuan, eager to show their loyalty. n/o/vel/b/jn.c//om. The scene perplexed Yuan. Yuan hadn't even said that they would be heading to the ruins yet. Yuan didn't want to explore the ruins just yet. Without waiting for Yuan to approve of it, the White Dragon Saint and the Fallen Angel had already started amassing an army to barge into the ruins. This is wrong, thought Yuan. The White Dragon Saint approached Yuan. Your Majesty, please grant me the authority to command the Dark Dragon Knights. I will lead them to clear the new territory for you. The White Dragon Saint should have been seeking permission from Yuan, the lord of the territory. But he was only bowing down to Yuan. He wanted command of one of her troops, and he didn't even find it important to. Exactly whose territory is this? Yuan was enraged. The Fallen Angel flew to Yuan too. Your Majesty, please grant me the authority to lead the Burning Legion. I, Lufacai, will not disappoint you. Lord Gadder was baffled at his hero's behavior. Lufaisai, who is your lord? We have our own army. The fallen angel shook his head. As the dark demon dragon's representative, it is only natural for me to lead a dark type army. The fallen angel was being so picky. If it wasn't an army of the dark type, he didn't even want to lead them. Yuan and Lord Gader exchanged glances, feeling perplexed. As for Yuan, he didn't see anything wrong with the White Dragon Saint and the fallen angel's proposition. Just as he was about to agree, Yuan appeared at his side. Yuan, she said. Don't you dare. These troops are mine. You are my hero. I have no problem with you using them however you please, but don't you dare give the authority to someone else. These troops are mine as much as they are yours. They have to seek my permission if they want to lead them. Yuan was angry. She knew Yuan would make a decision without consulting her if she didn't shout at him. Yuan knew from experience that Yuan always tricked and ignored her. Even other heroes had started ignoring her as a lord. Yuan didn't say anything, but he looked at Yuan as though he was asking for her permission. If that is what you want to do, then I will allow it just this once, she said. She deliberately said this. If she didn't, she felt like her authority as a lord wouldn't matter to anyone. It wouldn't take long for the White Dragon Saint and the fallen angel to forget about her again. The underground ruin is the ancient empire, asked the fallen angel. The ruins were directly under Yuan's territory. Every lord knew about the ancient ruin. However, this was news to the fallen angel. He lived with his lord by the sea, which was very far from the mainland. He had thought that the ruins were just ordinary ruins found everywhere. He had no idea that it was the ancient empire's ruins until the White Dragon Saint mentioned it. If that is true, it will be difficult to conquer it, said the fallen angel. He looked cautious. Unlike the White Dragon Saint, the fallen angel had once been deputy to the King of Heaven. He knew many things that the White Dragon Saint did not. The fallen angel knew more about the ancient ruins than the White Dragon Saint. Is it going to be that difficult? The White Dragon Saint noticed the somber expression on the fallen angel's face. He wasn't playful anymore. How should we deal with it then? The fallen angel had his hands on his chin. He was deep in thought. He didn't answer the White Dragon Saint for a while. We can't act rashly. The two of us might not be enough to explore the whole ruin, said the fallen angel. Why don't we call the other two in this mission? The other two that the fallen angel referred to were the red-eyed black dragon and the dark enchanter. 214 For Heavenly Darkness of the King. All right, said the White Dragon Saint. We can call this alliance the Four Heavenly Darkness of the King. Really? Four Heavenly Darkness of the King. The fallen angel snorted. You are white. Yuan and Gader almost laughed at that. It did seem a little silly. The fallen angel had black feathers, so the description suited him. The red-eyed black dragon had black scales. The dark enchanter was called the dark enchanter for a reason. But the White Dragon Saint didn't look dark. He even had white scales. What are you trying to say? Said the White Dragon Saint. My white scales have come in handy at the most critical moment every time. I can even sneak in among the light types as a spy. After the fallen angel and the White Dragon Saint quarreled for a bit, they decided to visit the territories of the other two heroes to recruit them. There should be 5 members in the Four Heavenly Darkness of the King, said Yuan suddenly. His words confused everyone for a moment. Finally, Yuan stepped forward to explain. What Yuan means is, there should be 5 members. 4 of you being led by another one, a general, so to speak. The others felt that this was strange logic. Why would they need 5 members to form the Four Heavenly Darkness of the King? The fallen angel and the White Dragon Saint seemed as though they wanted to say something. But they stopped themselves. It wouldn't do to go against the logic of the mighty dark demon dragon. They couldn't refute Yuan's explanation, either. But where can we find the 5th person? The fallen angel and the White Dragon Saint discussed for a while and felt that this 5th member would not be easy to find. The 5th member would have to be of formidable strength. They should also be dark type. And they should be someone who the other members were familiar with. n/o/vel/b/jn.c//om. It doesn't have to be dark type. As long as they are not light types, it will be okay. Even if they are of light type, we can just turn them to dark type, said Yuan. Yuan usually didn't speak much. He didn't usually give out ideas. But when he did, his suggestions always shocked everyone. The White Dragon Saint and the Fallen Angel felt that Yuan had already planned this. He had already seen through this and wanted to lure someone from among the light types. Please don't tell me we are going to abduct the Light Princess, said the White Dragon Saint. He thought that this was what Yuan wanted. As the second in command to lead the light types, the Light Princess was second in strength and power to only one person among the light types. If they could abduct her and convert her to a dark type, the strength of the dark types would be greatly increased. I think the idea is not that bad, said the Fallen Angel. While they talked about it, Yuan and Gader were confused. They didn't know how things worked in the hero plane. As for Yuan, he rolled his eyes at the White Dragon Saint and the Fallen Angel. They were so clueless. He just wanted to urge them not to limit their vision only to the dark types but to keep their options open for other elements of power. How did these two come up with the idea of abducting the Light Princess? However, Yuan didn't refute it. He kept quiet as though he agreed with them. He was curious to see whether the White Dragon Saint and the Fallen Angel could truly lure the Light Princess and convert her to a dark type. If it worked, it would be great. It would not only strengthen the dark types but also weaken the light types in one stroke. Well, if they win, they win. If not, there is no loss, thought Su Yuan. The nine-headed hydra is pretty strong too, said Su Yuan. The white dragon saint agreed. You are right, your majesty. The nine-headed hydra was pretty strong when we fought before. He is a suitable candidate. The white dragon saint had to admit that the nine-headed hydra was formidable. Abducting the light princess to be the fifth member was too unrealistic. It would be easier to recruit the nine-headed hydra than to lure the light princess. However, they did not have the coordinates of Lord Air's territory, so they put that idea on hold. The most important thing at the moment was to gather the Dark Enchanter and the red-eyed black dragon to explore the ancient ruins. They had already shared their coordinates with the White Dragon Saint before, so it was possible to reach them. The White Dragon Saint opened the dimensional portal to Lord Bevan's territory. Just like Lord Gatter, Lord Bevan and the red-eyed black dragon panicked when they saw the huge skull appear over their territory. They thought this was an attack. Only when they saw the White Dragon Saint and the fallen angel coming out of the portal did they relax. A dark alliance. Bevan and the red-eyed black dragon exchanged glances. Bevan could see the excitement of the red-eyed black dragon. His hero seemed extremely enthusiastic. The red-eyed black dragon noticed his lord's doubt. In the hero plane, the Dark Alliance was held only 3 times in history. The last one was held by the Dark Magician Marshal. Bevan was still puzzled. The red-eyed black dragon understood that his lord knew nothing of the hero plane, so he explained in simpler terms. The Dark Magician Marshal was the leader of the Dark-type heroes. He led the Dark types during the Third War between the Light and the Dark. Lord Bevan finally understood. The Dark Alliance happened during the First, Second, and Third Wars. Every time, it was led by the leader of the Dark types. The Red Eyes Black Dragon further explained that he had not been able to join the last Dark Alliance because he had not been qualified enough. It was an alliance that would decide the future of the Dark types. To the Red-Eyed Black Dragon, being invited to form the Dark Alliance was a dream and an immense honor. He never thought his dream would come true one day. Everything had happened so suddenly. He was ecstatic. Soon, the fourth hero also arrived. The Dark Enchanter, Eve, and Lord Lena walked through the dimensional portal into Suwon's territory. The 4 generals gathered to discuss the future of the Dark types. 215 Rebuilding the Dark Alliance. Su Yuan had transformed into his mini-dragon form so that he could lie down on the throne. He sat on the throne and looked at the 4 Dark-type heroes who had gathered below. The Dark Enchanter and the Fallen Angel stood to the left, while the Red-Eyed Black Dragon and the White Dragon Saint stood on the right. Their respective lords stood by their sides. The atmosphere was solemn. Everyone, said the White Dragon Saint. Since we have all gathered here, I will hold this meeting on behalf of His Majesty. The White Dragon Saint noticed that Su Yuan didn't speak, so he took over. You, said the Fallen Angel mockingly. Why would you speak on behalf of His Majesty? What qualifications do you have that sets you apart from us? Let me be the first to disagree with your proposition. Besides, you don't even have a lord. This was a fatal blow. Every other hero had a lord and was bound by the rules of the Overlord plane. They could also enjoy some perks of the Overlord plane. For example, they could be resurrected after death if the territory core was intact. However, the White Dragon Saint was different. It wasn't just his scales and his appearance. He was different in the sense that he had no lord. Everyone looked at Su Yuan for a decision. They knew that Su Yuan's words would be final. It would be absolute. However, it was also true that he didn't really participate in trivial matters. It was very important for the leader to be chosen for this alliance right from the beginning. Su Yuan glances at them one by one. His gaze lingered on the Dark Enchanter and the Fallen Angel. The leader could only be someone from the 2 heroes. One of them was the daughter of the Dark Magician Marshal, who had once been the leader of the Dark types. Besides, the Dark Enchanter, Eve, was so powerful that she could hold her own. On the other hand, the Fallen Angel had been a deputy to the King of Heaven in the past. If he chose the Dark Enchanter, many of the old Dark types would willingly follow her out of their loyalty to her father, the Dark Magician Marshal. If he chose the Fallen Angel, he could rely on the hero's ability and experience of ruling his subordinates as the deputy to the King of Heaven. He would also be a good leader. Su Yuan was conflicted. If he chose the Dark Enchanter, he would gain more loyal followers and experts who were once devoted to the Dark Magician Marshal. Many would respond to Eve's orders. However, she was still young and inexperienced in leading subordinates. Meanwhile, the Fallen Angel had experience and knowledge on how to rule and command subordinates because he had done it before as the deputy to the King of Heaven. However, the Fallen Angel as a leader might not sit well with some of the Dark types because he once was a Light type. He must have offended many other Dark types while he ruled. Many Dark types would refuse to follow him. Before Su Yuan could declare his decision, the White Dragon Saint, the Fallen Angel, and the Red-Eyed Black Dragon made a unanimous decision. Your Majesty, we propose that the Dark Enchanter, Eve, be chosen to lead this alliance and preside over the meeting. Crack. The Dark Enchanter, Eve, had broken the staff that was in her hand. Why? Because I am his daughter. Eve stared at them icily. She had worked so hard to achieve things on her own. She had always put extra effort into becoming strong so that she could be acknowledged based on her effort and strength. She wanted to be remembered for her strength and resilience. She didn't just want to be known as the daughter of the Dark Magician Marshal but as a powerful hero in her own right. Seeing how the others had agreed so willingly implied to her that the thing she hated the most had come to pass. The atmosphere was so tense that it was almost blowing up into chaos. So Yuan noticed that the situation was going to deteriorate. She whispered into Su Yuan's ear, "Su Yuan, do something? Why don't you say something to stop them? Otherwise, it might get ugly." Su Yuan yawned lazily. "Why, isn't this good? We have something to watch to keep us entertained." So Yuan was so angry when she heard this that she almost shouted at him. However, she didn't want to do that in front of everybody. If she shouted at Su Yuan right now, both the fangirl Eve and the other fangirl, the White Dragon Saint, might attack her. So Yuan decided to intervene. "Everyone, please calm down. Please let me say a few words." The four heroes looked at her. "You, what qualifications do you have to interrupt us? Who are you even?" None of them thought very highly of So Yuan as a lord. This was the internal matter of the dark types, and no lord was allowed to interfere. It was at this time, So Yuan realized how little they thought of her. She found their arrogance insulting. Until now, they had just ignored her or let her be because of Su Yuan. However, when she tried to help restore peace, they insulted her. So Yuan was stunned. Who am I? If she only said she was a lord, they wouldn't give a rat's ass about it. She had to do something. The only way to make them respect her was to show that she was equal to Su Yuan. So Yuan thought for a while. She took a deep breath. She closed her eyes. Black flames encased her. "You ask who I am," she turned to them. "I am the lord of the hero you mule around every day calling him your majesty. A pair of black wings unfurled from her back. She was in her demonic dragon form. "I am Su Yuan's lord, in contract, for so long as he dies, or I die permanently. And when I speak, you will listen. Is my status enough for you now?" Everyone fell silent. No one spoke. She knew that if she didn't use this form, they would not be intimidated enough to listen to her. Whether it was the fallen angel or the white dragon saint, or even the dark enchanter, they looked at her with newfound respect. Their attitudes toward her changed. "Now then, please allow me to speak a few words," said So Yuan. "As the lord and representative of the dark demon dragon, I will chair this meeting." She glanced at Su Yuan. He didn't say anything. "No objections?" "Great," said So Yuan. "As far as I have understood from your incessant whining, the Dark Alliance is created to better manage the dark types when they are gathered to fight against the light types. Therefore, it is only proper for the most powerful dark type to lead the alliance. As of now, the most powerful dark type present is the Dark Enchanter, Eve, who will lead the alliance." The Dark Enchanter, Eve, looked a little less angry. She still thought that she had been chosen because of her father's legacy. But So Yuan's words made sense. No matter what the others thought of her, she was one of the most powerful dark types. N/O/vel/b/jn.c//om. It is decided that the Dark Enchanter, Eve, is chosen to lead the Dark Alliance. She will preside over the future meetings of the Dark Alliance and manage the dark types. This decision will be made final after the votes from all four generals and the current person presiding this meeting. The temperament of a queen, So Yuan diffuses the situation. In the dark castle, in front of the throne, So Yuan had transformed into her demonic dragon form to defuse the situation. As the leader of the Dark Alliance, you will have to take charge of all matters relating to the dark types and the dark demon dragon. So Yuan made it clear that the Dark Enchanter was the leader. She knew that everyone had inexplicable trust and faith in Su Yuan. So, she mentioned him to make the heroes more loyal to each other. The White Dragon Saint was the first to voice out that he had no objection to the decision. He clearly saw So Yuan's demonic dragon form. As a lord who shared the dark demon dragon's power, she must really be the spokesperson that the dark demon dragon had specifically chosen. So, the White Dragon Saint listened attentively. The fallen angel frowned. He knew that So Yuan was the dark demon dragon's lord. However, he had never acknowledged her before. Lords were just passers-by in their lives as heroes. A hero and a lord's bond was temporary. The lord would grow sick and die. Their lifespan simply wasn't as long as the heroes. So, he hadn't given much thought to So Yuan, until now. When he saw her take the demonic dragon form, he was stunned. He understood that So Yuan wasn't a simple hero, and the bond between Su Yuan and So Yuan wasn't that of an ordinary lord and hero. "If His Majesty doesn't have an objection to it, I have no objection as well," said the fallen angel. Only the red-eyed black dragon and the dark enchanter were left to voice out their decision. The red-eyed black dragon also voiced no objection. Everyone looked at the dark enchanter. She was the last one. Her decision would seal the deal. The Dark Enchanter was not like other heroes. She had spent her entire life trying to make her own identity under the shadow of her father's legacy. Yet she couldn't shake off the fact that her father was the Dark Magician Marshal. She was the daughter of the previous emperor. Myths and legends could always be questioned. Some believed in them and worshipped them. Others, not so much. There were some elders from the previous generation who were unwilling to follow a dark demon dragon who had appeared out of nowhere. Still, others had only heard about such an existence and had never really seen it. However, the Dark Enchanter was the daughter of their former leader. Leadership ran in her blood. They would be loyal to her because she symbolized the dynasty to which they once belonged. Only the strongest would ever dare oppose the Dark Enchanter. "You," said the Dark Enchanter, looking at So Yuan. "If you are the spokesperson of the Dark Demon Dragon, does that mean I have to report to you for my message to be passed to His Majesty?" For the dark types, the Dark Demon Dragon was at the topmost level. It seemed So Yuan was second in command if she claimed to be his spokesperson. After that was the Dark Alliance. As the leader of the Dark Alliance, the Dark Enchanter wanted to know if she should report to whoever was directly below in the hierarchy to the Dark Demon Dragon. But Yuan shook her head. As much of an honor I consider that to be, I know my current ability. I cannot take on such a task. I can only suggest that the leader of the Dark Alliance and the other council heads report directly to the Dark Demon Dragon. As the Dark Demon Dragon's representative, I can only act as an inspector to make sure the alliance is running smoothly. At this time, Yuan displayed a queen's temperament. She had defused the situation and taken control of the current scene to steer it in the right direction. She was aware of her own limitations. She had no knowledge or experience to be able to advise and command the leader of the Dark Alliance. These heroes had lived for thousands of years. She was no match for them. Therefore, she only suggested that she act as an inspector and represent the Dark Demon Dragon to inspect the Dark Alliance occasionally. Other council heads, asked Lord Gatter suddenly. I thought Her Highness Dark Enchanter Eve is the leader of the alliance. After Gatter learned about the Dark Enchanter's identity, he referred to her as Her Highness. Her father was the Dark Magician Marshal, leader of the Dark types. He was, for all intents and purposes, the Dark Emperor, after all. So, it was only apt to call the Dark Enchanter Her Highness. She was practically a princess? After Gatter raised the question, everyone looked at Yuan. It's simple, said Yuan. The four heavenly darkness of the king is the Dark Alliance for now. One of them is the leader, while the other three are her deputies. What Yuan suggested was simple. The leader was the Dark Enchanter, while the other three would be council heads, responsible for different things. After they heard Yuan's explanation, everyone turned to the Dark Enchanter. Her opinion as the new leader was very important. If she had another opinion, it would create a conflict between the new emperor and the past emperor. That would make the dark types fight among themselves. Everything would fall apart. Everyone was worried, but they didn't have to be so on edge. Eve glanced at them. Why the long faces? Do you think I can go against His Majesty's will? She did not refute Yuan's suggestion. Yuan claimed to be the Dark Demon Dragon's representative, and the Dark Demon Dragon hadn't questioned it. If they had a problem with Yuan's proposition, they would have to take it up with the Dark Demon Dragon himself. Everyone was relieved when the Dark Enchanter was on board with Yuan's suggestion. They had been most afraid of the conflict between the Dark Enchanter, who represented the previous leader, and Yuan, who was the supreme leader right now. Everyone felt that Eve, as the daughter of the former leader of the Dark type, might not approve of Yuan, even though she addressed him as Your Majesty. Lord Lena raised a critical question. But Eve, why are you so obedient to the Dark Demon Dragon? Lena knew her hero. The Dark Enchanter was proud and mighty. She was powerful. She often claimed that she could lead the entire Dark types single-handedly. Leadership was in her blood. As a princess of the Dark types, it did not make sense why she was so obedient and devoted to a new leader that had appeared out of nowhere. Lord Lena was puzzled. The other lords, Bevin, Gatter, and Yuan were confused as well. The troops are deployed to the underground ruins. Lord Bevin and Lord Gatter could not figure out why the Dark Enchanter was so submissive to Yuan. Even Yuan thought about all possibilities but couldn't come up with an explanation. The lords assumed that Yuan was extremely powerful, so every hero followed him out of fear, even Eve. Yuan felt that Yuan was lazy, and had some unique abilities. However, that wasn't enough to make the Dark Enchanter so obedient. In Yuan's eyes, Yuan was just a support-type hero. Does she want some ability from Yuan to achieve some other goal? Yuan's imagination took over. She thought the Dark Enchanter, a dark princess, wanted Yuan's help to take revenge on someone. The fallen angel interrupted her thoughts. Alright, everyone, don't think too much about it. The fallen angel found it difficult to explain Yuan's identity. As heroes, they were all aware of the legend of the Dark Demon Dragon. The Dark Demon Dragon's powers were beyond everything they could comprehend. However, the fallen angel couldn't help but feel a little doubtful. The Dark Enchanter's obedience towards Yuan didn't seem like a matter of the weak being devoted to the strong. As for the Dark Enchanter, she noticed that everybody was doubting her intentions. Cut the CR*P. She snorted. All you need to know is that whoever disrespects His Majesty will be my enemy. The Dark Enchanter, Eve, had a secret she had never told anyone. The only other person who knew this was her father. Her father, the Dark Magician Marshal, had reached his peak in magic. He had even dabbled into the time element to a certain extent. From her father's guess, the Dark Demon Dragon, which had appeared once in the first war between the light and the dark, might be a time traveler. He had guessed that the Dark Demon Dragon had achieved an unimaginable level in the time element and could travel through it as the creature wished. It seemed like the truth. The Dark Demon Dragon had changed the past to a certain extent. The events had established history, which involved tampering with the fate element. Eve hadn't thought much about it in the past, but now she could see that it was somewhat true. Her thoughts were interrupted by Yuan. Well, since everything has been settled, let's go and explore the underground ruins. Yuan was motivated now. He left the throne and flew up to look at the path that led to the underground ruins. He had a reason to be so eager. He was curious to see if there were any ancient lords in the ruins. There was a possibility of obtaining a high-quality elemental heart. Yuan was in a hurry to perfect his Chaos Realm ability by finding 12 powerful elemental hearts. He recalled the vision of the Dark Demon Dragon that had collected 11 elemental hearts of mythical level. He wanted to put in more effort and achieve something like that. Yes, the generals accepted the command. They led their respective troops and set off for the underground ruins. Su Yuan, do you really plan to use the ruin to expand our territory underground? Asked Suan when the four heroes had left. Suan had learned about the past of the ancient empire. The empire had been destroyed overnight and had submerged under the sea. Now, it was just an abandoned ruin. It remained only as a ghost of the glorious empire it once had been. It had been so prosperous and powerful that it had even threatened the hero plane. Unfortunately, the empire disappeared overnight. The ancient empire, even as a dilapidated ruin, was still dangerous. The ancient dead souls, although not as strong as they once had been, were still difficult to deal with. So, Suan asked Su Yuan once again if it was wise to use it to expand the territory. Su Yuan didn't look sleepy and lazy at this point. He turned to Suan with a serious face. There is an ancient empire under our territory. Why don't you want to try taking advantage of that fact and conquer it to make it your territory? His words were shocking. Su Yuan not only wanted to expand the territory but also wanted to own the ancient ruins. n/o/vel/b/in.c//om. Could it be that you want to build a second empire? Su Yuan looked at her. Can't I? His gaze was unwavering. It was as though he could see through her. Suan felt like Su Yuan had suddenly changed. He was no longer the lazy creature who was the least bothered by everything around him. Before this, he was so indifferent to everything and only wanted to sleep all day long. The present Su Yuan was full of ambition. He wanted to conquer the ruins of the ancient empire. But why? Suan thought. When did he start becoming so motivated? Suan assumed that it was because of the other heroes. She thought it started when he met the White Dragon Saint, then he met other heroes like the Fallen Angel and the Dark Enchanter. When surrounded by these powerful heroes, Su Yuan wanted to achieve great things. Suan looked at Su Yuan. He looked so serious that, for a moment, she felt as though she was too distant from him. She had always thought that she knew Su Yuan well. However, it now felt as though she never knew him at all. Does he really want to unify the dark types? Wondered Suan. She found him formidable and striking. However, right after the others left, Su Yuan rested his head on the pillow and went to sleep. This was in sharp contrast to how he had appeared before. The mysterious and formidable impression he had made was gone. Su Yuan, I really don't know what to make of you, said Suan. She wanted to shake him awake. But at this moment, a butterfly flew over. Complex runes appeared on the wings of the black butterfly. Don't disturb his sleep. A gentle voice said to Suan. It was the butterfly speaking? Meeting the nine-headed hydra again. Suan tried to recall where she had heard that voice before. The mythical beast. When she had fallen into the body of the mythical beast, she had followed the instructions of the white-haired lord and ended up in a mysterious place. The god core had been hidden there. It was also at that time that she heard the same voice. At that time, she guessed that the voice belonged to the mythical beast. Now, that voice came from the small butterfly that fluttered in front of her. But this tiny creature was leagues away from how gigantic the mythical beast had looked. Who are you? Asked Suan. Usually, when everyone went to run errands, she could talk to Su Yuan alone. But now there was another creature that lingered all day around Su Yuan. Suan was annoyed. Me. The little black butterfly didn't know how to answer that, so it fell silent. After a long pause, it said, I don't know who I am. I only remember that the first person I saw after coming back to my senses was him. The little black butterfly briefly told Suan about some things that had happened inside the body of the mythical beast. Suan was even more confident now that this little butterfly had some connection to the mythical beast, even if it looked too tiny to be the mythical beast itself. The mythical beast had appeared in the form of numerous blue fluttering butterflies. The tiny black creature in front of Suan was also a butterfly. Could it be that the mythical beast has taken another form? Wondered Suan. The mythical beast had been burned by the holy light. For all intents and purposes, the mythical beast along with any remnants of its body should have disappeared. However, the voice of the little black butterfly was familiar to Suan. Besides, the butterfly had admitted that it saw Su Yuan when it came out of the mythical beast's body. Su Yuan, don't tell me you brought this creature with you, said Suan. She was sure now that this butterfly was the mythical beast, reborn into a new body. I did, said Su Yuan with a yawn. What do you mean you did? Exclaimed Suan. You really brought that creature home. Suan had seen the strength of the mythical beast firsthand. The vast arena had been on the back of the mythical beast. It was huge. The mythical beast had a frightening reputation. It had destroyed countless worlds before. Such a powerful existence surely couldn't be compared to the little butterfly in front of her. F***ck it. You kidnapped the mythical beast? How are you sleeping so soundly? Suan was excited now. If the little butterfly was really the mythical beast, then its strength shouldn't be underestimated. Even a fraction of its strength would be useful. Suan pulled Su Yuan, and they headed to explore the underground ruins. Meanwhile, the fallen angel and the others bumped into the nine-headed hydra. The hydra and his lord were being chased by something. They looked ragged. When the nine-headed hydra saw the fallen angel blocking his path, he became irritated. Go away. The nine-headed hydra looked carefully. He saw the fallen angel, the white dragon saint, the dark enchanter, and the red-eyed black dragon. Why were all his opponents from the intercampus tournament here? If there were only 2 opponents, he could fight them. But there were 4 of them. Why would I fight them? I need to escape, thought the nine-headed hydra. He decided to ignore them. Wait, said the white dragon saint. This is the territory of the dark types. Unauthorized lords and heroes aren't welcome here. The Hydra was enraged. What are you even saying? You don't own this place. The nine-headed Hydra felt as though they were deliberately trying to provoke him. A dazzling light closed in. Radiant Envoy. The White Dragon Saint was surprised. He had witnessed the Radiant Envoy and his lord getting killed. The White Dragon Saint hadn't expected to see the Radiant Envoy here. After the lord's death, a hero had to return to the hero plane. How was this possible? Look. More heroes are approaching, said the fallen angel. He was right. Besides the Radiant Envoy, there was also the Light Mage, the Starlight Swordsman, and the Rainbow Pegasus behind the Hydra. Damned nine-headed snake, how dare you ruin our plans, said the Light Mage. If the Hydra and his lord hadn't hastily killed themselves, the competition wouldn't have been over so fast. They could have won. They could have eliminated Yuan to weaken the Dark Demon Dragon. At that time, the heroes were in a stalemate. The light types wanted to kill Yuan. They were even willing to declare Lord Air victorious if they could just get rid of the Dark Demon Dragon. However, Lord Air had been suspicious and skeptical. He had assumed the light types were trying to fool him. He had delayed the plan, which gave Yuan more time. They had suffered a crushing defeat. They thought it was all Lord Air's fault. The more they thought about it, the angrier it made them feel. They wanted revenge, but if they couldn't even deal with Yuan without her hero, how could they take on the nine-headed Hydra? At present, the nine-headed Hydra was in a sorry state. Lord Air and the Hydra were in a dilemma. Nov. L. B //JNN. From one side, the fallen angel and other dark types approached. On the other side, the light types were trying to kill them. If he joined the dark types, maybe they would help him fight the light types. But if he chose to retreat, the light types would chase him to his territory. We have no choice, thought Lord Air. Please take us in, said Lord Air, turning to the dark types. Oh, take you in? And what do you offer for it? A magic array appeared under the dark enchanter's feet. She floated in the air and looked down at the Hydra. The nine-headed Hydra did not say anything, but his lord let out a sorrowful sigh. We have nothing left to offer. They destroyed our territory. Lord Air gritted his teeth. The light types had mercilessly destroyed his territory along with the territory core. He only had one life now. If he died here, he won't be able to resurrect himself or his hero. The enemy of an enemy is a friend. Things became strange and chaotic. In the tournament, Lord Air had joined hands with the lords of the three light types to get rid of Yuan. However, he hadn't expected the light types to turn on him. The light types wanted to find Lord Air's territory and kill him. Lord Air, along with his hero, had run from their territory through a dimensional portal which had opened in the underground ruins. That was when the fallen angel and other dark types bumped into the nine-headed Hydra. The enemy of an enemy was considered a friend. So, Lord Air tried to convince them to let him join the dark types. I know that the light types and the dark types never get along. We were neutral until now, but we can join you. Since my hero is neither of the dark nor the light, we can help you rope people in. The light types hadn't attacked yet. They were wary. Most importantly, the other group had 4 heroes. The Dark Enchanter, especially, could fight 2 heroes at once. N/O/vel/B/JN.C//OM. Lord Bevan was stunned. Wait, why should we believe you? What if you are actually with the light types and are trying to fool us? Lord Air was speechless. He hadn't expected them to be so vigilant. He was at a loss. He didn't know how to convince them of his innocence. Just then, the Hydra spoke. He had been silent all along. We can prove that we are innocent. I can tell you where the Light Princess is. Don't you dare, said the 3 light types. They suddenly became anxious. Lord Gatter observed them closely. Why does that make the light types so nervous? They are acting as though we will find her and attack her. These words were unintentional, but to the fallen angel and other heroes, it was like thunder. The fallen angel hadn't thought much of the Hydra's statement about the Light Princess. Most times, the Light Princess was left alone until the dark types had gathered enough forces to deal with her. The Light Princess was extremely powerful, so it was very difficult to ambush and trap her. The light types were so scared at the prospect of the dark types getting to the Light Princess that the fallen angel felt that something was wrong. It's almost as if they are afraid that we might bully her, said the White Dragon Saint. Or, maybe the Light Princess is weak right now, and we can ambush her easily. Why are you all so nervous? Asked the Dark Enchanter. You don't really think a few of us can actually defeat the Light Princess, right? The Dark Enchanter found the White Dragon Saint's guess very reasonable. As the second in command of the Light types, the Light Princess was just 1 rank below the King of Heaven. Other than the King of Heaven himself, she was the most powerful hero among the light types. In fact, there were rumors that the King of Heaven didn't exist at all and that it was something the Light Princess had created as an object of faith while she ruled the light types. It was believed she was the real leader of the light types. There were also legends about her. She was extremely powerful and nobody could stand against her. Her strength grew as her ambitions grew. It was rumored that she had a conflict with the previous King of Heaven and imprisoned him to secretly rule the light types by herself. Anybody could understand that the Light Princess was someone they shouldn't mess with. A few dark-type heroes were no match for her. The Light Princess didn't have to worry about a few dark types joining forces to fight her. However, from how the 3 light types reacted, it seemed there was more to the story. Shut up, said the Light Mage. The 3 light types charged toward the Hydra. They had to kill the 9-headed snake at any cost. The Dark Enchanter waved her staff. A black energy wall formed between the Hydra and the light-type heroes. Boom! With a loud bang, the terrifying power of light struck the wall made of black energy. The wall cracked and shattered, inch by inch. Although the powerful attack had shattered the wall, they weren't celebrating. The Hydra was still alive? They couldn't reach the Hydra. Really? You want to kill him in front of us, said the White Dragon Saint. Seeing this, the red-eyed black dragon also flew over to block them. In the tournament, they had fought against the Hydra. This time, it was different. They were joining forces with him. The fallen angel realized that the light types really were terrified. I am curious now, said the Dark Enchanter. What has happened to the Light Princess that makes you this jumpy? The nine-headed Hydra chuckled. Of course, they are jumpy. The Light Princess is in a very delicate situation. The Hydra seemed to know something about it. The more he revealed, the angrier the light types became. Shut up. Kill them. The Starlight Swordsman charged. He really wanted to kill them all. Brother Snake, said the White Dragon Saint. What exactly has happened to the Light Princess? Who knows? The nine-headed Hydra smirked. There are indeed good things in the underground ruins. The Hydra's answer stunned everyone. They didn't expect the Hydra to not know about it after he built such suspense about the whole thing. They realized that the nine-headed Hydra was being sarcastic. The Light Princess is in the underground ruins. She is fighting the ancient dead souls now. The lords didn't understand what the nine-headed snake meant, but their heroes understood. It looks like she is in trouble, said the fallen angel in a serious tone of voice. As the former deputy to the King of Heaven, he had more understanding of the ancient empire than the others. That ancient empire had been destroyed precisely because it threatened the King of Heaven. While the fallen angel and the others were dealing with the light types, Yuan took another path down to the underground ruins with Yuan. Yuan, do you think that the ruins are different from before? Asked Yuan. The other ruins we went to felt so dead. These ruins feel more alive somehow. She felt strange, as though the underground ruins were alive and watching her. I don't feel anything. I don't know, said Yuan. He looked around and shook his head, but he did notice that these ruins were different. This is strange, said Yuan. Where are the others? They had wandered into the ruins for a while now, but they didn't see the fallen angel and the others anywhere. Yuan could sense the location of her troops because she was their lord. She led the way and they both went to find the others. Yuan felt that something was wrong here. She carried Yuan and walked in the direction where she could sense her troops. However, she did not meet the fallen angel and the others there. This is all wrong, thought Yuan. The four heroes had taken numerous soldiers with them. With such a huge team, Yuan should have been able to sense their location correctly. Yuan became vigilant. Where are we? She realized that they had reached a strange place in the ruins. The ruins had many things still intact. She could see that some units looked like palaces. The wall was carved with a complicated pattern. Yuan and Yuan had been unable to guess which part of the ruin these were. They saw a coffin that was stuck to the wall with a strange pattern. It can't be, mumbled Yuan. Is this the tomb of the emperor? She felt a chill run down her spine. Meanwhile, Yuan was excited. Could that have an elemental heart inside? He asked. Who knows? Yuan's voice trembled. At this moment, they had arrived at the end of the special building. There was a stone door blocking the way. What do we do now? Yuan felt dread. She wanted to leave this place. Perhaps she could come here again with a troop to protect her. Yes, that would be safer, thought Yuan. Yuan, however, had no such reluctance. He approached the stone door and sank a claw in it. His claw easily pierced the door. It's just a door, he said disdainfully. Yuan was stunned. I am telling you, don't be too. She didn't even get the time to finish her words. Yuan tore at the door with his claws. The entire stone door was split into halves. Boom! An empty space appeared in front of them. There were all kinds of coffins inside. On the podium, there was another gorgeous coffin. Who is it? Said an ancient and desolate voice. Who dares disturb my long sleep? This is not good, whispered Yuan frantically. Yuan, let's go. Yuan got goosebumps all over her hands. A chill went through her. The enemy was terrifying. Her body was begging for her to run away. If they were not careful, they might die here without even a corpse to be found later. She wanted to escape, but Yuan didn't move. He was staring at the coffin carefully. n/o/vel/b/n.c//om. Is there something important in that coffin? He asked. I can feel it. I can feel an elemental heart. He was excited. Maybe the emperor had been an ancient lord. Yuan was thinking about the territory core of the ancient empire, which must have been owned by the emperor. In the ancient past, there weren't as many rules as there were today in the Overlord plane. Many lords didn't have a distinctive territory core, but they had elemental hearts. Don't, said Yuan in fear. Let's just leave, okay? Please. Yuan was pleading. She knew that something was wrong with this place. She was terrified. All of a sudden, a baby's cry rang out from somewhere. Another cry followed, and another, until countless baby cries erupted from everywhere. It's the coffins, said Yuan. The cries were coming from the coffins. Yuan wondered if all those coffins held dead babies inside them. She didn't want to know. She just wanted to flee from here as soon as possible. Boom! The gorgeous coffin on the podium opened and a skeleton in golden armor got out of it. Kneel and pay your respects upon seeing me, roared the golden-armored emperor. The lids of the other coffins opened one by one and bloodied babies crawled out of them. What is that? Yuan was horrified. Unlike Yuan, Yuan stared straight ahead at the golden-armored emperor. He noticed an important item on the skeleton. A legendary elemental heart. There are good things in these ruins, said Yuan. He activated demon dragon wings, turned into a shadow, and disappeared. In the blink of an eye, the pendant on the golden-armored emperor's neck disappeared too. What? The golden-armored emperor looked around in confusion. The seventh emperor of the ancient empire, DMNB starred, yelled the golden-armored emperor. You dare steal my god's heart. The gemstone pendant was called the god's heart. Having a god's heart meant that the person wearing it had reached godhood and had a long lifespan. I, Locus the seventh, shall punish you. The entire ruins rumbled as though thunder was going to strike from somewhere. But they were underground. How could a thunder strike here? The bloody babies crawled out and made their way to Yuan quickly. Yuan, think of a way. Yuan was so scared that she didn't want to take any chances. She immediately turned into her demonic dragon form. The bloody babies made terrible sounds. It was horrifying. Lightning accompanied the babies. Black lightning poured down from the sky and headed towards Yuan. Yuan understood at that point that Yuan had done something. He had stirred up some trouble yet again, and the lightning was targeting him. n/o/vel/b/in.c//om. Yuan, just return whatever you stole, said Yuan. She realized that Yuan had stolen the gemstone pendant from the golden-armored emperor, which caused the thunderbolts to descend on them. Unfortunately, even if he returned the pendant, it wouldn't matter. He had made the emperor angry. Yuan closed her eyes and waited for the thunderbolts to hit her. But nothing like that happened. When she opened her eyes, she saw that there was a strange force field surrounding her and Yuan. Yuan had activated the original field. The ability provided a force field that spanned a small area to keep them safe as long as they remained inside it. However, Yuan had upgraded it. It had another useful effect. A wave of energy enveloped them both. Boom! The black lightning struck the force field. The barrier didn't cave in. Instead, countless runes appeared around them. Yuan saw everything clearly. The original field had taken them into an alternate dimension. The black lightning couldn't hit them. Yuan could still see the golden-armored emperor and the bloody babies. She could also see the black lightning that filled the sky. She could see it, but she was in another dimension altogether. Space power? To be able to use the power of space, who are you? Asked the golden-armored emperor. He looked shocked. As for Yuan, he didn't bother to respond. He absorbed the elemental heart. The god's heart, which was just another elemental heart, turned into energy and fused into one of the 12 energy balls at his back. Not bad, said Yuan. The higher the level of the elemental heart, the more powerful the effect is. Yuan spread his wings and thunder roared around him. The thunderbolts were black. The elemental heart of the golden-armored emperor was of the lightning attribute. Absorbing it strengthened Yuan's lightning element. My power, roared the golden-armored emperor. He wanted to take back his power. However, Yuan was in a different space. He could see them but couldn't reach them. He could do nothing but stare at Yuan. He seems to be disintegrating, said Yuan as she pointed at the golden-armored emperor in front of her. Locus the seventh collapsed slowly without support from his god's heart. Yuan activated the true eye of the demon dragon. He saw through the illusion. He understood that there was no such thing as immortality. It was only a futile obsession. The golden-armored emperor disintegrated and disappeared in thin air. The blood babies also disappeared with him. The place was now empty, with only the coffins left behind. Yuan deactivated the original field. He approached the gorgeous golden coffin on the podium. The seventh emperor of the 10,000-year-old ancient empire, Locus the seventh, rests here. Yuan read aloud. It was written in the ancient language. Yuan couldn't understand it until Yuan translated it. So, the ancient empire was around for 10,000 years, asked Yuan. Those bloody babies, were they an obsession of the seventh emperor? What was he called? The last emperor? The strongest emperor, asked Yuan. Yuan shook his head. He was just an ordinary emperor. He picked something up from the coffin. What's that? Asked Yuan. She saw that it was a book written in a language she couldn't understand. Burial record, said Yuan as an explanation. It records the great achievements of the emperor. Yuan explained that the person who kept records of the emperor's achievements was usually the one who buried him. There had been 10 emperors in the ancient empire. All had ruled for a span of 1,000 years each. The founding emperor hadn't been very strong. The empire under his reign had just been ordinary. It was through the generations of emperors that the empire evolved and advanced in technology and magic. The last emperor had been in power for only 5 years before the empire was attacked and destroyed overnight. Yuan sucked in a deep breath. She didn't know that the golden-armored emperor had been one of the weakest emperors. Can we go back now? She said. She was still uneasy. What if they encountered a stronger emperor? Yuan had been so frightened facing the seventh emperor, who wasn't even considered strong. She shuddered to think what the ancient dead soul of a stronger emperor would look like. This place is full of treasures. Yuan was very worried. However, Yuan was unconcerned. Leave? Why? This place is full of treasures. Yuan took out another gem from inside the coffin. It was a dark crystal. Nov. L. B //JNN. To Yuan, this meant another skill-enhancing point for the taking. The dark crystal turned into dark wisps of energy and fused into his body. Another skill enhancement point. What should I upgrade? Su Yuan was in a dilemma. Su Yuan thought hard. After reaching the level he was at right now, it was extremely difficult to level up because it required too many experience points. Till now, he had managed to level up only 2 times. Therefore, Su Yuan wanted to use the skill enhancement point on an ability that would collect more experience points for him to level up. This is still not enough. Su Yuan realized that even sleeping to gain more experience hadn't been enough to collect a reasonable number of experience points. In the beginning, Night Shift and the Dragon God Slumber had made it easy for him to gain experience to level up very quickly. Unfortunately, Su Yuan was not at a level where the benefits of the 2 abilities weren't enough at all. If I rely on those abilities to gain experience, then I would have to sleep at least for 10 days straight to level up, muttered Su Yuan. So-won heard him. Her eyes widened as she looked at him in shock. So-won was feeling conflicted. So, you did all of that on purpose. So-won's words held grievances. Some people took their entire lives to level up. But here he was complaining that he would have to sleep for 10 days to level up. He didn't even work hard to level up. He was always sleeping. Just by sleeping, he could level up in 10 days, but he still wasn't happy. So-won was curious to find out what level he was at. However, Su Yuan ignored her. He thought about his abilities and concluded that it was not worth it to spend a skill enhancement point on Night Shift or the Dragon God Slumber. However, it was also true that those 2 abilities had helped him level up far more easily than the others. He made up his mind. He wanted to give it a try. Besides, he felt that there might be other dark crystals in these ruins that he could find and use later on other abilities. Even a weak emperor's coffin had such an item, so it was a logical guess that other emperor's coffins would have more dark crystals. Su Yuan looked at the ruins. He felt that this place was full of treasures. Just as he was about to tell So-won that they were going to explore the other tombs, a group of people arrived. It's them. So-won saw the Dark Enchanter and Lord Lina. She also saw the other lords and their heroes behind them. There was also the 9-headed Hydra behind them. What's going on? Said So-won. Why is the Hydra with them? She was well aware of the enmity between the heroes and the Hydra. If Lord Aire hadn't suspected the light types back in the tournament, So-won would have been dead by now. Is he here for revenge? So-won was sure that Lord Aire and the 9-headed Hydra were here for revenge. Maybe that was why the other heroes and lords had fled to this place after being defeated. It was possible that the Hydra was chasing them. Something is wrong, thought So-won and ignored her speculations. The 9-headed Hydra and his lord looked like they were in a dire state, as though they were the ones being chased. What happened? Asked Su Yuan. Even he was surprised when he saw them. The White Dragon Saint and the others rushed to him. Your Majesty, there is bad news. The light types have gone crazy. They really want to destroy us quickly. Su Yuan was confused by the White Dragon Saint's words. He thought from the light type hero's perspectives. If he was a light type hero who had just found out that the Dark Demon Dragon was going to be sent to the Overlord Plane, then he would gather the strongest army following the Dark Demon Dragon to finish him off while he was still in a weakened state. Su Yuan felt that it was normal for the light types to rush to attack him. How many are there? Asked So-won, while Su Yuan still seemed unbothered by the whole event. Too many, said the White Dragon Saint. So-won had been unconcerned before, but now she was stunned. She really couldn't figure out why she had made these many enemies. Why were people trying to fight her to death? The Dark Enchanter stepped forward to explain because the White Dragon Saint's explanation was a little unclear. We discovered a secret of the light types, she said. Because of that, the light types are gathering in droves to get rid of us. At present, many lords and their heroes are coming after us. The Dark Enchanter's explanation was brief and clear. However, So-won was still confused. What secret could be so dangerous that the light types were willing to go to this extent to kill them? The reappearance of the ultimate Dragon Knight. The secret is that. Before the White Dragon Saint could finish his words, the earth shook, and holy light shone through. n/o/vel/b/in.c//om. The light types were attacking now. The light types descended to the Overlord Plane and had to abide by the rules. So, they were not as strong as they might have been in the Hero Plane. However, if there were many lords approaching with their heroes, it would still be difficult to defeat them. Let's run, said the White Dragon Saint as he turned around and ran. After a while, when he noticed nobody was following him, he walked back to Su Yuan. Your Majesty, let's escape for now. We can go back, gather others, and organize our army before we fight them. There are too many of them, said the Dark Enchanter in a low voice. She did not think that they would lose, at least not with the Dark Demon Dragon on their side. However, there were too many enemies. It was no big issue for the Dark Demon Dragon to settle the issue. Su Yuan was the ultimate leader of the Dark types. The Light types also had their own leader. Although the King of Heaven was more of a legend than a real entity, it was still terrifying to think that he might actually be real. It was better to be safe now than sorry later. If the King of Heaven really existed. The Dark Enchanter was worried that the light types might make Su Yuan use his troops as cannon fodders, and when everything was exhausted, the King of Heaven might launch a sneak attack. The Dark Demon Dragon was their trump card. They had to consider this carefully. Your Majesty, why don't we retreat first, said the Dark Enchanter. We will return after gathering more troops. Right now, only So-won's troops had been led to the underground ruins. The other lords' troops were still in their respective territories. But how will we distract them enough to open a path to leave? Asked Yuan. She needed to think of a way to escape. It's fine. Don't panic, said Yuan. Everyone turned to look at him. What other surprises would the Dark Demon Dragon unleash? Yuan looked at the Dark Dragon Knight. Yuan's eyes widened. Yuan, are you going to? Yuan didn't even finish her sentence. She understood. Having journeyed as Lord and Hero for much of their time on the Overlord plane, Yuan and Yuan could understand each other perfectly. Yuan realized why Yuan was staring at the Dark Dragon Knights. He was going to create the ultimate Dragon Knight. Yuan was excited. She had been looking forward to this. She knew that Yuan would turn the Dark Dragon Knights into Dark Dragon Knight Generals, who then would be merged to create the ultimate Dragon Knight. If they had the ultimate Dragon Knight, it wouldn't be impossible to win this fight. Demonic Dragon's Blessing. Yuan applied the ability to the Dark Dragon Knights. The Dark Dragon Knights radiated a terrifying power. The Dark Dragon Knights had evolved into Dark Dragon Knight Generals. Dark Fusion. Yuan's heart soared at Yuan's words. This was the most crucial moment. The two Dark Dragon Knight Generals had fused into an ultimate Dragon Knight. The huge dragon with the knight flew in the air. He was like a knight from hell who was here to harvest the souls of the dead. Yuan had created 10 ultimate Dragon Knights. That should be enough to stall for time while they escaped. Yuan rushed to his side. He had reduced to mini-dragon form due to exhaustion from using too much of his ability. She lifted him in her arms. She had felt very excited, but after seeing his condition, she felt bad for making him do this. Those B***starred light types? I will definitely take revenge one day. Yuan carried Yuan and walked along the path that she had used when coming here. Behind her, she heard the ultimate Dragon Knights roaring. At this moment, a notification appeared in Yuan's mind. You have reached level 65. New ability obtained. He had finally reached level 65. Yuan realized that the progress of his level up had been as fast as a snail after level 60. Reaching level 60 meant that they would now be considered High Lords. This was the huge dividing line. Yuan understood why it had taken so long to upgrade after level 60. Yuan looked at his attribute panel. Name, Yuan. Demonic Dragon's true name, Lapis Olga. Race, Dark Demon Dragon. Level, 60. Strength, 3210. Spirit, 3208. Agility, 3257. Constitution, 3210. Abilities. Night Shift LVL 3. As a Dark Demon Dragon, the energy of the night can be converted to power. During the night, experience will be automatically gained at all times. The amount of experience gained will increase according to the current skill level. Dragon God Slumber LVL 1. As long as you fall into a deep sleep, you will receive the blessing of the night. Demonic Dragon's Blessing LVL 4. Imbues the demonic dragon's aura onto living creatures, strengthening them. All attributes will increase by 2000% for 1 hour. The living creature has a chance of transforming, and the buff cannot be dispelled. Demon Dragon Wings LVL 1. Ability to fly. At night, ability to travel from one dark area to another. Demonic Dragon's Breath LVL 1. Spit out a demonic dragon's breath, causing AoE damage to the target area. Creatures who die from the demonic dragon's breath have a 10% chance of becoming an undead, depending on the ability level. Lord of Darkness LVL 2. Has absolute control over all dark creatures. Can forcefully control dark creatures. Dark Fusion LVL 2. Fuse 2 dark creatures of the same race into one creature for 10 minutes. The fused creature will have the combined attributes of the two creatures. True Eye of the Demon Dragon. The true eye of the magic dragon can see through all illusions. It can trace back time and see what happened 24 hours ago. Dark Dual Domain. Drag the enemy into the dual domain and engage in a fair one-on-one duel. There is no interference from the outside world during this period. The winner will devour the soul of the loser and absorb the power. Chaos Realm. Gather 12 elemental hearts and fuse them into a Chaos Core. Use the Chaos Core as support to release the Chaos Realm. Within the territory, all other elemental powers will be suppressed, and the skills of the territory's master would be greatly strengthened. Lost in the Night. When this night magic is cast, within the range of the magic array, enemies with weak willpower will be lost in the darkness and become its slaves. Dark Destructive Light LVL 2. Summons a huge black pillar of light from the sky and penetrates the earth, annihilating all enemies within the pillar of light. Damage dealt is Spirit X10. The Dark Destructive Light has the ability to lock space. Once it locks onto an enemy, it can bombard the enemy across space. Original Field LVL 2. Summon a force field that can withstand most attacks. The force field will form a space of its own, and anyone inside it can escape into an alternate dimension to avoid damage. The White Dragon Saint's Evolution. Azure-eyed White Dragon. Yuan held Yuan in her hands. He was a little weak for the time being and couldn't do anything else. So, he was focusing on studying the new skill he had obtained. Dragon Will. Can be used on creatures with dragon blood to awaken the sleeping dragon blood and dragon soul. Chance of atavism. Yuan was stunned. He didn't understand the function of the ability. The chance of such a transformation was so low that Yuan felt there wasn't much use for this ability. However, he wanted to try it once. Yuan looked at the White Dragon Saint. The White Dragon Saint, who was flying up in the air, trembled. Why do I feel evil intent toward me? The White Dragon Saint felt as though the entire world was against him. It was an indescribable feeling. Su Yuan, still in Suwon's arms, activated the ability. Dragon Will. Countless dragon roars sounded in the background. It was as though thousands of dragons had converged in this place and were roaring their hearts out. One after another, illusionary figures of dragon-like creatures appeared and disappeared. What's happening? At that moment, even someone like the fallen angel, who once was the deputy to the King of Heaven, was shocked. The scene in front of them was beyond their knowledge and experience. The dragon illusions looked familiar. The fallen angel caught a glimpse of a shadow that flashed past. Isn't that the Stardust Dragon, which went extinct before the ancient era began? The fallen angel was perplexed. That is, the legendary 5 Emperor Dragon. The Dark Enchanter was in awe. Although she might not be as experienced as the fallen angel, her father was the previous leader of the Dark types. She had learned about the ancient creatures from her father. What the hell is that? Said Lord Gatter. It's covered in iron. Don't tell me that it is a dragon too. It was a snake-like creature made up of metal. He guessed it must be a dragon too because only dragons were appearing everywhere. No one had seen so many species of dragons before. At this moment, the red-eyed black dragon spoke. That's the legendary electric dragon. It had disappeared since ancient times. Everyone was shocked at the sight. All the heroes turned to look at Su Yuan. He was the most powerful dragon present. They guessed this had something to do with him. But soon, everyone's attention was attracted by a roar that the White Dragon Saint let out. The White Dragon Saint spread his wings and roared again. Countless phantom dragons gathered around the White Dragon Saint. I can feel it. The dragon blood in my body is boiling. Power, unparalleled power is surging within me. A bluish-white light appeared on the White Dragon Saint's body. The light was like a suit of armor that encased the White Dragon Saint. This is the legendary azure-eyed white dragon that can even fight against the gods. The fallen angel's voice trembled. In ancient legends, there had been a special dragon who could challenge the gods. The azure-eyed white dragon hadn't yet attained the mythical level, and yet it held the power of that level. Maybe the lords were unaware of this, but the heroes were certain. They knew that the gap between a legendary level and a mythical level was huge. In ancient times, when the dragon clan was prosperous, a special dragon appeared. That was the azure-eyed white dragon. It was said that this dragon had once used his huge body to resist the domain of the gods. Everybody was in a daze. The White Dragon Saint roared. I feel invincible? Is anyone up for a fight? I feel like I can fight 10 lords alone. The White Dragon Saint waved his tail, and a cave in the distance collapsed. Is he trying to kill all of us? He does know we are on the same side, right? Said the fallen angel. If it weren't for the timely intervention of the heroes, the collapsed cave would have smashed into the lords. It would have killed them? Invincible. The White Dragon Saint roared again. He ignored the fallen angel's words, spread his wings, and flew behind him. That was the direction from where the light types were approaching. He had been prepared to flee and hide, but now he wanted to fight. He could fight 100 lords and heroes? Die, you scum. The White Dragon Saint disappeared into the distance. Suwon was baffled. Is he really not afraid of death? She asked. I am worried that he is blinded by this mysterious power. Lord Lina was calm. Don't worry. He just obtained great power. His eagerness to test it out is justifiable. At least he will buy us some time. Besides, if anything happens to him, you can always use a portion of resources to resurrect him. Lord Lina assumed that the White Dragon Saint was Suwon's hero. Suwon shook her head. If he dies here, he cannot be resurrected. He isn't my hero. This was the first time Suwon had told someone of the White Dragon Saint's lordless status. He was an outsider. He wasn't Suwon's hero. Nov. L. B //JNN. He had slipped into the Overlord plane when the boundary had opened. He was then tricked into joining the Dark Screen as one of the 12 holy envoys. No, it can't be. The lords were shocked at the truth. They had always thought that the White Dragon Saint was bound to Suwon. Just as everyone worried about the White Dragon Saint, Su Yuan spoke. Don't worry. He will be back before you know it. He runs faster than us. Right after, they saw that the White Dragon Saint was returning. His face was pale, as though he had just seen a ghost. He was fleeing. It was as though something terrifying was chasing him, returning to the territory n/o/vel/b/n.c//om. The White Dragon Saint, which had evolved into an azure-eyed white dragon, should have been of unparalleled power and strength. But he was running back to them in fear. There was a problem. Run. The White Dragon Saint flew past them without even slowing down near Su Yuan. At this moment, everyone noticed the change. The White Dragon Saint was back to its original form. He was no longer the azure-eyed white dragon. What happened? Why couldn't he retain that form? Asked the red-eyed black dragon in confusion. As a member of the Dragon Clan, he had been proud and happy to see the transformation of the White Dragon Saint into the azure-eyed white dragon. He felt like he had kin who was similar to him. However, he hadn't expected the White Dragon Saint to revert to his original form so soon. The others were puzzled too. They couldn't figure out what had happened. Suwon quietly glanced at Su Yuan. She suspected that all this had something to do with him, but she didn't have proof. After journeying with Su Yuan till now, Suwon understood that every strange phenomenon that happened near her was always somehow related to him. However, Su Yuan looked very weak and exhausted right now. Suwon felt that it was unlikely that the changes had anything to do with him. When he used the dragon will on the White Dragon Saint, the White Dragon Saint's ancient bloodline was awakened. His bloodline, which was connected to his ancestors, helped him to transform into an azure-eyed white dragon. However, that was temporary. It would last for a very short time. Although he didn't witness the scene, Xu Yuan knew that the White Dragon Saint had charged toward the enemy only to find that the time was up, and he had reverted to his original form. I need to upgrade my ability, thought Xu Yuan. I am sure the evolution might last longer than that. The dragon will required many skill points. A thought occurred to Xu Yuan. If I keep enhancing my abilities, will there come a time when their effects would be permanent without any time limit? Xu Yuan glanced behind at the underground ruins. There was only one way to find out whether he could max out on his abilities and make them permanent. He had to earn more skill enhancement points and keep upgrading his abilities. However, he only got one skill enhancement point from leveling up to 10 levels. The other way was to find more dark crystals. Absorbing more dark crystals would provide him with more skill enhancement points. The first method wasn't realistic. Leveling up 10 times gave him only one skill enhancement point. To max out an ability, he probably needed 6 to 7 skill enhancement points. It was already difficult to level up by one level. It was too difficult to do it 10 times at a go. Only the second method was feasible. He needed to find more dark crystals. Xu Yuan wondered if there were dark crystals in the tombs of other emperors. If only he could find more tombs. If he could find all the tombs, he could have more than 10 dark crystals. Xu Yuan's heart burned with motivation. If it wasn't for the light types rudely interfering, Xu Yuan would have gone with the others to explore the ruins and find the tombs. He had to put his plan on hold because of the light types. At this time, Yuan finally ran out of the underground ruins with Xu Yuan and returned to her territory. Finally, she exclaimed. The light types won't let the matter rest, said the Dark Enchanter. We need to make preparations. The Dark Enchanter looked frightened. What exactly did you find out to be hunted in this way? Asked Yuan. And what is wrong with the White Dragon Saint? Did he kill someone from among the light types? Why were they chasing after him? We found golden blood at the entrance on the 3rd level of the underground ruins, said the Dark Enchanter. The lords were puzzled. Lord Air also didn't understand despite being hunted by the light types. His territory had been destroyed. Fortunately, he had escaped with his hero. They had arrived in the underground ruins while running away. Coincidentally, they had overheard other light types talking about the light princess who had descended to the overlord plane but had gone missing in the ruins. In the end, Lord Air couldn't escape and had to join forces with the fallen angel and the others. They shook off their enemies and headed to the place where the light princess had supposedly disappeared. They had found golden blood at the entrance of the ruins on the 3rd floor. After they saw the golden blood, the light types went crazy and chased them relentlessly. Even now, the lords still couldn't understand why the light types were acting so desperate. Wasn't it just blood? Why were they trying to kill them for something like that? The Dark Enchanter glanced at the fallen angel. The White Dragon Saint flew to them. It's better to let someone who knows more about this answer her questions, said the White Dragon Saint. Birdman knows more about the light types than any of us. He once was the deputy to the King of Heaven, after all. Besides, he used to be one of them. Everyone looked at the fallen angel, waiting for an answer. What the White Dragon Saint said was true. The fallen angel was the one who could give them a reasonable explanation. He used to be one of the light types and might know many secrets about them. Golden blood. The fallen angel looked at everyone. He hesitated. In the end, he glanced at Xu Yuan to see that he was also looking at the fallen angel curiously. The fallen angel made up his mind. The fallen angel's face was serious. The golden blood is unusual. As far as I know, only 2 entities have golden blood. One of them is the Light Princess and the other is the King of Heaven. Everyone felt relieved. They were scared of the King of Heaven. If the King of Heaven had descended onto the Overlord plane, it would have been a disaster. The golden blood, therefore, was of the Light Princess. It was hard to believe that an ancient ruin had the power to injure someone like the Light Princess. You have no idea how strong and powerful the Light Princess is, said the fallen angel. If you knew how powerful she is, then the fact that she was somehow injured to the extent that golden blood had gushed out of her would shock you, too. The fallen angel then explained the origin of the Light Princess. Her origin was from the ancient past. Some believed she was a daughter of the Light God himself. However, her origin spanned back to the past before the Light God. She had accepted an invitation from the King of Heaven to join the Light types. Here, the fallen angel wasn't very sure what was true. The Light Princess was real, but the King of Heaven might as well be an illusion. As the deputy to the King of Heaven, he had served the Light types. However, even he had never met the King of Heaven personally. All his orders and commands came from the Light Princess. So, the King of Heaven was as much a figure of legend and myth as the Dark Demon Dragon. No one had seen him before, said the fallen angel. Some thought that there was no such thing as the King of Heaven. It was a figure created by the Light Princess as an object of faith. The real king who ruled was the Light Princess. Regardless, the Light Princess isn't someone to mess with. She is unimaginably powerful. Everyone fell silent, especially the lords. They thought it was no big deal for the Light Princess to be injured while exploring the ruins. However, after hearing about her strength and power, the lords were dumbfounded. How did someone as powerful as the Light Princess get injured in the ruins? More importantly, who or what had injured her? If this entity could injure even the Light Princess, it would be a disaster if that thing escaped the ruins and wreaked havoc outside. Nov. L. B /JNN. Everyone, don't worry too much. The Light Princess descended to the Overlord plane and is bound by the rules, so she might not be as strong as she was in the Hero plane. So, you all discovered that the Light Princess might be fatally injured, and now the Light types are hunting you to keep you quiet, asked Yuan. Or is it because they don't want you conveying this information to the Dark types because they might take advantage of her injury to attack her before she can recover? Yuan understood why the Light types were desperate to silence whoever knew the information. The second possibility is more likely, said the fallen angel. Everyone had different opinions regarding the matter, so they all looked at Yuan for some guidance. He stretched lazily. Shouldn't you all think about how to fight the Light types that are hunting you right now? His words brought them back to the current issue. The matter of the Light Princess could be discussed later. For now, they needed to prepare an army to face the Light types. Let's all go back and gather our armies, said the fallen angel. They wanted to return to their territory and leave defenses in place before they brought their armies for the fight. Place defenses around your respective territories, too. Don't gather all your armies to fight and leave your territory undefended, said Yuan. Soon, the fallen angel and the others hurried back. Only the Hydra and Lord Air were left. The two of them did not leave. They had nowhere to go. Their territory had already been destroyed. This was an obstacle for Lord Air. However, he felt that as long as he remained alive, he could rise again. Your Majesty, can we follow you? Asked the Hydra. He didn't know what a dark demon dragon was before, but, after the tournament, he had looked up information on it. He was shocked by what he had learned. The dark demon dragon was said to have appeared in the first war between the light and the dark. He had fought with both the light and the dark, all alone. They had to join forces to fight the dark demon dragon. He was that powerful. The dark demon dragon had then disappeared, only to appear recently in the hero plane. After the nine-headed Hydra found out about this, he had turned very pale with fear. He did not believe that he had tried to go against someone that powerful. Now that Lord Air and the Hydra's territory was destroyed, he wanted revenge. So, the Hydra requested to join forces with Yuan, upgrading the building again. It wasn't difficult for the Hydra to make the decision to join Yuan. In fact, it was an honor for him. In response to the Hydra's request, Yuan yawned and closed his eyes. Yuan still held Yuan in her hands. She was considering the request. But there was a problem. What if the Hydra betrayed them? They were once enemies, after all. Yuan didn't trust the Hydra. During this time, Lord Air knelt in front of Yuan. He looked ragged and disheveled. He looked even worse than a beggar on the street. Your Majesty, please take us in. Lord Air's previous pride was gone. He knew that if he wanted revenge, he could only rely on Yuan's support. As long as he could get his revenge, this small sacrifice was nothing. The Hydra and Lord Air looked at the silent Yuan and then turned to Yuan, as though asking for her opinion. Yuan was a little nervous and didn't know what to do. If she ejected them, she would be losing a formidable ally. However, they had been enemies before, so she was reluctant to trust them. Nov. L. B /JNN. Yuan glanced at Yuan. Yuan, stop sleeping? Wake up and make some plans so that we can face the light types again. Her words seemed to have the desired effect. Yuan yawned and stretched. All right. I will give you a chance, said Yuan. If you can prove yourself, I will let you stay. Yuan meant the inevitable attack from the light types. If the Hydra and Lord Air could prove their loyalty in that fight, they could follow him. We will do our best. Lord Air thought it would be easy to complete the mission with the others. However, the moment he uttered those words, he felt terrified. He did not know if the Hydra would be able to perform well in this fight. Yuan and Yuan glanced at each other with a nod to show their agreement. We need to strengthen our defenses, said Yuan. We still have some building upgrade stones left. We can use them, said Yuan. Yuan's words reminded Yuan that he still had a skill enhancement point left. One skill enhancement point and a few building upgrade stones, thought Yuan. If we use all that, we should be able to strengthen the territory. He looked at the flag of the territory. All other buildings in the territory looked big and strong. Only the flag hadn't been touched. What happens if I upgrade that? Thought Yuan. He was excited to test it out. Territory flag, symbol of the territory. The land where the flag is planted represents the border of the territory. He felt that it had no other function. It was practically useless. The current level of the flag was at 0, so it was only for decoration. Yuan wondered what would happen if he upgraded it to level 1. The attribute panel did mention that the level 1 territory flag would unlock a special effect, territory movement. He upgraded the territory flag to level 1. Does that mean I can move the territory underground? Wondered Yuan. Yuan was still concerned about moving it underground. However, if the territory could be moved, it would allow them to form a group with others and move near them. When the time came, he would move the territory underground. No matter how much the enemy racked their brains, they would probably never be able to think of where the territory was. They would only see the old boundary of the territory. Even after the upgrade, the distance and the range of movement were too low. So, Yuan used another building upgrade stone to upgrade the territory flag to level 2. I was right, muttered Yuan. The territory flag at level 2 had more functions. It was just as Yuan had imagined. A level 2 territory flag allowed him to move the territory to a larger area and much faster. 2. If we keep upgrading it, won't it be possible to move the entire territory underground? Mumbled Su Yuan. He used another building upgrade stone. Su Yuan, what are you doing? Asked Suan. She hadn't reacted earlier because she didn't know what Su Yuan was up to. Now that she was certain, her blood boiled in anger. What was even the point of upgrading the useless territory flag? You can't be thinking of deserting, right? Suan asked. Her face darkened. Suan thought Su Yuan had a plan, but he was just wasting the building upgrade stones. Meanwhile, Su Yuan chuckled and was about to use another building upgrade stone. Wait, exclaimed Suan. Su Yuan, how could you? She realized that the one more building upgrade stone was gone. She looked heartbroken. She didn't yet know that Su Yuan had used several building upgrade stones already. Transfer. The buildings moved. They covered a much larger area. They were much faster, too. At level 1, the building moved at a snail's pace. Now, they were as fast as a rabbit? Su Yuan, that's enough. Suan realized that Su Yuan had secretly used the building upgrade stone without consulting her. That made her angry. Don't worry, he said as he moved the territory core underground. The core is temporarily safe now. Su Yuan wanted to move everything underground. However, he didn't have time to do that now. So, he moved the territory core to safety for now. The light and the dark were one. Just as Su Yuan hid the territory core underground, the enemy attacked. n/o/vel/b/in.c//om. The hole leading to the underground ruins was in Suwan's territory, so the enemy followed that and reached her territory, ready to attack. There is the Hydra. Kill him. When the light types spotted the Hydra, they immediately wanted to get rid of him. Quiet, you fools. The Hydra trembled in rage. The Hydra was extremely difficult to kill, owing to his 9 regenerative heads. However, he had never seen an enemy behave with such audacity as though he was an easy target. Whenever his enemies fought them, they realized midway that they couldn't really kill him. So, they gave up. However, his enemies were acting as though they could kill him. The Hydra didn't know whether to laugh at their stupidity or roar in anger. I will show you how powerful I am. The 9 heads of the Hydra moved at the same time and launched an attack on the light types. On one hand, his pride would not allow him to be looked down upon by an enemy. On the other hand, this was the Dark Demon Dragon's territory, and this was his chance to prove himself. When Suwan's territory was attacked, her friend, Shi Linglong, who was nearby, saw it. That is not good, she said. They are being attacked. We need to go and help. Shi Linglong wanted to find Suwan, but she wavered as she saw the holy light of the light types. It's the light types. Did the fourth war between the light and the dark already begin? Wondered the flower fairy. Shi Linglong was unaware of the situation. The war between the light and the dark. Shi Linglong was confused. The flower fairy realized that her lord didn't have any idea about the situation. She briefly explained it to her. The long-standing grievances between the light and the dark have culminated into a fight again, said the flower fairy. She flapped her wings and flowers bloomed around her. Shi Linglong looked worried, but the flower fairy was calm. Although Shi Linglong knew that Suwan's hero was not as simple as he seemed, she was unsure of his strength. No matter how powerful Su Yuan was, this didn't look like something he could handle alone. The flower fairy knew that Su Yuan was the Dark Demon Dragon. He was a creature of mystery and legend who had appeared only once numerous years ago. He couldn't be defeated unless all the light types descended from the hero plane to fight him. However, this would provide enough reason for the light types to start a war. A war between the light and the dark, muttered Shi Linglong. They can't tolerate each other because of their difference in attributes. The flower fairy shook her head. Not necessarily. She looked in the direction of Suwan's territory. It is said that the light and the dark were one a long time ago, said the flower fairy after a while. It was called chaos. The chaos element was the fusion of the two. But, for some unknown reason, the chaos got divided into the light and the dark. There was a war between the two elements, which gave birth to other elements like water, wind, fire, and earth. Gradually, other elements were born. The flower fairy told Shi Linglong about the ancient legend. The legend was so ancient that only a few people knew about it. Shi Linglong was now even more interested to hear about the history of the light and the dark elements. If it was any other time, she would have pestered the flower fairy with questions to tell her more. However, there was no time right now. She had to help Suwan somehow. What should we do? Wan is being attacked, said Shi Linglong frantically. But she knew they weren't strong enough to lend a hand in such a huge fight. Although Shi Linglong didn't consider herself or her hero weak, they still had a long way to go to reach a level that would make them stronger than most. If I can't help, maybe I should go and call. Don't, said the flower fairy suddenly. The flower fairy knew who Shi Linglong wanted to call. However, she knew the situation would escalate and become irredeemable if the sage was involved. The sages of the blue planet absolutely couldn't interfere in this fight. The sages were the guardians of the blue planet. If they got involved in this fight, it would be assumed that they were taking sides. It didn't matter whether they sided with the dark or the light. The fact that they got involved at all would enrage the heroes from other elements. The whole situation would escalate, and the war wouldn't be limited to the light equals types and dark types only. The flower fairy explained this to Shi Linglong. Oh, said Shi Linglong. This is so frustrating. I will go find Yao Yao and the others then. She decided to ask her other friends for help. They were friends, after all. Suan, Shi Linglong, Lin Yao, and Zhao Qingrong. They were best friends. At present, Suan was in danger. So, Shi Linglong naturally wanted to turn to the others. Zhao Qingrong might not be of much use, though. But Lin Yao was smart. She would definitely come up with a way. Shi Linglong took out a scroll reluctantly. It hadn't been easy to get the scroll, but her friend was more important. Shi Linglong looked pained. She had obtained this scroll after battling so many dangers. She had been saving this scroll to gather her friends for a nice meal in the future. However, she needed to use it. Suan was in danger. Now was as good a time as any to use it. Shi Linglong tore the scroll. In an instant, a terrifying spatial energy fluctuation spread out from the source. Let's go and find Yao Yao first, said Shi Linglong. She will have ideas. Shi Linglong chose to go to Lin Yao's territory first. Lin Yao's hero was powerful, and Lin Yao was smart too. Shi Linglong's face darkened. Why is this happening to me again? Shi Linglong was supposed to be transported to Lin Yao's territory, but she realized something was wrong. Shi Linglong's reinforcements. Although Shi Linglong was very reluctant to admit it, she knew that she was a troublemaker. Strange things happened around her, and she always attracted trouble. Most times, she would run into formidable enemies in the woods. Other times, she would hear or see something accidentally, which caused people to hunt her down. She never meant to run into trouble, but she did, nonetheless. Even now, she had torn the scroll to go to Lin Yao's territory to ask for help, but things didn't go like she wanted. In an unknown sea, a few ships were sailing. They were approaching the coast. This unknown continent is very mysterious and dangerous. The princess of the kingdom of Sab, who came from another continent, looked at the coast with a conflicted face. They had met Lord Gader a little while back. Something evil, right out of hell, had taken hold of his territory. In the end, they fled when they saw the ferocious white dragon and the burning goblins. They no longer dared to set foot on this mysterious land. Instead, they sailed along the coast, carefully observing the land before them. It's a good thing we were able to keep our cool and didn't make a move recklessly. The nobles felt proud of themselves for thinking on their feet. However, the princess was furious with them. She had wanted to communicate and understand Lord Gader more before taking any kind of action. But the nobles clamored impatiently to attack and conquer the territory. It was a good thing they saw the hellish creatures appear before they could make a grave mistake. We have been sailing the coastline for so long. Nothing unusual has happened yet, said one of the nobles. Is this just an ordinary continent, after all? They'd fled in fear of the Hell Goblin Knights and assumed that this continent was too dangerous for them. However, they had traversed the coastline for a while now, and they saw nothing frightening so far. n/o/vel/b/in.c//om. Everything appeared normal. Maybe the hellish goblins were just an illusion. Just as everyone was feeling puzzled, something happened. Such a powerful space elemental power. This is not good. The princess realized that they were in trouble. A huge black hole appeared in front of the ship. Run, quickly. However, it was too late. The black hole had its own suction force, and the ship slowly sailed toward it. Your Highness, shouted the crew of another ship. They were a bit further from the main ship, so the suction force didn't affect them. They didn't know if this was a blessing or a curse. The ship that was being sucked toward the black hole had the most important person from the kingdom of Sop. The princess was on that ship. If anything happened to her, they would all probably die. The black hole swallowed everything mercilessly, and the ship was slowly pulled in. The people stood on the deck and looked on. They were baffled. What should we do? Should we report this to His Majesty? Someone suggested in a trembling voice. No, said someone else. We can't go back. We will definitely be killed. The eldest princess's whereabouts were unknown. If they returned without the princess, the king would kill them all in a rage. It would be better to hide and sneak away to another place. This way, they would still be alive. A heated argument broke out among the group of people over this issue. In the end, some of them decided to sail away to another place in search of a better future. Others chose to stay back and explore the dangerous continent. Yet others decided to head back and report to the king. On the other side, in Shi Linglong's territory, a ship landed on a large lake. Shi Linglong stomped her feet in anger. She hadn't been able to connect to Lin Yao's territory at all. Instead, something had come out of the distorted space. A large ship landed on the lake in her territory? Why do I have to be so unlucky? Cried Shi Linglong. Her plan had failed. She wasn't able to connect to Lin Yao's territory at all. Instead, she had summoned some strange ship. Shi Linglong could tell that the people on the ship weren't very strong. They didn't even look like fighters. They would be of no help in the war. Just as Shi Linglong was in despair, the distorted space gradually stabilized into a dimensional portal. And, on the other side of the portal, Linglong. It was Zhao Qingrong. Linglong, you are just in time for dinner. Zhao Qingrong's territory was in a lush forest, where plants were opulent and huge mushrooms bloomed. At this time, Zhao Qingrong was having dinner with a few lords and their heroes on a giant mushroom. Wrong, is this little lady your friend? Asked one of Zhao Qingrong's friends. Shi Linglong would have argued with them if she had time because she was far from little, but the situation was dire. She wanted to help Suan. Seeing that Zhao Qingrong had a few lords as friends, Shi Linglong was hopeful that they might be of some help. Wrong, I have bad news, said Shi Linglong. Yuan is being attacked by some other lords. It looked bad. Zhao Qingrong was quiet for a while. Some of the lords present were men. They wanted to show off. Little sister, don't be alarmed. If bad lords are attacking your friend, we will help. That's right, said another lord. Rongrong's friend is our friend. We will help. The male lord was happy to have the chance to show off in front of the women. Shi Linglong was speechless. She had assumed these few lords would be unreliable and useless. The enemy is in Wanwan's territory. Her territory is near mine. All right, we will bring those enemies to justice. Scammer Su has bad intentions. In Suwan's territory, it seemed everything was riddled with holes. Countless enemies arrived from the ground. Should we retreat? Lord Ayer and his Hydra were engaged in battle at the front lines. Lord Ayer believed that if this continued, defeat was imminent. The enemies were too strong. It's like poking a hornet's nest. They keep on coming, said Lord Ayer. Moreover, we are their target. As long as we escape, the enemies will follow. The Hydra refused. We can't escape. The Hydra knew what Ayer was thinking. The enemy wanted to kill them to silence them about the Light Princess. However, that was just one reason among many. Even without them, the enemies would attack this place. After all, the enmity between the light and the dark couldn't be settled just like that. As the uncrowned king of the dark demon dragon would definitely be attacked by many enemies from the light. Do you still want revenge? One of the heads of the Hydra asked Lord Ayer. If it wasn't for revenge, the Hydra would have escaped a long time ago. He didn't want to get involved in the war between the light and the dark, either. However, if they wanted revenge, there was no other way than to join the dark types. Only by joining hands with the dark demon dragon could they even think of having their revenge. Without the help of the dark types, the Hydra knew that it would be impossible for them to get revenge against the light types. The light types had launched a surprise attack and destroyed Lord Ayer's territory, including the territory core. If they had escaped any later, Lord Ayer would have been killed. That kind of sneak attack must be avenged. Is there no other choice? Nov. L. B /JNN. Lord Ayer looked at the enemies advancing toward them. He felt hopeless. Unlike the Hydra, he didn't completely understand who Su Yuan was. He thought that in the face of this kind of enemy, Su Yuan was bound to lose as well. Lord Ayer felt that by joining Su Yuan, they were just courting death. Don't worry, said the Hydra. He was very confident that these enemies were just cannon fodders as long as Su Yuan was on their side. The Hydra roared and slammed his huge snake-like body. Countless enemies fell. Something's wrong, said Lord Ayer. The troops that had been felled by the Hydra got up one by one and attacked again. They were unkillable. He realized that this troop was the Hydra warriors. The troops had been dead, and now they were getting up and attacking again. They were the undead. The troops got up, but they didn't attack the Hydra this time. They turned around and attacked their former allies. They had turned against the light types. Let them see the defense of our territory, said Suan from the Dark Castle. She felt somewhat proud, looking at the scene outside. Although she had been disappointed that her territory looked so lifeless because of the dark buildings and the undead troops, she felt proud of them at this time. In the past, she had been a young lord who had craved beauty and color in her territory. She had wanted mountains and rivers. She had wanted troops that were pleasing to the eye. However, Suan realized how wrong she had been. She now saw the difference in strength when she compared her troops to other lords' troops. Her previous dream had been flashy and impractical. But now she understood. In this cruel world, survival and power were the only way. Although her territory looked dark and listless, it had so many useful buildings with powerful abilities. If an enemy died in her territory, they became undead and attacked the enemy. The soldiers who died could be resurrected indefinitely. The troops and the territory itself were undoubtedly practical and fulfilled their function. Next to Suan, Su Yuan stretched on his back and continued to sleep. Don't you want to go and fight on the battlefield to train yourself? Asked Su Yuan. He wanted Suan to fight, so he could gain experience points from her. Suan became vigilant. Su Yuan had tricked her too many times before. He wanted her to go to the battlefield to fight. Suan appeared dissatisfied. Scammer Su, you are still trying to trick me at a time like this, she said. I'm the overlord, the leader of the territory. I can't let any accidents happen. I have to monitor the situation. Suan repeatedly emphasized her importance. The entire territory could not lose her. Su Yuan thought of how he could trick her into fighting. Suan saw the problem. Although the territory was hers, the troops wouldn't even listen to her orders. Suan was worried about her own safety. If she was lost, what would happen to the territory? Su Yuan suddenly thought of an idea. A sinister smile appeared on his face. A prompt appeared in Suan's mind. Congratulations, Symbiont, for obtaining a permanent skill, True Eye of the Demon Dragon. True Eye of the Demon Dragon, the True Eye of the Magic Dragon can see through all illusions. It can trace back time and see what happened 24 hours ago. Unlocking progress, 0%. The more enemies you kill, the faster you can unlock the ability. After reading the message, Suan was conflicted. She knew Su Yuan hid many mysterious abilities she was unaware of. The True Eye of the Demon Dragon was definitely shared by Su Yuan with her. Suan did not know about the symbiotic contract between her and Su Yuan. She only knew that there was a mysterious connection between her and him because of which he could share his ability with her. This continent is too dangerous. Suan had once obtained an ability from Su Yuan. However, this was something unexpected. What is this? She asked. Scammer Su, are you trying to tempt me with this stupid trick to make me go and fight? Don't you get tired of tricking people? She trembled in rage. It's such a good ability, said Su Yuan. I can give it to you. But, there is that troublesome progress bar. You are the same as those lousy mobile games that cheat people off their money, promising them many great things. Suwon thought the scam in the blue planet used a similar strategy that Su Yuan used to trick her. The scam suggested beautiful skin, but it wasn't sold at the displayed price. Instead, they would break it down into many parts and charge extra for them. They needed to be collected to complete the skin while ripping people off of their money. Su Yuan was doing something similar to her. He had shared his ability before and let her use it. But now, he was trying to trick her into fighting by promising her an ability that she had to earn bit by bit. Su Yuan pretended to be indifferent. He yawned. Forget it, muttered Suwon. I will go and fight. Suwon stomped her feet in anger. In the end, she could only choose to fall into his trap. This was a chance to obtain a good ability, and she couldn't refuse. Ever since she had tasted the benefits of other abilities, Suwon had been thinking about how she could convince Su Yuan into giving her another ability. The opportunity was finally here. Although she had to kill many enemies to obtain the ability, she wanted to try. She transformed into the demonic dragon form and flew out of the dark castle. After she left, the black butterfly flew to Su Yuan's side. Should I go and help her? The little butterfly was actually the mythical beast. To escape the holy light, it had chosen to be reborn into this little butterfly form. Although its strength was less potent than before, it was still more than enough to deal with the pesky enemies. Su Yuan shook his head. There is no need, he said. I believe in her. Besides, this will help her train. Su Yuan needed to calm the little butterfly, otherwise, it would intervene and kill all the enemies. Su Yuan would lose so many experience points. The little butterfly didn't say anything further. Instead, it quietly stayed beside Su Yuan and watched the battle outside. The battle raged. The dwarven army, black gold behemoths, skeleton soldiers, and others all ran to the front lines to withstand the attacks. At the same time, Shi Linglong opened a dimensional portal to connect to Zhao Qingrong's territory. A few of her friends stumbled through the portal and arrived at the battlefield. What's happening? That's a light-type ascetic army. There is also the light-type paladin army. Aren't those the light-type sky-winged warriors? A few lords had been in high spirits to help Zhao Qingrong's friend to show off their strength. When they finally arrived at the scene, they were perplexed. There were so many high-level troops in this battle. Dragons. The dark dragon is roaring. In the sky, the dark dragon knights flew past. The lords were scared. It was true that they thought they had some strength, but they were nothing when compared to the types of troops that were in front of them. Run. The lords wanted to flee. They couldn't care less about Zhao Qingrong's friend at that point. As they prepared to run away, Shi Linglong rushed to them. Why are you going back? She asked. I thought you could help Yuan. This is, a lord stammered. I have something to do, said another lord. I will head back first. In the end, the lords hurried away as if they were trying to avoid a plague. When they slipped away, the people on the ship, which had landed on a lake in Shi Linglong's territory, panicked. The voyage squadron from the kingdom of Sop was terrified of what they saw in front of them. What's that? The legendary Treeman army. Heavens! This continent is really dangerous. The Treeman had disappeared from their continent many years ago. However, they were on this continent? The Treeman army belonged to one of the male overlords who had promised Shi Linglong that he would help Suwon. He hurried back with his troop. What exactly happened to make these Treeman army so afraid? The eldest princess fell into deep thought. At this moment, they could also feel the tremors from the ground in the distance, as well as the roars of the giant dragons. There was definitely a fierce battle going on. It's a behemoth. Such a huge behemoth. Oh, god of magic. If this were placed on our continent, it would simply be an unimaginable disaster. They looked in the direction of Suwon's territory and saw a huge black gold behemoth roaring like a giant. This continent is so scary, said a noble, falling to his knees. I want to go back n/o/val/b/in.c//om. A terrifying behemoth would certainly be a disaster on their continent. It would take generations to defeat it. However, this place had not one but many behemoths. Our assumptions about this continent were seriously wrong, said the princess in a trembling voice. Zhao Qingrong understood the situation from Shi Linglong. They are trying to bully Yuan, she said. Let's go, we will help Yuan get back at them. Zhao Qingrong called out to her hero, the handsome elf, and set off together towards Suwon's territory. The handsome elf knew that Suwon didn't need help. He knew how powerful her hero was, even if Zhao Qingrong was unaware of it. However, the handsome elf didn't say anything. He was struggling with an internal crisis of his own. Should I follow Zhao Qingrong? The aura was of the light and the dark in that fight. The handsome elf assumed that the war between them had begun. It was a common occurrence in the hero plane. The light and the dark never got along. But this time, the situation was different. Zhao Qingrong's hero, the handsome elf, was still hesitating when Zhao Qingrong's voice came from behind him. What's wrong? She asked her hero in confusion. The handsome elf hesitated. At this moment, a strange phenomenon lit up the sky. A sun-like fireball soared in the sky. Zhao Qingrong could feel the heat from the ground. That's not good, she exclaimed. That's the Undying Bird. The SSS class hero, the Undying Bird, had the same regenerative and survival ability as the Hydra. Moreover, it was said that every time the immortal bird reincarnated, it would return with even more scorching light. Seeing the undying bird in the sky, Zhao Qingrong realized that the situation was more serious than she had assumed. This could very well end up in the fourth war between the light and the dark, said the handsome elf, giving voice to his thoughts. Zhao Qingrong didn't care about the war between the light and the dark. She was worried about her friend. Don't talk nonsense. Hurry and go help Yuan. Zhao Qingrong wanted to rush with her soldiers and help Yuan to safety. The handsome elf shook his head. You don't understand. If this is indeed the fourth war between the light and the dark, we can't possibly help your friend with our strength. The handsome elf knew that the current situation had something to do with the light types and the dark types. Even with the combined strength of Shi Linglong and Zhao Qingrong, it would be difficult to help Yuan. If you really want to help your friend, I can seek help from the elf tribe. The handsome elf told her about his plan. There was an elf tribe left behind in the hero plane. The handsome elf was of the elven clan. He offered to mobilize the elves to participate in this war. If the entire elf tribe participates, we could make a difference in this war and save your friend. Really? You can do that? Zhao Qingrong hadn't expected her hero to come up with such a plan. Zhao Qingrong agreed to his plan. She wanted to save Yuan at all costs. Will that be easy? Asked Shi Linglong. I mean, it's one thing to listen to you because you are the same race. But will they fight just because you say so? Shi Linglong was doubtful. The elven clan would most likely side with the light types. The handsome elf's lord was Yuan's friend. If the elves sided with Yuan and helped, that would be good. However, if they decided to join the light types, it would be bad. The flower fairy also looked at the handsome elf, waiting for his answer. The elves of this plane have been abandoned by the light types. In the upcoming fourth war, the elves would seize the opportunity to join the dark types, said the handsome elf with a solemn tone. His heart was heavy with emotion. It turned out that the elves in the lower realm and the upper realm were different. The light types had abandoned the elves in the lower realm because of their flaws. He didn't explain what flaws he was referring to. However, it was of concern that the elf tribe would be destroyed sooner or later. n/o/vel/b/in.c//om. The handsome elf was sure that the elves would accept his decision to follow the strongest entity present right now. All right, said Shi Linglong. We will do as you say. The handsome elf looked at the dimensional portal that Shi Linglong had opened and connected to the territory. Can I borrow this portal for a while? Asked the handsome elf. I will use it to connect to the elf tribe. Shi Linglong nodded. The handsome elf walked toward the dimensional portal and seemingly injected it with some strange power. Zhao Qingrong felt that something was wrong. She walked to Shi Linglong's side. I feel like he is hiding something, said Zhao Qingrong. Zhao Qingrong couldn't really explain why she felt that way, but she was doubtful about what the handsome elf had said. He didn't even reveal the flaws because of which the elves were abandoned. It all sounds strange to me. He didn't even say why the light types had abandoned them. The flower fairy seemed to know something about it. Shi Linglong and Zhao Qingrong were doubtful of the handsome elf because he didn't reveal the flaws because of which they were abandoned. But the flower fairy trusted him. He was taking an initiative to gather the elf tribe to join the dark types. Don't worry too much. At least, he is on our side. The flower fairy knew that the handsome elf would not betray them. He was going to rally the elves to fight with the dark types. It was surprising though that the elves wanted to fight. Well, we should send troops to help Yuan as we wait for his return, suggested Shi Linglong. At this time, Zhao Qingrong's troops had all fled. They realized that the situation was dire, and they might not survive the war. So, they fled before their lord could order them to participate in this battle. Let's go. Zhao Qingrong and Shi Linglong led their remaining troops and charged forward. Under Su Yuan's trickery, Yuan had no choice but to join the fight. As for Su Yuan, he carefully observed the battle. He wondered whether the information the Hydra had given him was true for the light types to risk their lives to this extent. The Hydra had some information about the light princess, which angered the light types to hunt him and his lord in the first place. Su Yuan thought about it, but something didn't add up. The light princess had gone down to the underground ruins and fought with the ancient undead souls of the ancient empire. She was gravely injured because of that and was lost underground. Is that tiny piece of information enough to cause such a commotion? Muttered Su Yuan. The little butterfly also saw that something was not right. The situation was giving him a headache. The little black butterfly had once been a mythical beast. He had lost his memory after being reborn. His memories were gone, and his mind was scattered. There definitely seems to be something wrong. It doesn't add up, said the little butterfly. Exactly, said Su Yuan. If I was from the light type, my priority would be to send as many heroes as I could to protect the light princess instead of sending them to hunt someone. So, why? Su Yuan looked outside the window in confusion. Either the Hydra, or the light types, were lying. The Hydra wouldn't lie. His lord's territory was destroyed along with the territory core. Su Yuan came to a conclusion. There is something wrong with the light types, he said. They are using the light princess condition as an excuse to start a war. What's their goal? Su Yuan was puzzled. If the light types wanted to kill him, they wouldn't send small heroes. They would have sent their elites because they knew about the strength of the dark demon dragon. Su Yuan really couldn't understand what the light types were planning. Since I am not sure what they want to achieve, thought Su Yuan, I cannot act rashly. I will need to stay calm and watch. It was best for him to watch from the dark till he figured out the enemy's intentions. Outside, the fight raged on. Countless enemies swarmed forward. Fortunately, Yuan had received numerous resources from the tournament. She could use her resources to resurrect her troops indefinitely. Yuan discovered that her attributes had greatly increased when she transformed into the demonic dragon form. However, it was still not enough in the face of such an army. She saw the Hydra fighting valiantly at the front. If this continued, n/o/vel/b/n.c//om. Yuan understood that Su Yuan wanted her to fight and train to strengthen herself. However, if the battle continued this way, it wouldn't be a matter of just strengthening herself. The territory would fall. Yuan needed to think of a way to solve this crisis. If I can make the Hydra stronger, then. She felt excited. She recalled that Su Yuan had always slept while the troops suddenly became stronger and fought the enemy. It was because of his ability that Yuan had advanced to this level. Yuan decided to use the ability that Su Yuan had given her to strengthen the nine-headed Hydra. Yuan activated the demonic dragon's blessing. In the distance, the nine-headed Hydra felt a surge of power. This power, he mumbled. The 9 elements in my body are. The Hydra was wide-eyed in surprise. The 9 elements in his body began to change. In the past, he had found a balance between the elements. He had learned that if he stored the 9 elements separately and didn't mix them, he could stay sane and use them as he pleased. However, now the 9 elements blended with each other seamlessly. There were no barriers between the elements. However, the result did not end up in elemental collapse. The Hydra was still sane. All elements fused in harmony. This feels great. The Hydra was excited. A lump of sarcoma appeared on the Hydra's back. Under everyone's curious gaze, the sarcoma split open and a pair of wings unfurled. That snake has wings. Is it evolving into something? Lord Ayer looked at the change in his hero from a distance. He was stunned. There was no one in this world who knew his hero better than him. What's going on? He wondered in alarm. Lord Ayer was confused, but he was excited, too. He felt that he had made the right decision in staying back to fight. For the first time, he felt that he had made the right choice. The Hydra had told him that if he wanted revenge, he needed to stick with the dark types. His hero had been right. The supreme leader of the dark types was Su Yuan. There was also the dark enchanter, the fallen angel, the white dragon saint, and the red-eyed black dragon. The fact that such powerful heroes gathered under Su Yuan was a testament to his power as the leader. The dark types were powerful. The change in the Hydra convinced Lord Ayer further. He knew that the dark types were making the Hydra stronger. Lord Ayer had seen something similar happen at the tournament before. Yuan had used this ability before when fighting him. The only difference was that Yuan had used the ability to strengthen the Hydra this time. Hence, the Hydra began to mutate and change. What kind of monster have I created? Said Yuan in awe. She was stunned. She hadn't expected the ability to have such an effect on the Hydra. Those who didn't know better would think the Hydra was evolving into a new form. I finally understand how Su Yuan might have felt when using this ability. Yuan was excited and curious to see what would happen next. The demonic dragon's blessing was truly a divine and unnatural ability. One never knew what would happen when activating the ability. Sometimes, it strengthened the troops a lot. Other times, it led to an evolution that was happening to the Hydra right now. Everyone saw the transformation of the Hydra. They watched in amazement. The Hydra screamed. The light types cheered. They assumed the Hydra was being punished for lack of faith. The Hydra wailed and howled. Everyone thought it was in pain. Lord Ayer was worried about his hero. He thought something had happened to the Hydra, and he was in agony. Only the 9-headed Hydra knew he was crying out in happiness. He felt the endless power surging through his body. His 9 elements were about to merge into one. At this rate, I will become the 9 Emperor Hydra that can surpass the 5 Emperor Dragons. The 5 Emperor Dragons had 5 dragon heads, each with a unique element. Even that Emperor couldn't merge the elements together and had to use them separately. However, the Hydra felt the elements in his body fusing to reach an ideal state. If all the elements could fuse and exist in harmony, he would be stronger than the 5 Emperor Dragons? I'm almost there. I'm about to transform and reach the highest realm that the 5 Emperor Dragons could have only dreamed of. The 9-headed Hydra grew bigger and bigger. At this point, he no longer looked up to the 5 Emperor Dragons as his superiors. The 9-headed Hydra suddenly realized something was wrong. The mysterious power had suddenly disappeared. Without the mysterious force to neutralize the 9 elements in his body, everything began to turn to chaos. Contrasting elements began to counter each other. The fire was fighting the water. Light fought the dark. This is not good. If this continues, I will explode. n/o/vel/b/n.c//om. The 9-headed Hydra kept growing in size. The 9 elements mixed and ran through his body, causing his already huge body to expand further. He grew bigger and bigger. If this continued, he would really explode. The 9-headed Hydra looked at Yuan in a panic. He knew that she had used a similar ability before, so he was sure she had used it this time, too. When he looked at her, he saw that she looked panicked, too. As expected, it's her. The 9-headed Hydra was sure now that this ability had something to do with Yuan. Meanwhile, Yuan was panicking. She had followed her plan and used the ability on the Hydra so that he could battle the enemies. However, the demonic dragon's blessing had some strange effect on the Hydra, causing it to evolve. Everything was going smoothly until she realized that she couldn't keep it up. In the past, when she had used the ability, she only had to activate it once. That was it? The ability didn't consume her energy after it was activated. However, when she used it, it constantly drained her energy. In the beginning, the Hydra's transformation had gone smoothly, but too much of her energy drained away. She couldn't keep using the ability. When she was exhausted and the ability deactivated, the Hydra's transformation abruptly stopped. The Hydra reverted to his original form. The wings on his back disappeared. The transformation takes away too much of my energy. I can't keep doing it, thought Yuan. Yuan thought her ability belonged to someone else, after all. So, perhaps the rules were different. She glanced at the dark castle. Yuan, quickly come and take over. She wanted Yuan to use his ability on the Hydra, however, Yuan didn't respond. He looked at the Hydra with a serious face, as if he was deep in thought. When the Hydra reverted to his original form, the light types reacted. Kill him. Everyone shouted and charged toward the Hydra. Right then, a loud noise reverberated from somewhere in Yuan's territory. Wan, we are here to help you. Shi Linglong and Zhao Qingrong, her two best friends, had arrived with their troops. There was also an army of elves. The handsome elf had fulfilled his promise and brought along the elf tribe. Archers, get ready. Mages, raise your shields. The elves were familiar with war. They got into position. The elves were experts in archery. When they shot their arrows together, it had the effect of a well-aimed cannonball. The damage output was high, however, it was also easy for the enemies to kill the archers to disrupt their formation. There were mages for that. They raised their shields and staffs and formed a shield to protect the archers. Whoosh! The elf archers drew their bows. The first volley of arrows had already caused damage to the light types. D***MNit. Where did these elves come from? Dirty mixed bloods. The words enraged the elves further. The next volley of arrows seemed to be filled with rage. Yuan walked back to Yuan. What do you think is going on with the elves? She asked. Why were they called dirty mixed blood? Wondered Yuan. Before, her friend, Zhao Qingrong's hero, the elf archer, she realized that the elves might not be as simple as they appeared. She had only seen one elf. However, the elves she saw in front of her felt different. Mixed blood, muttered Yuan. Interesting. Yuan looked at the elves meaningfully. Unlike the perplexed Yuan, Zhao Qingrong and Shi Linglong had a more detailed theory of the situation. It can't be, mumbled Shi Linglong. Wrong, these elves. Zhao Qingrong was still confused. What is it, Linglong? What's wrong with the elves? She only knew that these elves had some kind of flaw, but she was unable to guess what exactly that was. However, her friend Shi Linglong seemed to have guessed the answer. Shi Linglong turned to Zhao Qingrong. Wrong, think about it carefully, what do the light types consider the most disgusting? Zhao Qingrong thought about it. Something the light types considered disgusting. They most certainly hate the dark types. Zhao Qingrong recalled her hero mentioning the war between the light and the dark, so the first thing she could think about was their enmity. Right. Shi Linglong clapped her hands. The only thing that the light types hate the most are the dark types. You heard them? The light types called them dirty mixed blood. Zhao Qingrong finally understood what her friend was trying to explain to her. She covered her mouth with her hand in shock. So, that means they have dark type blood in them. The whole thing was truly shocking. The elves originally were light types. However, the new bloodline had mixed blood from both the light and the dark. This was why the elves were abandoned by the pure-blooded light types. The mixed blood elves represented a humiliation that they wanted to erase. Just as Shi Linglong and Zhao Qingrong guessed the truth, the Elven Warlock army arrived. The Elven Warlock army was a powerful light-type troop that could destroy the entire Earth. Pure-blood Elven Warlocks against the mixed-blood elves, said Si Linglong. I feel that the nature of this war has become more intense. The arrival of the Elven Warlock army scared the mixed-blood elves. They retreated. Filthy mixed bloods, cursed an Elven Warlock. You still dare to show your face in the world. They had no trace of sympathy for the mixed-blood elves, who were still the same race as them. It was as though they wanted to crush them completely. It's because of scums like you that our reputation and glory have been ruined. The elves have been shamed for hundreds of years because of creatures like you, shouted a young pure-blood elf. An old elf beside him pulled at the young elf and gave him a warning. The others who watched felt that there were some hidden meanings in the words of the young elf. However, nobody was able to guess what he meant. On the other hand, Shi Linglong and Zhao Qingrong were even surer now of their guesses. The mixed-blood elves were oppressed by the pure-blood elves. The mixed bloods retreated. n/o/vel/b/in.c//om. However, Zhao Qingrong's hero refused to retreat. He walked to the front. The pure-blood Elven Warlocks went quiet when they saw the handsome elf. After a long pause, an old elf spoke. Your Highness, what do you mean by this? Some of the Elven Warlocks, and even other light-type heroes, whispered among themselves. That's the third prince. They stared at him in shock and surprise. None of them had expected the one leading the mixed bloods to be the third prince of the Elven clan. Has the Elven prince turned to the darkness? Asked Anun. In their eyes, only that explanation made sense at the moment. The third prince stared at the Elven Warlocks icily. What do you think? The faces of the Elven Warlock darkened. The young elves didn't seem to understand what was happening. The old elves seemed to know something, whispered Yuan. The fight had momentarily stopped. Everyone stopped to watch the elves fight among themselves. They wanted to understand what kind of scandal the elven clan was embroiled in. Unfortunately, everyone was disappointed. The elves had enough restraint to not make their matter public. That's the only reason you turned to the dark? Asked an old elven warlock. He sighed. They realized that the third prince had led the mixed bloods to join the dark types. If I hadn't done it, would they still be alive? Said the third prince of the elven clan. The council of elders decided to eliminate the mixed bloods in their last meeting. At the prince's words, things became a little clearer. The pure blood elves had decided to kill all mixed blood elves? If they wanted to live, they would have to find someone stronger to protect them. The pure blood elves were of light types. Nobody was willing to offend the light types for the sake of a few mixed blood elves. If the mixed blood wanted to survive the genocide inflicted by the pure blood elves and the light types, they had only one choice. They needed to join the dark types. One of the old elven warlocks shook his head. If that is what you wish, we have no choice but to shine the holy, purifying light to punish you. The elven warlock army didn't waste any time and prepared to launch its attack. The mixed blood elves only had a few strong soldiers, while the pure blood elves were well equipped with capable soldiers. Su Yuan looked at Suan. Leave the rest to me. The scene was chaotic. Suan was at her wit's end. However, she felt at ease when Su Yuan uttered those words. Leave the rest to me, he said. The sentence echoed in her mind. His words finally made her calm. As long as he was involved, the problem would be solved. Outside, the elven warlock army was about to attack. Zhao Qingrong's hero, the third elven prince, was also nervous. He had thought about it a lot before deciding to turn to the dark. However, at this moment, he couldn't help feeling anxious. He would be taken down by the elven warlock army. He couldn't fight them by himself. His lord, Zhao Qingrong, and her friend, Shi Linglong, might not be able to help him. The third elven prince was betting everything on one thing. Suddenly, the battlefield changed. Black flames burned everywhere. An unknown, mysterious power stretched. The others were confused. However, the flower fairy and the third elven prince recognized the aura. Only the dark demon dragon possessed such profound darkness. Demonic dragon's blessing. Su Yuan activated his ability. This was the same ability Suan had used. However, hers was tampered with. So, it didn't work as it was supposed to. When Su Yuan used it, there was an obvious change. The black flames weren't just burning in the surrounding area. It also engulfed the mixed blood elves. This feeling. The first to burn was the third elven prince. His eyes were wide in disbelief. I can feel it. The power in my body, the hidden darkness. Black stripes appeared on his face, like cracks on porcelain. Soon, they covered his entire body. The third elven prince clenched his fist. The black stripes on his body flickered with a strange light. At the same time, his skin changed. It looked as though his whole skin was dyed with black ink. The third elven prince appeared to be in some kind of pain. He screamed. The muscles on his body bulged as if they were about to explode. All the other mixed bloods seemed to be enduring the same thing. One by one, the elves raised their heads to the sky and screamed. Black stripes covered their bodies. Night elves. The elven warlock army was shocked. At first, they thought the third elven prince had used some kind of forbidden magic. However, they saw that all the mixed blood elves were going through the same transformation. They were changing suddenly like the legendary night elves. They still have the blood of the night elves in them, said one of the old elven warlock. Another elven warlock shook his head. It's not just the blood, they are transforming into night elves completely. Shi Linglong and the others also heard the elven warlock's words. At this moment, Shi Linglong turned to look at her best friend, Zhao Qingrong. She wanted to discuss this with her friend. However, Zhao Qingrong was speechless at that moment. I really miss Wan and Yao Yao at times like this, Shi Linglong muttered softly. Lin Yao was the smart, logical big sister in their group. Suan was the aloof, ice goddess. However, both of them were very intelligent. They always had some kind of theory or guess to analyze any situation, unlike Zhao Qingrong. Forget it. I will discuss it with Wan later, mumbled Shi Linglong. The transformations might not be a bad thing. The elven warlock army watched in disbelief. The words of the old elven warlock had shaken them. How is that possible? Some of the elven warlock asked in shock. n/o/vel/b/in.c//om. Is this how the first night elves were born? While they were in a daze, the third elven prince and the mixed blood elves were done with their transformations. The black stripes on their bodies faded away. Their skin turned dark. They really looked like night elves through and through. The third elven prince clenched his fists. He could feel the surge of power within him. He couldn't wait to release that power. Half moon slash, shouted the third elven prince. The skill that was usually used in the form of a white crescent moon was now dyed dark. A silver crescent wrapped in a layer of darkness appeared, and the space became distorted. This is bad. Hurry! Put up a mana shield, shouted an elven warlock anxiously. They managed to put up a magic shield. The shield collided with the third elven prince's half-moon slash. Boom! The ground trembled. The space appeared like a ripple on a still lake. What a terrifying power. Hold it together. The elven warlocks shouted impatiently. The magic shield had managed to block the third elven prince's half-moon slash. Even so, no one rejoiced. The third elven prince looked completely different from his past self. They lamented the fact that he had turned to the darkness for the sake of power. He had turned into a night elf. An old elven warlock pointed his cane at the third elven prince angrily. Why? Why would you turn to the dark just for power? His voice trembled. Yuan sucked in a breath of cold air as she watched from the dark castle. Scammer Su is actually quite terrifying. Yuan still thought that it was his auxiliary ability that was this terrifying and not really his combat ability. She had used the demonic dragon's blessing before, so she understood the current situation clearly. When Yuan used the demonic dragon's blessing, she understood that the energy consumed depended on the range and strength of the targets. The larger the range was for casting the ability, the higher the amount of energy consumed. Looking at the black flames that filled the entire territory, Yuan couldn't imagine the amount of energy needed to uphold the ability. How much energy did Yuan have? Yuan looked at the Hydra. The mixed blood elves were only the tip of the iceberg. They were not the main focus of the battle. The main target in this battle was the nine-headed Hydra. Yuan had used the demonic dragon's blessing on the Hydra, and his attributes had skyrocketed. His form had almost evolved. The Hydra had felt as though he was even more powerful than the 5 Emperor Dragons. However, Yuan couldn't sustain the ability for long and his transformation ended abruptly. Yuan's energy had run out, and the Hydra had reverted to his original form. To the nine-headed Hydra, life was nothing more than wins and losses. He had always remained strong and defeated any enemy with his Lord Air. However, in the tournament, he got into a difficult situation with Yuan. She defeated them and plundered their resources. His legacy began to decline. He had never met an opponent stronger than him before. The Hydra had even killed himself and his lord to escape the arena. He had forgotten that they had no resources to resurrect themselves. They had suffered the worst fate. However, the Sage of the Moon had transferred some resources to their territory, because of which Lord Air and the Hydra were able to revive in their territory. They had gotten another chance at life. Then, they were attacked once again by the light types. The Hydra sighed with emotion. After so many ups and downs in his life, he finally felt the surge of power. However, even that had abruptly stopped. The Hydra was in a bad mood. Yuan's ability had given him hope. He had felt such a surge in power that he could have fought anyone and won. He would have been stronger than the 5 Emperor Dragons. Yuan suddenly appeared on the battlefield and activated his ability. The Hydra roared. I can do it. He felt his body surging with immense power once again. I will become the 9 Emperor Hydra. His body expanded. I will successfully transform this time. The Hydra realized that the power he felt was even more potent than the one before. He was sure that his transformation wouldn't stop halfway like the last time. Stop him. The light types could sense the power the Hydra emitted. They knew the threat the Hydra brought to them. Even the elven warlocks gave up on fighting the mixed blood elves momentarily and stared at the Hydra. Stop him, another hero shouted. It was the light mage. She had participated in the tournament along with Yuan. She had also fought the Hydra and knew how powerful he was. If such a powerful Hydra was to evolve into a stronger form, it would be a disaster. She didn't think twice. She commanded everyone to focus their fire on the Hydra, so they could stop him. It's no use. The 9-headed Hydra laughed hysterically. You're too late. A pair of black wings unfurled on his back, just like the ones the fallen angel had. However, the Hydra's wings were larger. Even a gentle flap of the wings brought on a terrifying storm. I am the 9 Emperor Hydra. I control chaos, declared the Hydra. All of you, kneel in front of me. What an idiot, muttered Yuan. He even says he can control chaos. He had flown back to the dark castle. Yuan couldn't deny the strength of the Hydra. However, his fatal flaw was his arrogance. Yuan hesitated. He does have a justification to be so arrogant now. Yuan admitted that the aura emitted by the Hydra right now was so powerful that he could afford to be a little arrogant. It's not his power. I can take it back anytime, said Yuan. That brought Yuan to her senses. Although the Hydra was immensely powerful right now, his power could indeed be taken away anytime Yuan wished. What Yuan said was true. The Hydra's power wasn't permanent. Right now, the Hydra was arrogant and was using his newfound power to kill enemies in every direction. However, his power could be taken away easily. Even if Yuan didn't take away the power, the Hydra would revert to his original state when the demonic dragon's blessing reached the time limit. N/O/vel/b/in.c//om. When that happened, the Hydra would be so embarrassed by his arrogant behavior. However, the Hydra didn't know about the time limit right now. The Hydra felt that he was so strong and terrifying that he was no different from the dark demon dragon himself. At this time, a thought flashed through the Hydra's head. He was here to take his revenge. Lord Air's territory was destroyed. The light types had even destroyed the territory core. The Hydra and Lord Air had fled and reached Yuan's territory. Yuan had given him a chance by taking them in. No matter what, the Hydra had to prove himself to Yuan until he could take his revenge on the light types. Each of the 9 heads of the Hydra possessed a different elemental power. It suppressed the entire area and caused the heavenly lightning to rumble. It seemed as though his power was beyond the rules of the Overlord plane. Accompanied by dark flames and black lightning, the 9 Emperor Hydra looked down on everything. What kind of monster is that? Everyone present was dumbfounded. No one had expected the Hydra to transform into such a terrifying form. They had only seen something like that in the past when they had faced the 5 Emperor Dragons. Is he as strong as the 5 Emperor Dragons? He did say he is the 9 Emperor Hydra. Everyone discussed the situation. The light mage realized it was too late for her to regret what she had done. She had been ordered to kill the Hydra. So, she gathered other light types and went to his territory. However, the Hydra had escaped with his lord. He had even joined the dark types. The light types hadn't expected this. The light mage never thought the Hydra would turn into a 9 Emperor Hydra. D***mn. The light mage cursed. She felt helpless. The 9 Emperor Hydra's terrifying power was not something they could fight for now. They needed to stall for time until more powerful light types arrived. The 9 Emperor Hydra looked at the light types with contempt. You ***stards. Just die. His roar shook the earth. Retreat, shouted the light mage as she fled. She already knew the strength of the Hydra. In the 9 Emperor Hydra form, he would be even more destructive. There was no point in continuing the fight until more powerful light types arrived. Right now, none of them had the capability to deal with the 9 Emperor Hydra. The light types were stunned at the light mage's order of retreat. They wanted to make the dark types pay for this. However, they weren't stupid. They knew they couldn't win this fight. So, they heeded the light mage's command and fled. Chase them, shouted the 9 Emperor Hydra. All the dark types had received the demonic dragon's blessing. Their attributes had increased. They wanted to find a target to use their newfound power. At the 9 Emperor Hydra's orders, they charged toward the escaping light types. We should go too, said the third elven prince. After receiving the demonic dragon's blessing and turning into night elves, they were ready to fight. The third elven prince was supposed to be the main focus of this battle. However, the Hydra had somehow come out of the blue and stolen all his limelight. The third elven prince was a little disappointed. However, he didn't dwell on it for long. The light types were fleeing. He gave orders to pursue them. The battle raged on. There were only a few people who remained calm in the fight and didn't rush to join in. Among them were Yuan and Yuan, who were watching from the dark castle. There was also Linglong. She was worried about Yuan, so she made her way to the dark castle. Wan, your territory is getting more and more dangerous. Yuan wanted to refute this. However, she looked around her territory and saw dark clouds and black lightning rumbling everywhere. Black mist lingered. Linglong had a point. Yuan didn't know what to say. Linglong didn't wait for an answer. She just wanted to talk about the whole matter with the elves. Wan, did you guess the mixed blood elves' origin? N/O/vel/b/in.c//om. She had wanted to discuss this with Zhao Qingrong. However, Zhao Qingrong's intelligence was questionable. Her mind was always filled with handsome men and nothing else. The night elves. Yuan was quiet for a while. She recalled everything that had happened. The mixed blood elves had some special ancestry. It seemed that their bloodline merged with the dark types. When Yuan cast the ability, their connection to their ancestors had awakened and the power of darkness emerged. They had transformed into night elves. An old 11 warlock had been angry. He had accused the third elven prince of corruption for power. His words were certainly interesting. Yuan looked at Yuan. Scammer Su, what do you think? She remembered that Yuan had a strange ability that could see into the past. He had shared it with her. However, she needed to kill enemies to unlock it. Could Yuan's ancestry be traced back to the bloodline of the mixed blood elves? Yuan yawned. He looked in the direction where the elves had gone. Yuan was still waiting for his response. When he showed no signs of answering her question, she waved her hands in front of her. Yuan, stop daydreaming. That brought Yuan back to the present. However, he looked very conflicted. Those elves, they are interesting. Yuan realized that Yuan wouldn't answer her even if she asked him about it. He would probably keep it a secret and give her a glimpse of the information bit by bit to keep the suspense. Yuan was thinking too much. Yuan didn't know how to explain what he had seen. Yuan had been right. His true eye of the demon dragon had shown him the past. 239 The true eye of the demon dragon that can be traced back to the past. The true eye of the demon dragon allowed its user to see the past of a certain person or object. Initially, the ability only allowed one to see what happened 24 hours before. However, Yuan had enhanced the ability, and now it was able to show the past and trace it back to the origin of things. Yuan had used the ability on the mixed blood elves. He was certain that their bloodline was related to the dark types, but he wasn't sure which dark race they were related to. From the way the old elven warlock had reacted, Yuan had guessed that the mixed blood elves had a dark bloodline because of which they had turned into night elves. Someone had asked if this was how the first night elves had been created. Yuan wondered the same thing. The atavism of bloodline shows that the elves did not fall into darkness. Instead, muttered Yuan. It was rumored that the elves had betrayed the light types and converted to the dark side. After being eroded by the dark, they had transformed into night elves. N/O/vel/b/jn.c//om. However, Yuan wasn't sure of that rumor. He was more inclined to believe that the light-type elves had given birth to the mixed blood elves with other dark creatures. That was why their bloodline had a dark influence. That must be how the first night elves were created. After countless generations, their dark bloodline must have become thinner and thinner to the point that they looked like ordinary elves. Perhaps that was why they had transformed into night elves, because their dark bloodline was awakened when Yuan cast the demonic dragon's blessing on them. This was Yuan's speculation. He didn't tell anyone about it for now. He couldn't claim that the elves must have had an affair with dark-type heroes without evidence. He didn't know if the elves had been willing or if they had been forced into something like that. His words could inflict damage, especially when he didn't have any evidence. He didn't even mutter because Xi Linglong, Yuan, and the flower fairy were nearby. They were not fools. They were smart people. He had to be careful about what he said. The elves' history is that complicated. The flower fairy covered her mouth in surprise. Xi Linglong was also speechless. I didn't expect everything to be so convoluted. Yuan was shocked about something different. She wasn't surprised that the light-type elves might have had babies with dark types. Instead, she was now certain that Su Yuan's ability could see into the past. Yuan kept thinking about the true eye of the demon dragon. The prompt she had received definitely said that it could be used to glimpse into the past 24 hours. However, she was certain that the ability that was supposed to be given to her had been weakened. The original ability was more potent. Su Yuan had surely used the same ability to see the elves' past. I really want that ability, thought Yuan. It would come in handy. Unlocking the ability would require Yuan to fight and kill enemies. Only when the progress bar reached 100% would she be able to obtain the true eye of the demon dragon. Detestable. Yuan stomped her feet in anger. She had just used her demonic dragon form and even activated the demonic dragon's blessing. She was so exhausted that she couldn't muster up the energy to go and fight. If not, she would have really rushed to the battlefield and killed enemies to get the ability. They didn't continue discussing the elves after that. Wan, how did you make so many enemies? Asked Xi Linglong. And I thought I was the troublemaker? It looks like you are attracting more and more trouble nowadays. Xi Linglong looked at Yuan sympathetically. Don't tell me you are like me too. Yuan's face darkened. No, I am not. She knew very well that all of this had nothing to do with her. The nine-headed Hydra was the cause of all this. The enemy had chased him and his lord to Yuan's territory. That was why this was happening. Really, said Xi Linglong. Then how did you make so many enemies? Look at them, so many heroes with their lords? The number of enemies I made isn't even half as many as yours? Wan, I feel that you have gotten more powerful lately. Xi Linglong smiled mischievously. Zhao Qingrong, who was silently listening in a corner, was confused. She was unaware of Xi Linglong's troublemaking abilities. Therefore, she was puzzled by the conversation between Xi Linglong and Yuan. While the three lords talked, the flower fairy flew to Su Yuan's side. She noticed a small black butterfly at his side. Who is this? Asked the flower fairy. She hadn't even sensed the butterfly there. If she hadn't seen it with her eyes, she might not have believed that the butterfly existed. The little butterfly flapped his wings. His aura leaked out. The flower fairy was nervous. She was familiar with the aura. The aura made her recall some ancient memories. Is he the successor of the emperor? The flower fairy was a little uncertain. Su Yuan glanced at her. It seemed that the flower fairy knew more about the mythical beast than he did. 240 The origin of the little butterfly, sun star spirit. The flower fairy had a different understanding of the little butterfly in front of her. This was unexpected. n/o/vel/b/in.c//om. You know about the butterfly's background? Asked Su Yuan. He was only aware that the butterfly was once the formidable mythical beast. Beyond that, his knowledge of the butterfly's history was limited. Su Yuan only knew that the little black butterfly was the earth core butterfly that had once flown out of the sun's core. However, the flower fairy seemed to know more. The flower fairy was stunned at Su Yuan's question. She hesitated. Your Majesty. She didn't seem willing to answer his question. But she wouldn't dare offend Su Yuan. One of the four pillars of the light types was the sun star spirit. It is most likely that the butterfly might be that entity. The flower fairy's words caused a ripple in Su Yuan's heart. He recalled that the mythical beast had been injured by the holy light. It had almost killed the thing. If the butterfly was actually the sun star spirit, why would the light types try to destroy him? If Su Yuan hadn't saved the butterfly, he would long be dead. Was there some kind of civil unrest among the light types? Wondered Su Yuan. If there had been internal strife among the light types, it would explain why the earth core butterfly was cast away. Su Yuan could use the butterfly to cause massive trouble to the light types. The butterfly flew and perched on Su Yuan's dragon horns. He looked at the flower fairy. He had no recollection of his past. Strange, thought the flower fairy. Seeing the butterfly and Su Yuan getting along was unsettling. One was the sun star spirit, who was in line to succeed to the throne to lead the light types. The other was the dark demon dragon. Countless years ago, the dark demon dragon had appeared briefly, leaving an indelible impression on the world. After that, he disappeared without a trace. The dark demon dragon had reappeared. The flower fairy knew he was the unanimously appointed leader of the dark types. However, he was getting along with someone who was supposed to lead the light types. This was much too strange for the flower fairy to digest. Su Yuan noticed her confusion. Why is it so difficult to accept for you? The flower fairy hesitated. Your Majesty, it's just. The leader of the light types was supposed to be selected from the four pillars. She looked at the butterfly with fear. The King of Heaven used to be one of the four pillars in the past. The flower fairy was anxious. She shouldn't have revealed that secret. Su Yuan finally understood the importance of the butterfly. The King of Heaven was the leader of light types. Most thought he was just an illusionary figure created by the Light Princess. His existence itself was uncertain. Even the others among the light types were unable to verify whether the King of Heaven actually existed. According to the flower fairy, he was real enough to have been one of the four pillars of the light types. So, there might have been an internal strife among the light types, thought Su Yuan. He recalled the time when the little black butterfly had appeared out of the cocoon. The holy light that had encased the cocoon had been terrifying. Su Yuan was sure that the holy light had been cast directly by the King of Heaven. From what the flower fairy revealed, everything sounded intriguing. The little butterfly and the King of Heaven must have been friends in the past. However, the Earth Core butterfly had been fatally injured and rendered unconscious. The light types had even gone to the extent of casting the holy light, so the butterfly would have no escape. Perhaps the King of Heaven himself had done all of that to suppress the Sunstar spirit. The four pillars must have fought among themselves for the throne, muttered Su Yuan. The King of Heaven won and he became the leader. The other three were either seriously injured or killed. When the flower fairy heard Su Yuan's speculations, she was so terrified that her wings trembled uneasily. She knew the legend of the four pillars. However, she didn't know how the butterfly came to be with Su Yuan at this time. The shock she felt at this was unimaginable. Your Majesty, do you really think something like that happened? Asked the flower fairy. She looked at the little black butterfly. The flower fairy really wanted to know what had happened to the butterfly and the other pillars. The butterfly shook his head. I am sorry, he said. I can't remember anything. The butterfly fluttered around Su Yuan. Maybe I am the Sunstar spirit you mention, or maybe I am someone else. I don't care. I don't remember. I just want to stay by Yuan's side and see the world. Suan occasionally called him Scammer Su, and the others referred to him as Your Majesty. But this was the first time Su Yuan had heard someone call him just Yuan. The little butterfly fluttered around Su Yuan. He didn't look like the Sunstar spirit at all. This made the flower fairy doubt herself for a moment. Was I wrong? That little butterfly couldn't possibly be the legendary Sunstar spirit. However, she could sense his aura, and auras were never wrong. That was the Sunstar spirit's aura? She was sure of it. Who are the other pillars? Asked Su Yuan curiously. If his guess was correct, and the four pillars had fought among themselves, he had some ideas for the future. Ancient mythical creatures didn't die easily. The Earth Core butterfly had been assumed dead as well. Yet, Su Yuan had found him. The butterfly had abandoned his memories and power and chosen to be reborn. Su Yuan speculated that the other two pillars might be in the same state. He wondered if he could gather them. Perhaps they wanted revenge against the King of Heaven, after all. The thought amused Su Yuan. The flower fairy was unaware of Su Yuan's plan. She tried to remember the ancient legend of the four pillars of light. Your Majesty, the four pillars represent earth, water, wind, and fire, said the flower fairy. The Sunstar spirit was of the fire. The Lord of the Sky represents the wind. Su Yuan already knew that the Earth Core butterfly came from the Sun's core, so it was easy to understand why he would represent fire as a pillar of light. The flower fairy explained about the Lord of the Sky, the first legendary angel. His territory was the sky. He called it the Kingdom of Heaven. The angel was a powerful entity. Kingdom of Heaven, muttered Su Yuan. Then little Blackie will have some information about it. The flower fairy was confused. She didn't know who Blackie was. She was unaware of the lords and the heroes that Suan had befriended during the tournament. The little butterfly flew to the flower fairy and explained. Little Blackie is the fallen angel. The flower fairy gradually understood. She couldn't really associate the fallen angel with the name Little Blackie in any shape or form. Your Majesty, the fallen angel might not have an idea of what happened back then, said the flower fairy cautiously. The flower fairy didn't know that the fallen angel was the former deputy to the King of Heaven. She thought Su Yuan was referring to some ordinary angel who had turned to the dark side. Blackie will know about it, said Su Yuan. He used to be the deputy to the King of Heaven. The flower fairy was puzzled. Her mind went blank for a second. Deputy. It took her some time to understand the fact that Blackie was actually the first fallen angel. The terrifying deputy to the King of Heaven. The flower fairy was stunned. She couldn't utter a word. Tell me about the other pillars, said Su Yuan. The flower fairy calmed herself. She brushed off her disbelief. She was about to answer him when Shi Linglong interrupted. Wow, Afunai, you are certainly getting along well with Wan's hero? You don't ever look that flustered when talking to me. Shi Linglong pouted. Both Su Yuan and the flower fairy looked confused. They couldn't understand what Shi Linglong was implying. Oh, Linglong's hero and Wan's hero certainly get along well. Zhao Qingrong chimed in. What a pity. One is a dragon, and the other is a fairy. So tragic. How will they reproduce? Zhao Qingrong chuckled. Suan felt uneasy. Suan didn't know why she felt so flustered. She didn't like it when she saw her two friends teasing the flower fairy and Su Yuan together. Thankfully, no one noticed her discomfort. n/o/vel/b/in.c//om. The flower fairy flapped her wings to keep aloft. What's wrong? She asked. Did I disturb you? The flower fairy didn't understand what the lords were hinting at. She only thought that she had somehow caused a commotion that had disrupted their discussion. The two lords glanced at Su Yuan and the flower fairy strangely. Zhao Qingrong looked especially invested. She looked back and forth between the flower fairy and Su Yuan, trying to decide if anything was going on between them. From her observation, Su Yuan looked so lazy and indifferent that he didn't really seem like a creature in love. The flower fairy, on the other hand, was in a daze and did not understand what was happening at all. Suan suddenly walked to Su Yuan's side. Su Yuan, are you bullying Afunai? She looked angry. Su Yuan was very confused by her reaction. He had done nothing at all. Why does she look like she is going to combust in rage? He assumed Yuan had discovered that he tampered with the demonic dragon's blessing before giving it to her. That would certainly explain her anger. Yuan scratched his head in confusion. He had a sheepish expression on his face. Yuan was momentarily taken aback. She felt guilty. In the past, she always had a reason for getting angry at him. This time, she felt like she was being unreasonable. Yuan hadn't really done anything wrong. It seemed like a high-level battle was even more difficult than he had imagined. However, he achieved a lot of benefits from this fight. The third prince of the elves had joined him, after all. Yuan's gaze swept over the third prince's attribute panel. Level 63. Strength, 1700. Spirit, 1820. Agility, 1576. Constitution, 700. Skill, Dark Corrosive Arrow. Note, the first Night Elf, S-Class troop type, good at assassination and protection missions. The attributes were not that bad. His constitution was slightly weaker. He had the frame of a fragile archer. However, Night Elves had advanced invisibility skills, which allowed them to become one with darkness. From now on, you will be in charge of the daily patrols and reinforcement missions, said Yuan to the Night Elves. The Night Elves had a lot of room for improvement, but it was possible that they could easily advance to SSS class in the future. Furthermore, they had concealment abilities that could be used to guard the territory more effectively. The enemies would find it a lot harder to sneak in with them standing guard. As you say, Your Majesty. The third prince didn't question Yuan. As a mixed blood who was looked down upon by other pure-blooded elves, he was grateful for being converted into the first line of pure-blooded night elves. It was enough to show the immense power that Yuan held. As for Yuan, she was ignored by everyone. What a joke, thought the third prince. It was unbelievable to think that such a powerful being was bound to a human overlord. Perhaps one day the overlord would die, and we can peacefully follow his majesty. D*MN I'm the overlord. Yuan stomped her feet in anger. Yuan didn't want to hurt her feelings, so he nodded at the night elves as he acknowledged her. Greetings, my lord. The third prince saw Yuan nod at them. Thus, he bowed to Yuan. Yuan felt a little better. You should familiarize yourself with the territory first. I will arrange a separate residence for you as soon as possible. Tomorrow, you will follow us to kill monsters and level up, said Yuan. What's your name? She turned to the third prince and patted him on his shoulders. She wanted to show him that she was a considerate lord who cared about her subordinates. Scarlin, my lord, said the third prince. He was confused. What did she mean that they would kill monsters and level up? Could they not level up by absorbing energy from the territory core? Ever since Scarlin met Yuan and the others, he couldn't fathom how they leveled up by fighting in a battle. Yuan wasn't surprised at his reaction. She smiled amiably. She glanced at Yuan. Since the matter had been temporarily resolved, Shi Linglong and Zhao Qingrong bid their farewells and returned to their respective territories. Yuan and Yuan returned to the Dark Castle. Look, I am telling you now that I am your lord. If you want to find another hero and mate with them, you need to tell me. You will have to seek my permission. Yuan's jealousy exploded. What are you even talking about? I was just asking her about the 4 pillars of light. This battle might be because of the plot concocted by the Lord of the Sky, said Yuan. He really wanted to pry open Yuan's head and see what unnecessary things she hoarded inside. He finally knew the reason for her anger. Do I look that desperate? He wondered. Yuan's face turned somber. She had thought that this was just a simple feud between the light and the dark. Her territory had just been swept into the middle of the chaos unexpectedly. However, now she had a bad feeling about all this. What would the Lord of the Sky do if their abilities were exposed? Could it be that this war was aimed specifically at her territory? If the Lord of the Sky personally led an army to attack her territory, would they be able to withstand it? The potential displayed by Yuan was indeed terrifying, so it was justifiable for the Lord of the Sky to be wary. If she was the Lord of the Sky, she would also try to pluck the threat before it took root. Yuan suspected that her understanding of Yuan and his abilities were next to none. This dragon might be more than he let on. The light types live to destroy and eliminate the dark types. Why don't we lie low for now and strike back when we are stronger? Asked Yuan. Yuan was surprised at Yuan's lack of awareness. He wanted to give her a thumbs up for being so removed from reality. She had almost mastered the go-with-the-flow essence of Daoism. Perhaps if she was given 1,000 years to practice it, she might become a new god. Unfortunately, they were already exposed. Seriously? Do you think that is possible? You are in the limelight after winning the intercampus tournament. You emerged victorious after competing with 100 other academies. You really don't think the Lord of the Sky will look the other way if you lie low, do you? Yuan shook his head helplessly. The Lord of the Sky probably knew about the existence of the Dark Demon Dragon. The pursuit of the Night Elves was really just a show for distraction. So, the battle isn't finished. Yuan held Yuan's head and cried bitterly. It hadn't been easy for Yuan to collect resources and develop her territory. She couldn't just leave it to be destroyed, but the enemy this time was the Lord of the Sky. He must be at least of the SSSS class. How would they be able to withstand his attack? Don't worry, said Yuan. We aren't at the end of the rope yet. We still have many strong troop types. We have scrolls to strengthen the territory's defenses. I think we can withstand the Lord of the Sky and what he might launch at us. Since they had already been exposed to the world, they might as well complete all the missions and get better rewards. The more trump cards they had at their disposal, the greater their chances of fighting the Lord of the Sky. In fact, Su Yuan already had a plan in mind. Now that his agility, strength, spirit, and vitality had all been raised to more than 3,000 points, there was almost no being that could defeat him. He had to break through the level 70 threshold as soon as possible. Yuan wasn't convinced by his words. She felt that something was terribly wrong, but she couldn't put a finger on it. The next morning, Yuan gathered all the troops, along with the night elves, and led them to slay monsters and level up. After the attack from the light types, Yuan felt an urgency to strengthen herself and the territory core so that they would be ready if another attack was launched on the territory. From the pitch-black void, strange creatures kept emerging. Scarlin shot his magic arrows. He was shocked. The creatures made his scalp go numb with fear. If he died here, his lord probably wouldn't be able to resurrect him. His Majesty, Su Yuan, and the Lord, Yuan, used such creatures to level up while it made him tremble in fear. Scarlin thought that they were really not ordinary. They used the creature to level up while he was still reeling in shock. Suddenly, the eight-eyed creature was charging at him at full speed. It reached Scarlin's side. He felt as though he had suffered a blow to the head. His ears buzzed. The eight-eyed creature lost control of its body in an instant, and the powerful inertia of its movement caused it to fall to the ground. Scarlin fell to the ground too. He suffered a long wound on his side. The other night elves were terrified. They wanted to help the third prince but were too far away. Blood splattered everywhere as the creature sank its teeth into Scarlin's neck. N/O/vel/B/in.C//om. Tisk, said Yuan. Scarlin is weak. He died so easily. She was only teasing him. The other troops also laughed, as though this was all very ordinary. The third prince was dead. The night elves were shocked at the Lord's reaction. Nobody even appeared sad at the third prince's demise. Could it be that the Lord had not entirely accepted them as her own? 243 Cursed Pharaoh. It was only his first day under Su Yuan's command, and he had just died like that. Scarlin's vision dimmed. He felt despair. He had yet to figure out where the creature had come from, but he was already dying. Suddenly, a warm and comforting light encased him. He opened his eyes. He was back in Yuan's territory. He touched his neck. There was no wound there. I am alive. Scarlin was surprised. He turned around and saw many of his companions there. All of them had been killed by the creature a while before. How is this possible? He walked out of the light and stood before his companions. Don't worry, said Yuan. With Su Yuan here, no one really dies permanently. Hurry now and kill the monsters to level up. When she found out that Su Yuan had such an ability, she was also shocked in the beginning. This was very rare. Her other friends, Shi Linglong, Zhao Qingrong, and even Lin Yao's territories didn't have such a convenient ability. So, it's because of his majesty. Scarlin was taken aback. He raised his head and looked at the huge figure on the wall. My dear lord, said Su Yuan lazily to Yuan. Your leveling up has been really slow today. He helped the dead troops resurrect instantly for Yuan's sake. If she fought monsters more efficiently, it would benefit Su Yuan as well. He wanted more experience points. Hurry, commanded Su Yuan. The lord wants to level up. Scarlin was completely dumbfounded. His mouth fell wide open. Shouldn't Yuan be giving them orders as a lord? Sure enough, Scarlin felt that Su Yuan was the real deal. He had made the right choice. The human lord was just Su Yuan's follower, like any of them. Yuan saw Scarlin's determined face. At this moment, the void flickered again. The creatures that emerged were far stronger than before. Even with her current strength, it was difficult for Yuan to fight them. Scarlin was weaker than her. Yuan hesitated. My lord, you cannot back down from this fight, said Su Yuan. He cast the demonic dragon's blessing on her. Her attributes increased by 2,000%. The effect would last for an hour. Yuan felt powerful. However, she felt conflicted. How could she torture others like this? She had become a tool. Was Su Yuan tricking her? All the attacks from the other creatures landed on her body, and her constantly flashing shield blocked them all. She was filled with anger. This wasn't an act of goodwill. Su Yuan was tricking her. She was not a tool to be used as he pleased. When she became stronger, she would definitely be a dragon knight. She swore to ride on Su Yuan's back and take revenge. The void continued to flicker. Numerous figures appeared and disappeared within it. Su Yuan used the true eye of the demon dragon to see through the illusions in the void. Hidden things couldn't escape his notice. Cursed Pharaoh. Level, SSS. Potential, Elite Lord. Magic power, 1000, plus 50. Skill, Cursed Body, SSS level, immune to poison and plague. Anyone who touches it will be cursed. Attributes will decrease by 5% every minute, up to 40%. Note, after being killed by Pharaoh, you can no longer receive the protection of the rules and cannot be revived with territory core. This creature is powerful. Nobody can resurrect after being killed by it. The mysterious and twisted pattern began to emit yellow light. The pattern seemed to come to life. It made everyone transfixed. A moment later, the colorful pattern began to shine before the pyramid, and energy condensed at a point. The figure flickered and the cursed pharaoh appeared. He was wearing a colorful crown with two colorful ribbons floating behind its ears. It held a short, dried-up wooden staff in its hand. Its face was a skull. It had no flesh. Soul fire burned in the head, and the empty eye sockets emitted a dark blue light. Its appearance was horrifying, but it also looked mystical. The blue soul fire was especially noticeable. Su Yuan frowned. After grinding for so many days, they managed to kill numerous types of monsters. This was the first time a high-level creature had walked out of the void. N/O/vel/b/jn.c//om. How did such a creature appear here? Wondered Su Yuan. Is this the Lord of the Sky's doing? So-on looked determined. She was a bit flustered, too. She had no worries about other troops under her because they could be instantly resurrected. However, she hadn't considered whether she could be resurrected if she died here. I was planning to gain experience points and level up while sitting here and watching the show, thought Su Yuan. I have to get involved, after all. Dark destructive light. A huge black pillar of light descended from the sky, annihilating all enemies. The dark destructive light had the ability to lock onto space. Once it locked onto an enemy, it could bombard the enemy across dimensions. It could only deal 5 times the damage to non-undead creatures, but it was more than enough to kill an SSS-class beast. The cursed pharaoh didn't stand a chance. It turned to dust as it was hit. So-on glanced at Su Yuan in incredulity. How powerful was he exactly? It took 10 times the strength and power of the enemy to shatter them into smithereens, especially a creature of a high level that emerged from the void. The white dragon saint, the 9-headed hydra, and the red-eyed black dragon were all stunned. As expected, the dark demon dragon's power was unparalleled. Unfortunately, the experience points gained were not even enough to reach level 66. The further one advanced, the harder it was to upgrade. However, Su Yuan was currently focused on killing the creatures from the void. He wondered what other kinds of creatures could appear. This is getting interesting. I wonder what else the Lord of the Sky has in store. It was said that the god devil race that blotted out the sky and covered the earth all had extremely powerful strength, but he had never heard of a hero from such a bloodline that surpassed a mythical level hero or lord. I'm a little tired. Can I rest for a while? So-on was almost begging. What a joke, thought So-on. I am a lord, and yet I am used as nothing but a tool. She wanted to resist and rebel. Anyone could have agreed with her request because she looked so beautiful and fragile at that moment. You all, Su Yuan turned to the troops. Continue and assist the lord in fighting those creatures. Do not let them hurt the lord's delicate personage. Su Yuan completely ignored her aggrieved look. Su Yuan continued giving orders to the white dragon saint, the 9-headed hydra, and the red-eyed black dragon. He even commanded the third prince to stay by So-on's side. Everyone looked at the furious So-on. Su Yuan had already closed his eyes and gone to sleep. Of course, they were going to obey his word. His words held more weight than So-on's for them. I swear I will protect the lord with my life. So-on was speechless. How was this fair? Su Yuan clearly saw her as a pig for slaughter. At least if Su Yuan was a pig, she could cut him and eat him for a meal. She didn't have the heart or the appetite for dragon meat. So-on wanted to cry and rage. However, she had no choice right now but to do as she was told. She was not strong enough to rebel, so she might as well follow through. She wished Zhao Qingrong, Xi Linglong, and Lin Yao were with her right now. She couldn't escape this situation, so she might as well have shared it with her friends. Alas, they weren't here with her. Fan out and explore the surroundings, said Su Yuan to a night elf. If you find another void, inform me immediately. Night elves were perfect at concealing themselves. So, they were an excellent alternative for exploring new places. Lord So-on was nothing but a tool to level up for Su Yuan. Now that the light types were looking for trouble, he didn't want any accidents. He had to level up as soon as possible. Before the inevitable face-off with the Lord of the Sky, it would be useful to reach level 70. There were also various hidden mission rewards. All the more reason to level up sooner. His only regret was that he couldn't find any more voids to battle rarer and more powerful creatures. Su Yuan felt a little disappointed. So-on despairingly thought about other lords. She wondered if they had managed to find something new in the Overlord plane. She was also worried about the population issue in her own territory. She had taken in 100 night elves. How would she afford to raise them? She couldn't chase them away, either. That would seriously lower the self-esteem of other troops as well. If the other troops felt that they were disposable too, the work efficiency and productivity would go down in her territory. They might even mutiny against her. There were cases where lords were harmed by their own troops. The greedy rhino troops are here again today, said Su Yuan. Kill them all. He realized that the other lords were slowly exploring and trying to encroach into other areas. They now had a better grasp of this plane. However, this was how the world worked. The weak were prey to the strong. If one wanted to become stronger, one had to accept all kinds of challenges, find stronger troops, and level up. Humans were the most terrifying creatures of all. Everyone in this plane had been fighting against powerful monsters that emerged occasionally. There was no saying whether the humans would attack each other once they were done with the monsters. Su Yuan, I can't do this much longer, said So-on. She was panting. Su Yuan raised his claw. A beam of light fell on So-on, the Hydra, the red-eyed black dragon, the white dragon saint, and the third prince. Everyone turned to look at the third prince. All of them had received the demonic dragon's blessing and their attributes had increased. However, the third prince had also transformed into something else. Scarlin held a dark bow in his hands. His body was filled with endless power. He raised his free hand and an arrow, as dark as ink, appeared there. He had transformed into the Night Elf King? The creatures from the void stopped their attacks momentarily as they felt a threatening aura emanating from him. The little black butterfly perched on Su Yuan's head. His beautiful black eyes looked at Scarlin with curiosity. He wanted to see how strong the Night Elf King actually was. Whoosh! The magic arrow shot out in a blur. The others couldn't even make out where it was headed as it veered at an impossible speed. The arrow had slipped through the crack into the void. Numerous creatures fell. The power of the unique arrow didn't stop there. Su Yuan felt the rise in experience points. He nodded in satisfaction. Yuan worked hard and took the troops to kill more monsters and level up. Meanwhile, Su Yuan bathed in the warm sunlight and watched everything. Su Yuan looked at the crack in the sky. It was about to close. He felt that it was such a waste that the time was up. He hadn't even slept well. He might as well just leave now and eat some good food. It was useless to stay here. This is so boring, he mumbled. He wanted to go back to the Dark Castle. The Night Elf in charge of scouting and exploring the surrounding was back. Lord Su Yuan, we discovered another void. There are mostly level 60 creatures emerging from there. Su Yuan smiled. If that was true, he could get resources and experience points to upgrade soon. When the time came, he could even storm into the Light Princess territory and eliminate other enemies. Su Yuan looked at his attribute panel. He was almost about to reach level 66, just a few steps short of level 70. Lord Yuan has given the order to end today's battle. Yuan was sitting on a rock. She was drenched in sweat. After dealing with the last of the creatures, she almost collapsed. Even Su Yuan's ability couldn't make up for the physical and mental fatigue she experienced. When Yuan thought about how Su Yuan could level up just by sleeping, but he used her and made her work to the bone just for him to level up, tears fell from her eyes. n/o/vel/b/jn.c//om. My lord, how can you retreat now? This territory isn't strong enough. I am going to make it stronger so that we are prepared for our fight against the light types, said Su Yuan. He acted as though Yuan had been slacking off. She and her troops had fought till they almost collapsed just so Su Yuan could level up, but he acted as though she was useless. Yuan picked up a small stone and threw it at Su Yuan with all her might. I don't care anymore. Even if I fall off the city wall and die, I won't continue to fight for you. Not today. If she didn't put up a fight, she might really collapse and die because Su Yuan was working her to the bone. She couldn't take it anymore. 245 A new mystical realm. Yuan was in the prime of her life. Other lords must already have troops to do their bidding. They might have servers to serve them food and drinks while they rested. Meanwhile, Yuan felt as though she was a slave in her own territory. She had won the intercampus tournament and yet her troops ignored her, and her stinky dragon hero bullied her? Was there any justice in this world? Such a pity. I just discovered a level 60 secret void. You could even have a sky dragon as a mount. Better to fly on that than walk on your feet all the time. But, since you don't want to, it's alright. Let's go back to the Dark Castle and rest. Only a fool would refuse to go to a level 60 secret void. Besides, nobody could refuse a sky dragon as a mount. Let's go catch the sky dragon first and plunder some resources, then we can call Shi Linglong and the others too. Yuan felt her fatigue disappear. She felt energetic. The night elf who had reported on the presence of the void was stunned. He hadn't even said anything about a sky dragon. Su Yuan tricked Yuan once again. However, he didn't dare to say anything and pretended to not know anything about it. If you are tired, we can just go and rest, said Su Yuan. Even the little black butterfly felt sad for Yuan this time. She was deceived every single time and she didn't even know it. We can rest later, said Yuan. Right now, leveling up is most important. Yuan leaped onto Su Yuan's back. Let's go. Su Yuan flew up to the sky. Others looked at their forms, which got smaller and smaller as they rose to the sky. Su Yuan didn't have time to listen to Yuan's nonsense. So, he tricked her. The Lord of the Sky was far more powerful than the Light Princess. He needed everyone to be stronger in the territory to face them. He flapped his wings and soared into the sky, heading toward the new mystical realm. The red-eyed black dragon and the others seemed to be familiar with this sort of behavior and silently followed Su Yuan. Good move, Lord Su Yuan. I'm impressed. Scarlin finally saw how Su Yuan manipulated people. He was indeed powerful in all aspects. The Night Elf King had risen 8 levels instantaneously with the help of Su Yuan's demonic dragon's blessing. He felt as though he could even shoot down the moon if he wanted to. Although many people had unfortunately died while killing monsters to level up, it was no problem for Su Yuan. He could resurrect them indefinitely. The cursed pharaoh was eliminated so easily. Yuan also followed Su Yuan as though she was his little doting wife. She listened to him completely. Su Yuan seemed like the real lord of the territory. The third prince didn't think too much about it. His admiration for Su Yuan had increased. If he had the same ability as Su Yuan, he could even choose to marry the princess of the elves. The secret realm discovered by the night elf was some distance away from the territory. It was very far away but none dared to go near it. It was a level 60 secret realm, after all. To barge into it was akin to seeking death. The Hydra, the red-eyed black dragon, and the white dragon saint were enough for the creatures there. With the demonic dragon's blessing, they will have no trouble dealing with the creatures. Yuan was not a hero like them. She was a human. She needed rest. Otherwise, she would collapse with fatigue. She held on to Su Yuan's neck as he flew up to the mystical realm. she was unwilling to let go. N/O/vel/b/in.c//om. Su Yuan sent Yuan with Scarlin back to the territory to rest. Xi Linglong, Zhao Qingrong, and Lin Yao also sent their troops to explore the mystical realm as well. Time flew by, and half a month passed in a flash. In Yuan's territory, Scarlin ordered the night elves into action. You guys go and dig up the grass. Go get some water and wet this entire area. You, go and dig up some wisteria brambles and surround the hills with it. Remember, you must complete the mission today. We must not disappoint His Majesty. Night elves were very similar to humans. They were also more excellent at chores than fighting in the war. They were highly efficient. It was rare for Yuan to sleep without worry. When Su Yuan awoke from his slumber, it was already dark. Can you guess what this is? Asked Yuan as she grabbed a red plant. After a month, more than half of the level 60 mystical realm had been explored. Yuan had paddled through in her own way. The Hydra and the others had been a great help. Su Yuan took care of the high-level monsters that they couldn't fight. Su Yuan had reached level 69 along the way. Name, Su Yuan. Demonic dragon's true name, Lapis Olga. Race, Dark Demon Dragon. Level, 69. Strength, 3,900. Spirit, 3,912. Agility, 3,907. Constitution, 3,950. If he could reach level 70, all his attributes would cross 4,000. The Light Princess would be no match for him after that. He wouldn't be wary even if the Lord of the Sky appeared for a fight. Abilities. Night Shift LVL4. As a dark demon dragon, the energy of the night can be converted to power. During the night, experience will be automatically gained at all times. The amount of experience gained will increase according to the current skill level. Dragon God Slumber LVL2. As long as you fall into a deep sleep, you will receive the blessing of the night. Demonic Dragon's Blessing LVL5. Imbues the demonic dragon's aura onto living creatures, strengthening them. All attributes will increase by 2,200% for 1 hour. The living creature has a chance of transforming, and the buff cannot be dispelled. Demon Dragon Wings LVL2. Ability to fly. At night, ability to travel from one dark area to another. Demonic Dragon's Breath LVL2. Spit out a demonic dragon's breath, causing AoE damage to the target area. Creatures who die from the demonic dragon's breath have a 15% chance of becoming an undead, depending on the ability level. Lord of Darkness LVL2. Has absolute control over all dark creatures. Can forcefully control dark creatures. Dark Fusion LVL2. Fuse 2 dark creatures of the same race into one creature for 10 minutes. The fused creature will have the combined attributes of the two creatures. True Eye of the Demon Dragon LVL2. The True Eye of the Magic Dragon can see through all illusions. It can trace back time and see what happened 48 hours ago. Dark Dual Domain. Drag the enemy into the dual domain and engage in a fair one-on-one duel. There is no interference from the outside world during this period. The winner will devour the soul of the loser and absorb the power. Chaos Realm. Gather 12 elemental hearts and fuse them into a Chaos Core. Use the Chaos Core as support to release the Chaos Realm. Within the territory, all other elemental powers will be suppressed, and the skills of the territory's master would be greatly strengthened. Within the territory, all other elemental powers would be suppressed, and the skills of the territory's master would be greatly strengthened. Lost in the night. When this night magic is cast, within the range of the magic array, enemies with weak willpower will be lost in the darkness and become its slaves. Dark Destructive Light LVL2. Summons a huge black pillar of light from the sky and penetrates the earth, annihilating all enemies within the pillar of light. Damage dealt is Spirit X10. The Dark Destructive Light has the ability to lock space. Once it locks onto an enemy, it can bombard the enemy across space. Original Field LVL2. Summon a force field that can withstand most attacks. The force field will form a space of its own, and anyone inside it can escape into an alternate dimension to avoid damage. Dragon Will. Can be used on creatures with dragon blood to awaken the sleeping dragon blood and dragon soul. Chance of atavism. Yuan had finally unlocked the True Eye of the Demon Dragon ability. Su Yuan turned to look at Yuan. Either just say it or put it away. The reason he was so strict with Yuan was that he wanted her to get stronger on her own terms so that she could protect herself. This is Dragon Drool Grass? It can help keep someone alive at the most critical time, said Yuan. Although it wasn't as effective and efficient as Su Yuan's resurrection ability, people would definitely want to buy it. It could save someone's life. We can plant it all over our territory. If we sell this, we will be rich. That sounds pretty good, said Su Yuan. I almost forgot. You dragons are too greedy? The money from this will not go to you, said Yuan. Su Yuan sighed. She was asking to be tricked again. Recently, she had been going back and forth every few days between the territory and the mystical realm while Su Yuan slept. Yuan, along with Xi Linglong, Zhao Qingrong, and Lin Yao, visited the level 60 mystical realm to kill monsters. At the same time, Su Yuan sent the night elves to look for clues on the light types. He wanted to clear the surrounding threats little by little. He didn't think the light types would easily let him and Yuan off. Ever since the night elves had joined the territory had gotten darker. Yuan didn't stop nagging him about it. The dark enchanter did not remain idle, either. She was searching for other dark types to see if she could rope them in. Upgrading the territory core was also important. That would take time. Only after the core was upgraded to level 4 would it be possible for Su Yuan to level up further than level 70. It would open the possibility to level up from level 70 to level 100. After that were the terrifying levels of 100 to 120. Level 4 territory core upgrade requirements. Land area of 50 square kilometers, not yet achieved. Total resources have to reach 5,000 tons, not yet achieved. Possess 50 buildings, incomplete. Population has to reach 50,000, not yet achieved. When Suan and Su Yuan saw the requirements, they were both dumbfounded. The difference between a level 3 and a level 4 territory core was huge, and the upgrade requirements were twice more than before. The number of resources, population, and buildings needed was enough to keep them busy. Su Yuan had to speed up the process of collecting materials. He put some of the dark types to work on it. However, it would be better if he could find creatures who could work 24 hours a day without needing rest. Suan's capability of exploiting creatures was only second to Su Yuan's. My lord, your money is my money. You are so stingy. I can spend it on good things. Su Yuan knew Suan didn't spend money unnecessarily, but he knew she liked shiny things. You're really shameless. It wasn't enough for him to work her to the bone, now he also wanted her money? This stinky dragon will be the death of me, thought Suan. n/o/vel/b/in.c//om. Su Yuan, please let me have a look at your attribute panel. Just once. From the moment she encountered him for the first time until now, she never saw his attribute panel. She was curious about how powerful Su Yuan actually was. Her friends had told her that their heroes couldn't hide their attribute panels from them. She didn't know how Su Yuan managed it. She thought she was weaker than him, so he could withhold the information from her. Su Yuan hesitated. It wasn't a big deal to show his attribute panel to her. All heroes showed their attribute panels to their lords, after all. However, he knew Suan. If she found out how powerful he was, she would rely on him for everything and would not desire to get stronger herself. That would be a big loss for her as well as for him. All right, I will show you just a little. Su Yuan turned into his human form. His face was proud and handsome. Suan stared at him, and he stared at her. Their eyes met. Suan's cheek turned bright red. Her first thought was that she must not let Zhao Qingrong see Su Yuan in his human form. Otherwise, she would definitely snatch Su Yuan away. Suan's heart pounded in her chest. All right. Just a little is fine. She didn't look at him directly. His handsomeness made her heart flutter. Su Yuan didn't think much of it and made his attribute panel visible. Suan quickly used her overlord skill to see it. Name, Su Yuan. Demonic dragon's true name, Lapis Olga. Race, Dark Demon Dragon. Level, Strength. Spirit, Agility. Constitution, 3950. A constitution of 3950. Suan's mouth opened wide in disbelief. Even the SSSS class heroes she had met didn't have a constitution of 3000 at level 69. Su Yuan was about to surpass it and reach 4000. What kind of monster is this? This dragon that ate and slept all day was from such an ancient bloodline? Suan even thought she might be seeing things. She looked at the attribute panel once again to confirm. Su Yuan rarely used other forces to level up. How did he do it? Suan was suddenly in a bad mood. I want to sleep a little more, she said. Su Yuan was confused. Why did she need to sleep again? She just woke up. I also want to level up by sleeping, said Suan. The next day, Suan took Su Yuan to see the progress of the planting of the dragon drool grass. He had returned to his dragon form. Although the area was small, it would do for now. Suan was confident that they could expand it in the future and plant more dragon drool grass. At the very least, her territory finally looked greener. She even felt that the air was fresher. It felt a little less stifling. There was some buzzing sound nearby. Suan was puzzled. She turned around to look. She saw two huge black bees with stingers as long as 8 centimeters in length. They descended from the sky and flew around the beehives made by the ordinary bees around her territory. They used their huge stingers and impaled the ordinary bees. The corpses of the ordinary bees were then carried away. This made Suan angry. You dare touch my bees. She activated the true eye of the demon dragon. Night Devil Bees. Level 35, middle grade troop, poison damage increased by 15%. Potential, rare SSS class. Skill, insect's body, immune to poison and curses, able to regrow broken limbs, able to recover slowly no matter how many non-fatal injuries are inflicted. Abilities. Mad Bee Dance, Grade C, agility increased by 40%, flying speed increased by 40%. Venomous Bee Sting, Grade C, bee poison injected into the enemy after a sting. The higher the amount of poison, the higher the damage. Sharp Tail, Grade D, able to pierce through armor till the length of the tail, able to pierce through low-level magic shields. Racial talent, able to communicate freely within 100 meters through their tentacles. Fetter Bee Colony, when the number of night devil bees is greater than 100, the toxicity of their poison will increase by 10%. Their flying speed will increase by 10%. When the number of night devil bees is greater than 500, the toxicity will be increased by 20%, and the flying speed will be increased by 20%. When the number of night devil bees is greater than 1000, the toxicity will be increased by 50%, and flying speed will be increased by 50%. Note, better not to get stung. The night devil bees were very powerful. Not only were they immune to most attacks, but they could also regenerate almost indefinitely. Yuan had wanted to attack them directly. Now, she had second thoughts. She watched as a few night devil bees killed the ordinary bees and carried their corpses away. She watched the night devil bees in intrigue. If she could raid their lair, she would definitely find something rare and useful. It was a rare SSS class creature. The Feather Colony ability had already been activated, which meant there must be more than 1,000 of them in their colony. Wouldn't it be reckless to provoke the bees to battle? Yuan thought of a way to upend the night devil bees' hive. If she could manage that, the bees would escape from their beehives on their own. She could then attack them. However, that would be a difficult thing to do. She didn't know if she was a match for the bees. Could she defeat them? Even if she could, how would she ever be able to find their hive in the first place? After the night devil bees were done with killing the ordinary bees, they escaped with the corpses into the sky at an impossible speed. It was even difficult to see where they were flying to. She couldn't even see them early, let alone chase after them. Besides, the night devil bees were of the SSS class. Even if she managed to find their lair, she couldn't fight them. Yuan needed to ask for Yuan's help. An anxious voice sounded a little far away. Your Majesty, the scouts sent to explore the nearby areas encountered powerful enemies and suffered heavy losses. Yuan and Yuan glanced at each other. They thought maybe the light types had interfered. Yuan left the thought of the night devil bees on hold for now and walked outside. A few soldiers were covered in blood. They were in pain. Yuan took out some dragon drool grass. Here, boil these. Feed the water to the injured soldiers. She gave a bunch of grass to one of the soldiers. The soldiers were grateful. They knew how expensive and rare the dragon drool grass was, and yet the Lord was willing to use it to save them. She could have just as easily killed them and asked Yuan to resurrect them to full health. However, Yuan wanted them to survive. The injured soldier's eyes turned red. He bowed to Yuan and accepted the dragon drool grass. Several soldiers, who could still stand, placed the dragon drool grass in a pot of water and put it to boil. They then fed the water to the wounded soldiers. After the fatally injured soldiers drank the water, their breathing stabilized. They weren't in agony anymore. When the others saw this, they were amazed. They had heard that the dragon drool grass was extraordinary, but they hadn't expected it to be so effective. The soldiers gazed at Yuan. They began to respect her more as a leader. Usually, they ignored her and only listened to Yuan. They felt that he was the most important and powerful one in the territory. However, they now realized why Yuan was the lord and not Yuan. She was courageous as well as compassionate. Yuan was impressed as well. He nodded at her in acknowledgement. What happened? He asked. The Night Elf King stepped forward. They were attacked by a terrifying monster. They were lucky to have escaped. The first 2 night elves I sent are dead. Yuan frowned. Do you know the exact location of this monster? The words caused some whispering among the soldiers. Your Majesty, the ones who attacked us were sent by the light types. The creatures had chains in their hands attached to battle axes. They were terrifying. The 2 night elves didn't stand a chance. Nov, L, B /JNN. The soldier who had answered was a little hesitant. But your Majesty, you don't need to. All those who harm my people will pay the price, said Yuan. I will protect my people, no matter what the cost. The troops were protected by Yuan. The troops who had died had done so for the territory. They were heroes? Yuan's gaze swept across the soldiers. I will bring them back and bury them as heroes. Yuan was not just a king who commanded his troops without a thought. He was prepared for casualties and would do anything to minimize them. Yuan nodded. She felt that this could also turn out to be an opportunity to examine the battle axes of the light types. The crowd fell silent. No one spoke. However, their hearts were full of gratitude. They looked at Yuan and Yuan with respect and loyalty in their hearts. How many of the other overlords and heroes would do this for their troops? They were the lowest of the troops and were usually used as cannon fodders. However, Yuan and Yuan were willing to fight for them? No one had expected such a situation. Your Majesty, Scarlin looked at Yuan in admiration and respect. He turned to the night elves. All night elves, heed my words. You must always remain loyal to Lord Yuan and His Majesty, Yuan, no matter what. Never even think about betraying them. Scarlin stood tall and proud. The crowd cheered. Their hearts were full of emotion. Yuan, who had upgraded to level 69, exuded a very powerful aura that shrouded his whole frame and fanned out. The actions of the light types made him very unhappy. In his first life as a human, Yuan encountered many powerful people who had made his life hell. They had treated him like S***it. Even after transmigrating to the dark demon dragon's body, there were still people who interfered in his life. He didn't understand why. He hadn't done anything to anybody. Yuan felt his dark emotions. The dark energy enveloped her. The other troops were also encased in this dark energy. The pure dark aura helped their injured bodies. The 9-headed Hydra, the red-eyed black dragon, the white dragon saint, and the 3rd prince of the elves all looked at Yuan in awe. Following the dark demon dragon had been the wisest choice they had ever made. They almost knelt on the floor in worship. His anger was palpable. The aura had activated his ability and strengthened those around him. Yuan's mouth fell open in awe. She didn't know what to say. She had seen his attribute panel. The constitution was almost 4,000. She didn't know what else to expect from him. Don't you know me by now? Su Yuan smiled at the dumbstruck Suwan. Why do you look so surprised? Suwan regained her composure. She felt some sort of power surge through her body. She jumped up happily and patted the dragon on his head. I don't think I should underestimate you from now on, said Suwan. Can you help me to level up as well so I can reach your level? Su Yuan was speechless. If he helped everyone reach his level, why would anyone ever need to think of ways to upgrade their territory and get stronger? Everything would be meaningless. Just hurry and upgrade your territory core. The more you upgrade, the stronger you will get. What benefits can I get when my territory core reaches level 4? Suwan asked. That is always a surprise. Can't find out until you upgrade, said Su Yuan mysteriously. He wouldn't tell her even if he knew about the benefits. Not knowing also held its perks. If Suwan didn't know about the exact benefits of leveling up, she would be even more motivated to find out. Suwan was curious to find out, but she also knew that she was nothing more than a tool for Su Yuan. She sighed. I am afraid I am much too tired. Let's deal with the night devil bees first, said Suwan. She wanted to take the initiative to lead an expedition since she was the lord of the territory. The requirements to upgrade the territory core to level 4 were difficult to meet. It would take a long time. Scarlin was still in a daze. He couldn't believe that Su Yuan and Suwan really were going to take revenge for the ordinary, low-level troops. He had a deep admiration for both of them. Even as the third prince of the elves, Scarlin hadn't cared about them much. He would let his troops fight and die without feeling any sort of emotion. However, Lord Suwan and Su Yuan were different. They cared for their troops as their own children. Meanwhile, Su Yuan was thinking about the lair of the night devil bees. Could they be used as extensions of their territory? He didn't know what the light types were plotting. If they had another location as a backup, they could turn it into their territory and use it. My lord, the troops have been assembled. The red-eyed black dragon sounded humble. He hadn't expected Suwan to care for her troops so much. She even wanted to take revenge for them. The red-eyed black dragon respected her now. He had no problem following such a strong and compassionate person. Su Yuan and Suwan, unknowingly, had strengthened the loyalty of the troops. Should I also ask Shi Linglong and the others for help? Suwan asked Su Yuan as she looked at the troops who had gathered. If it were just the night devil bees, she wouldn't involve her friends. However, she was afraid it must be a trap, and they would fall into it like those 2 night elves who had died. I will handle it, said Su Yuan. If it turns out to be something I can't deal with, then you can call them for help. Su Yuan knew that Shi Linglong, Zhao Qingrong, and Lin Yao were best friends of Suwan. They were loyal, but they weren't as strong. He also knew that the light types were targeting him, so he didn't want to put Suwan's friends in danger. If necessary, they could support him from a distance. N/O/fel/b/jn.c//om. Suwan nodded and messaged her friends to be on standby. Shi Linglong, Zhao Qingrong, and Lin Yao were more than willing to help if need be. Lord Su Yuan and Suwan are going to take revenge for the night elves, asked the flower fairy, a funai. That left a deep impression on her heart. Su Yuan and Suwan were indeed compassionate. The dark demon dragon was so noble. He was willing to go to such lengths to protect his subjects. She respected him even more now. Suwan led the troops and set off. Their goal was to subdue the night devil bees. After a 3-hour journey into the desert and exterminating 7 low-level creatures, Suwan was exhausted. She had second thoughts about this mission. She wanted to return to her territory, eat some good food, and sleep. They were very far from the place where the incident had taken place. 2 night elves who were scouting ahead returned to the group. My lord, we've discovered the trail of the venomous night devil bees, they reported. Suwan's spirit was roused. Her fatigue disappeared. The 9-headed hydra would be at the vanguard. The red-eyed black dragon and the white dragon saint would support the hydra from each side. As they advanced into the forest, they were on high alert. The forest was dense. Even the sunlight couldn't penetrate through the thick foliage. All sorts of flowers bloomed in the forest. There were many night devil bees buzzing around them. A crack in the void could be seen just above the forest. Suwan activated the true eye of the demon dragon. As expected, the crack in the void was a level 60 realm. Come on, it's time for you to act like a lord, said Su Yuan through their shared communication. He shared the demonic dragon's blessing and dragon's will abilities with Suwan. She cast the abilities on the 9-headed hydra, the red-eyed black dragon, and the white dragon saint. Suwan's face darkened. She was still being used as a tool. However, she couldn't dwell on that now. This was no time to be distracted. She looked into the distance under the cover of the bushes. A little ahead, 3 terrifying creatures appeared out of nowhere. The troops were wearing silver armor with red spider lilies engraved on them. They had huge helmets on their heads with curved horns. Thick chains wrapped around their arms, which were attached to the battle axes they held in their hands. One such soldier was very huge and burly. He was taller than the tallest and strongest soldier on Suwan's side. The helmet, which only revealed the eyes, emitted a pitch-black light. That was the soul fire. Suwan looked around and found several corpses on the ground a few paces away. They were obviously troops sent by the other lords but had been brutally killed. The blood had crusted into a black mass. They must have been dead for a long while. She activated the true eye of the demon dragon. Undead warrior. Level, 62. Potential, SS class. Abilities. Body of the dead, grade S, immune to poison and plague, defense increased by 30%, will not die as long as the heart is intact. Roar, grade C. After the roar, the potency of the next attack is increased by 30%. Battleaxe killing, grade D, able to throw the battleaxe to attack enemies within 30 meters, able to retrieve the battleaxe through the chain on the arm, can deal massive magic damage to the enemy. Race talent, after the battleaxe is broken, it can be condensed again by consuming energy. Fetter battleaxe, if the battleaxe's throwing distance is 10 meters, the damage dealt is increased by 20%. If the distance is 11 to 20 meters, the damage dealt is increased by 30%. If thrown at a distance of 21 to 30 meters, damage dealt is increased by 50%. There is also a 30% chance of triggering instant death skill execution, directly killing the enemy. The stronger the enemy, the smaller the chance of triggering it. Note, never underestimate the undead. They were all heroes when they were alive. Far away in the territory, Yuan exclaimed at the attribute panel that he saw through Yuan. The undead could attack from a distance and still deal significant damage? What was even more ridiculous was the triggering of the instant death execution. Yuan wished he could recruit this creature to his troop. He would be an asset. It was a pity that the attribute panel didn't show whether the undead warrior could be recruited. It was better to focus on the night devil bees for now. My lord, we have located the queen of the venomous night devil bees. The night elf reported. The queen bee was the main progenitor of the bee colony. By secreting unique pheromones, the queen bees attracted the worker bees to her, thus creating the colony. There were usually thousands of bees in one colony, with the queen bee as the leader. If Yuan could recruit the night devil queen bee, the other night devil bees would automatically fall in line. The night devil queen bee would continue the progeny of the night devil bees. Even if she couldn't be resurrected, her combat power would come in handy as long as she was alive. We must capture the night devil queen bee. Yuan communicated the message to Yuan. Let's go, said Yuan as she led her troops. The terrain had a large area of plants and bushes. This gave them ample cover. If they were careful, the undead warriors wouldn't notice them. After making a big detour, Yuan saw through the gaps in the grass that a structure was hidden among the densely packed trees. It was a huge beehive with thousands of night devil bees buzzing around. The buzzing was incessant. Yuan and the others did not dare step into the night devil bees' territory. The sight was enough to scare the *T out of anybody. Yuan activated the true eye of the demon dragon once again. Night devil beehive. Level A. Recruitment. The night devil queen bee can be trapped to recruit the night devil bees. Quantity, 1000 bees. Weekly production, 10. 100 night flower honey. The night devil bees' honey is made from 100 different types of flowers of darkness. It can neutralize a variety of poisons. If consumed long, it can restore youth, strengthen the body, and increase immunity to certain poisons. Note, rare nest. The night devil queen bee is the most important aspect of the bee colony. She has high intelligence but no combat power. However, the night devil bees are dangerous. They protect their queen. Their poison is fatal. They were finally at the beehive? Yuan's eyes widened in delight. The night devil best troop type was definitely rare and significant. She needed to recruit them at all costs. In addition, there was the 100 night flower honey, which had many benefits. Yuan was especially about the added benefit of youth restoration. She could remain beautiful forever. Yuan was determined to recruit the night devil bees, one way or another. Her exhaustion was long gone. She had a new motivation.n/o/vel/b/in.c//om. Yuan shook his head helplessly. He sighed. If he had known about the 100 night flower honey, he wouldn't have tried so hard to urge Yuan to fight the night devil bees. She would have gone willingly. The team led by the nine-headed Hydra prepared to clash with the undead warriors. They wanted to leave a clear path for Yuan to succeed. For that, they needed to eliminate surrounding threats. They had to be careful of the battle axes thrown by the undead warriors. Although they weren't strong enough to break through their defenses, the added potency of the attacks irritated the Hydra. The night elves were at a loss. Their cursed arrows didn't do any damage because the undead warriors were immune to poison and curses. The arrows just collided against the undead and bounced off uselessly. It was a good thing that they were strengthened under the effect of the demonic dragon's blessing. Otherwise, even someone as strong as the Hydra would have had to retreat. They had to stop the undead warriors from throwing their battle axes at all costs. If instant death was triggered, the Hydra's team would fail and Yuan would be in danger. If the undead warriors discovered Yuan and her team, the recruitment process would fail even before it started. Therefore, fighting the undead warriors one by one was the only way. They had to lure them away and kill every single one of them. The Hydra also had dragon blood to some extent, and his combat power was very potent. He thought of a way. He commanded the troops. He had a plan in mind. Yuan was not here to fight for them. The Hydra, the red-eyed black dragon, the white dragon saint, and the third prince all needed to get stronger if they wanted to fully serve Yuan. In the future, the territory would expand. Yuan would definitely need help to manage it. Therefore, they needed to get stronger to help her. A few minutes later, the undead warriors noticed a few night elves hiding among the grass. When the undead warriors saw them, the night elves flipped them off. The undead warriors had been human before they became the undead. The rude gesture infuriated them. They felt angry and humiliated. D*MNU? You dirty mixed-blooded scum. How dare you provoke us? The undead warriors were enraged. They unanimously decided to attack. The 8 undead warriors charged together. They would tear the night elves limb from limb. The night elves also charged forward. The undead warriors clenched their battle axes in anger. They had no intention of throwing them. They wanted to slash through the lowly creatures with their own hands. The undead warriors roared.n/o/vel/b/jn.c//om. The night elves raised their bows and shot arrows as they charged. The damage done wouldn't be great, but it would buy them time. The undead warriors were blown a step back as the arrows hit them. The magic arrows flickered and exploded in their faces. The night elves were more intelligent than the undead warriors. However, there were too many undead warriors. They didn't care about fairness. They threw their battle axes. The night elves fought valiantly. However, some of them were hit. The undead warriors were caught by surprise when they realized that the night elves dissipated the moment the battle axes hit them. They didn't feel the death aura from their victims. Little did they know that the night elves were being resurrected immediately in Yuan's territory, thanks to Yuan. This was the first time the undead warriors had met an enemy that didn't die permanently from their attacks. The enemies were strong and clever. Sometimes a battle axe would hit 2 night elves at a time, but they wouldn't die unless the undead warriors used a curse to kill them. Thus, they could only watch as many of the enemies escaped. The undead warriors could feel that none of the enemies had died yet, at least not permanently. The soul fire in their eye sockets burned fiercely. In the dark eye sockets, a pitch-black light suddenly lit up. It was strange. After being toyed with, the undead warriors' pride was hurt. They charged towards the place where the night elves had reappeared. They wanted to let the worthless creatures know what death tasted like. The undead warriors marched up the hills and slashed at the grasses. They discovered that there were several night elves a few feet away. The undead warriors rushed toward the remaining night elves. The night elves stopped shooting the arrows and tried to retreat. The undead warriors chased them. They had no intention of letting the night elves get away. After chasing them for a while, the undead warriors stopped. In front of them was a giant, 9-headed snake. Die. The undead warriors let out a roar. They waved their battle axes and hacked at the hydra. The battle axes swung and landed on the 9-headed snake's body. However, the hydra didn't suffer any damage. Instead, he smiled. Thanks to the dragon's will ability, he couldn't be hurt by a few undead warriors and their petty tricks. When the huge body slithered past, even the surrounding trees collapsed. Dust filled the air. Although the undead warriors were immune to most forms of magic and curses, the hydra's body was so huge that its force could still cause fatal damage. 5 undead warriors fell in an instant as they were hit by a swipe of the hydra's tail. The 9-headed hydra restricted the movement of the undead warriors and prevented them from throwing their battle axes. With the last undead warrior down, their ambush was a success. Although it hadn't even taken a long time, the hydra felt that this was the most thrilling fight he had ever fought after joining Yuan's territory. The hydra was being careful. Yuan didn't participate in this fight. The hydra took it to mean that he was depending on the ones he had sent to fight. So, the hydra didn't want to let him down. He participated quickly because if the fighting dragged out, they would suffer heavy losses. Even now, many night elves died fighting the undead warriors. The undead warriors' bodies began rotting very quickly. This was the thing with the undead. They were powerful, but they began decaying fast when they were killed. He wanted to lure another wave of the undead in a similar manner. However, this time he wanted to work with the true-eyed black dragon and the white dragon saint. The 3 of them were the main fighting force. If they were not careful and got killed easily, it would be humiliating to face Yuan. So, they were very careful and planned everything meticulously. Following the same strategy, the 3 tried to restrict the movement of the undead warriors, thereafter, killing them. The night elves didn't stay idle. They shot their arrows from a distance to assist the 3 main forces in their fight. The undead warriors' asset was throwing their battle axe at the enemy, which provided them with other perks. However, their main asset had become their downfall. With their movements restricted, they couldn't throw their battle axes at the enemy. Thus, they fell one after the other. The undead warriors realized that their numbers were slowly receding. They felt that something was wrong. They stuck close to each other. The soul fire in their eye sockets flared and flickered. They were vigilant. Even powerful troops didn't stand a chance when they had no leader to guide them. Meanwhile, Yuan successfully recruited the Night Devil Queen Bee into her troop. Now, she could command thousands of Night Devil Bees. Kill them. Yuan ordered the 1,000 Night Devil Bees to charge toward the undead warriors. The tables turned. Yuan and others had the upper hand now. The undead warriors couldn't withstand the onslaught of so many Night Devil Bees. Yuan tried to memorize the location. She was not in a hurry to level up. Tomorrow, she decided to call Zhao Qingrong and the others to level up together. From the darkness, a pair of eyes observed Yuan. In the territory, Yuan slept soundly. A little butterfly fluttered around him. Yuan was completely exhausted. When she saw Yuan sleeping peacefully, she was enraged. Humph! I will invite Shi Linglong and the others tomorrow. Let me deal with you tonight. The cold moonlight filtered through the window and illuminated the bed. If the scenery outside wasn't so dark and grim, the effect would have been better. It wasn't easy to find green plants and grasses in Yuan's territory, but she had managed to put some green in the dark territory by planting the dragon drool grass. It would have to do. Yuan stretched lazily on the bed. She recalled the impatient voice of her friend. It sounded as though her friend wanted to rush over in the middle of the night when she told her about the day's incident.